Well, we are back. We're back at the 9 Club, huh? Listen. Everybody, I'm being serious, and everybody laughs. I don't understand.
I like watching you do the intro. It's fun.
But we got a special guest here today, Jamie Thomas. The Chief.
Yep.
The Chief is here. What's going on? How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
I can't complain. Life's good.
Well, first of all, thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure.
You know,
Made that drive.
Where'd you come from?
Encinitas.
Encinitas.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just start off with asking you, right? What the Chief? Where does that nickname come from? What's the story behind that? You know?
Well, I used to be the guy who always coordinated the missions and got everybody motivated, whether they wanted to be motivated or not.
I would be one of the guys not motivated. Yeah.
And it started off in the early Zero days, and me going to pick up Ellington, Alyssa, and Jim Greco. Ellington and Alyssa all lived at this house in San Diego called Albatross.
Okay.
And anyway, I just drove up one day to pick them up, and they were like, Chief's here. And I think maybe they had a conversation in the night, and they were just talking about that's what I did. And I don't know, they just started calling me the Chief, so it stuck.
Did you like the nickname?
I mean, you can't really argue with nicknames,
right?
You know.
Roger, he argues with his nickname all the time. He doesn't. Yeah, our bag. Come on, our bag.
Our bags.
Yeah. No, but what? Yeah, you can't argue. But I mean, it's kind of an endearing nickname.
And you know, and I don't know. I like Ellington, Alyssa, Jim, and I don't know. I thought it was cool. I guess. I mean, it was better than like drill sergeant or something. Drill sergeant. I really knew that's what they kind of meant, but they came up with
a little nicer nickname.
They came up with a better version that I would like.
But hey, listen, Matt, you wanted to get things done, right? You wanted to get the session going. You wanted to get out there, right?
That was always my MO. Get things done.
Somebody always has to be that guy. You know, I'm not that guy. I'm not. I need the Chief to tell me, let's go, baby, let's go.
Well, there's only a few people in skateboarding that have like a name,
right?
You know,
right?
There's the boss.
There's
the Chief.
Who?
There's some other ones.
The Crob.
Lizard.
Lizard. That's
Muska.
true.
Muska's his actual name, though.
Right.
Well, the Muska one's a story, and I thought they were going to go into it in Zeppeli later. The Muska.
Right. Do you know the?
Yeah. It was the first tour he went on with Toy Machine.
Okay.
He was probably 16 or so.
Okay.
And he was drinking a lot, whatever, on the tour. He loved to party, and we like went to some pizza place after the demo, and he was drinking, and it was like obviously severely underage, being like 16 and drinking. But team manager helped him out, helped him get beer, and he was drinking.
Good team manager.
Yeah, of course. He was drinking, and he told the team manager at the time was Mike Ballard. And,
okay.
Yeah, and he was, I guess, kind of acting like he was in an argument, but he wasn't really in an argument. He was just kind of being an antagonist, and he told Ballard to slap him. Oh. And Ballard's like, I don't want to slap you, Chad. And Ballard's a big guy. He's got a big hand. And I remembered standing there, and he was like, man, slap me, Ballard, slap me. And he was kind of like saying, I think the motive was that he was tough enough to take a slap from Ballard.
Okay, right.
And so he was telling Ballard to slap him. And Ballard's like, no. And then, you know, eventually, like, Chad kept going on, and Ballard just slapped him.
Okay.
And Chad got super bent out of shape and, like, really upset and, like, basically wanted to fight Ballard in the pizza place.
Oh, guys begging him to slap him, and then he gets bent out of shape.
He was, I think he probably, I don't know, drank like four or five big mugs of beer at 16 years old, something. So anyway, it was kind of like party's over, everybody's packing up, like we got to get out of here, you know, Chad's pissed. Anyway, we all got in the van, and Chad was still mumbling about the incident. And the quote he said was, you can't fade the Muska. You can't fade the Muska. And he was saying, he said, this was the line: I'll break a bottle over your head. I'll rip your ear off. I don't give a fuck. You can't fade the Muska. And then he said that like over and over that night. And anyway, we were all just so psyched on it. We just started calling him the Muska. Like, everybody was like, because it was such a like overly bold and outlandish statement. I'll break a bottle over your head. I'll rip your ear off. It was just sounded I don't know.
And he was talking about himself in the third person.
Yeah. And it was, I don't know, we just all knew we were in a moment. And then the next day, everyone just called him the Muska. And then from there, it kind of stuck. And then he embraced it, and it became his name, the Muska.
I could imagine why he didn't want to talk about that in his epic.
He's super okay with it. I mean, the way he speaks about himself and the way he speaks about everything is so endearing that it's like, it's cool. You know, you can't help but love him, and no matter what he says.
Right. He's the Muska.
Yeah, he's the Muska.
He's the Muska. So Jamie Thomas, man. Alabama. What's? why are you laughing?
I don't know. I'm high, man.
Don't worry about it. I'm high. No, born and raised Alabama.
I was actually born in Florida, but but grew up in Alabama.
When did you move to Alabama?
6 weeks old.
6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Right.
It's a it's a technicality.
Right.
I claim Alabama when someone asks where I'm from.
Right. Did they drive cross country or did they? I mean,
it's only next state, but yeah, they drove.
To me, that's cross country. I don't know what's going on.
You've never left West LA, I see.
Yeah. No. Well, you know what's funny though is like when you go on tours, you know, and you're in the van and you go from state to state to state. You're in a new state every day. And you don't even know where the hell you are sometimes, right? You just jump out of the van and there's dudes with guns in Walmart, and you're like, where the fuck am I?
That's never happened to me, but I know what you mean.
What do you keep a map and where you're going? Or
no, I just traveled a lot.
But you know where you are?
Yeah, I've traveled a lot.
As a young skater, you jump out of the van and you don't know.
I was usually driving the van.
No, really? You were the driver? What do you mean? Why?
He's the chief, dude.
I know, but still.
I don't know.
Team managers drive the vans. No?
Well, for a long while, I was the team manager for like 10 years.
Well, I'm talking about a young skater. Young skater.
I know, but you're talking to me.
Jump out of the van.
I can't pretend I'm a young skater when I never really was a young skater.
So, raised in Alabama.
Yes.
Right? What did you do as a young lad? Were you baseball?
When I was really young, I lived like in the
football?
woods, like Alabama, like pigs, chickens.
Really?
Big. I don't know, a lot of acreage and just shot shit in the woods and.
You hunted.
Yeah.
You were a hunter-gatherer. Yeah.
Or I just shot like bottles or my mom's pans or whatever, you know. Just like got a BB gun for Christmas at like probably 5 and started shooting shit.
Sick.
Yeah, exploring the woods, and I had a couple buddies. One dude had a motorcycle. We'd ride his motorcycle.
Oh, you guys were just having a blast.
Yeah. It was great. As a kid, it was awesome.
Right.
We had like a creek by our house. I mean, it was kind of like what you'd imagine it to be in Alabama. Like catch like salamanders and snakes and critters and
shit.
Yeah, that's
it was
awesome.
good. Yeah, it was awesome.
I think that's like every kid's like dream, like just to have a backyard full of whatever, right?
I had that until so in 3rd grade, my father was a nuclear engineer.
Whoa.
So he worked at Alabama Power, and then in 4th grade, he got a job in Georgia. My family moved to Atlanta for a year, and then when we moved, I found a skateboard, like a 70s banana board from the attic in the move. And that was the first skateboard I'd ever seen.
In the new house you found a board?
Yeah, so when we moved, I wasn't really a part of the move, but for some reason, when we were moving and when we got to Atlanta, I remembered finding a banana board from the 70s. And it was 1984.
Okay.
So it was... The board was like, you know, my sister's, I think, and it was like 12 or 14 years old or something.
Ah, okay. So it wasn't just randomly there.
No.
Like it was from the family.
Yeah. But I, we lived on a gravel road and surrounded by woods.
Where would you go?
So the board would have been in a box in an attic our whole childhood. So she would have maybe had it in Florida in the 70s. I was born in 74.
Okay. Yeah.
So they lived in Florida until 74, so that's probably where it would have been from.
There you go. Right. I like how you dove down and figured this out.
I just did that right now.
Just right now. You're like,
so anyway, I found a fiberglass like banana board. It looks like a penny board, but with no upturned tail.
Okay, sick.
And it was like, didn't even know what to call it.
No.
Didn't even have a name. My sister, at the time lived in our house. She was about 7 or 8 years older than me. Okay. I'm the youngest of 4.
Youngest of 4.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big gap.
Yeah. So I have a sister that's between her and I as well. So we're all about 3.5, 4 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, she told me it was a skateboard, and then started showing me how to like tic-tac and walk the dog, and like she had some moves. Anyway,
Sick.
so And that was all I knew.
Flip.
No,
Yeah,
she didn't do a tray flip, but that's all I knew about skateboarding was what she showed me. So
Okay.
I just practiced. I tried to remember what she showed me, and I just practiced those things in the driveway.
Yeah.
And I lived in Atlanta for a year, and
Okay.
we had a really, like in Atlanta, there's lots of hills. So we had a really steep driveway, and I rode down on my butt, and kept doing that until I
Okay.
could stand up, and then stood up on halfway. And
Right.
yeah, I remember isotoner gloves. You remember those? You probably
Yeah, what
don't.
is
You're
that?
kinda young.
No,
They're like,
no. They're with the holes in them.
Yeah, they're like kind
the-
of tech, like they were like isotoner commercials where they were
The
like
tan,
the women. Yeah,
like
yeah,
the-
they were
yeah.
like tan
Right.
and like ivory and black, and
Yeah,
they were
what
like
is
kind of like
this
driving
isotoner?
gloves.
What is
they
it?
were like an
It's-
80s
like-
fashion
yeah.
fashion
Yeah,
glove.
right.
Anyway, my mom had a pair of isotoner gloves, and they
no.
were really nice. And I was like, oh, if I like fall and wear isotoner gloves, I'll save my hands.
Right.
Anyway, the first fall, I just shredded the isotoner gloves, and it was a real,
Was she
it was a
pissed?
real big. Yeah, she was.
Oh, she was.
Yeah. It happened immediately, and they were like, I mean, at the time there was like isotoner commercials. They were like the thing to
A
have.
big thing.
I remember that, like thin,
Yeah,
thin,
super thin.
Yeah.
They were like basically like almost like a lycra glove or
Right,
something.
right.
And then they had
I
like
don't know
little
how I knew
they had
that
like
they were
little
thin,
leather
but-
little leather
Just don't
things
wear
on them.
some.
Yeah.
Anyway, shredded the isotoner gloves.
Shredded 'em,
Yeah,
right.
and then took a spill and kind of
Okay.
got my first scabs and
Yeah.
scrapes and scabs and
Right,
stuff. But
right.
anyway, I really loved skateboarding, and then
Big.
the next year we moved back to Alabama, and then my father then accepted a job in Florida, and so
Wait, so you moved back to Alabama
just for a summer.
Just for the summer.
We were about
same,
to, we're
not
about to,
different house. Same house.
Yeah, we
Okay.
rented it out the year we were
Oh,
gone.
Okay, got you.
Moved back to the same house. We were
Okay.
getting ready to go to school, and then Dad came home and said, "We're moving to Florida."
Another job.
Another
Okay.
job,
Wow.
all about the power industry. He was in the nuclear power industry.
Wow.
So he took a job in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida.
Okay.
So I'd already discovered skateboarding, but didn't really know much except about the fiberglass board and the hill,
Isotoner
the hill
gloves,
and walking the dog and
Right,
tic tacs. That's
yeah.
all I kind of knew. And then family moved to Florida, and then now this is probably 85.
Okay.
And skateboarding was like going off. So I went down there, visited my brother. My brother lived in Melbourne, Florida, and I went to visit him at his job. He worked at a boat marina.
Oh.
Anyway, long story short, there was a guy at the boat marina, this like 70s surfer dude on like that I saw like shrouping through the boat marina.
Oh, wow.
On a board, and it was the first time I'd ever seen another skateboarder. And I just remembered seeing him, and he basically looked like a mini Stacy Peralta. He was only like 5 foot tall, but he had like long blonde hair, and he was just like
Cruising.
cutting it up, and I was just like blown away. Like he was sidewalk surfing,
Yeah.
basically.
Did you get his autograph? Like, did you think he
No,
was like
no,
pro
I
and,
didn't.
like-
I didn't want his autograph.
Okay.
I just was like fascinated because I liked skateboarding, but
You'd never seen
I'd
another-
never seen it. I'd never
Wow.
seen it on television or anything yet.
Crazy.
So I didn't know what it looked like.
Right.
All I knew was
you didn't even know maybe anybody else was doing it.
no, I had no idea.
Right.
No idea. I saw him like cutting back, and it was kind of, you know what it looked like? It looked like the Z Boys account of Jay Adams
Okay.
going to the contest where everyone's doing freestyle, and then Jay Adams goes out there and he's just like cutting it up and getting all crazy.
Yeah.
And anyway, the guy looked like that.
Okay.
And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then when he came to a stop, he would like go to a stop and then do a couple 360s and then like pop his board up, like almost like he had like a full routine.
Yeah.
But it didn't look like it was a routine. It really looked natural.
freestyle. Yeah, yeah.
It looked like I felt like I was watching a movie, and then like he popped his board up into his hand, and I was like, "Holy shit!
Wow.
I want to do that."
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. And then I went over to him and I said, "Hey, I noticed that your board has like a tail on it and stuff. Like I have a skateboard, but it doesn't have that. Can I buy yours, or do you have an extra one that I can buy?"
Wow.
And he's like, "Yeah, I'll sell you this one for $20." And he just hands me the board.
His
And I-
whole complete.
yeah. And I was like, $20? Like I looked over at my brother, and my brother just pulled $20 out of his pocket and handed him $20. And then I had to figure out a way to earn the $20 to pay my brother.
To pay him back. Right?
Yeah. But he
Right,
just
right.
like made
Why
it happen.
would this guy
That's
sell his only book? Maybe
I don't
this
know
was
if it was
his
his
hustle.
only board. No,
Maybe
no,
this
it
was-
wasn't.
He
It
stole it.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't his only board. That's
Okay.
what it came down to. And it was like
Gotcha.
it was kind of ragged out. It was like water damage and
Oh,
stuff.
right.
But
Okay.
I didn't care. I just saw it and was
Yeah.
like, "Wow, it's awesome."
Do you remember what kind of board
I
that was?
absolutely remember it. And
Oh.
I just went on eBay or not just, but like a year or two ago.
Okay.
I went on eBay and I bought each part from that board and then put it back together.
Seriously?
I didn't know we were going
Wow.
to talk about this, or I'd have brought it.
Oh, you should have brought. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think about like,
No,
we're probably going
right.
to talk about that. My first board.
No,
Anyway,
for sure.
so I bought the board in each part and then put it back together. And then a friend of mine, Jim at Watson, rescreened the graphic exactly as it was. I found the graphic.
Really?
I found the graphic The board I had, like, was
What
really
happened to the
jacked.
board you had? It was just old,
No, I ended
garbage.
I ended up like spray painting it. You know, I went through after I got into skating, I kind of got into like a punk rock phase of skating,
Okay.
and then you just kind of don't really care about anything and just destroy everything.
Right.
And then
Gotcha.
and it turned into a skim board, I think, at one point.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Right. Right.
At any rate, the board though, like my brother and I went and took it all apart and then like sanded it down to like, you know, the bare like wood, and then revarnished it, and then I went and bought clear grip, and then got new stickers for the top, and just kind of
This was after the punk rock phase?
No.
This is straight
this is
right when I bought
right
it.
when you got it.
Yeah, right when I bought it, I was like,
He refurbished it.
yeah, my brother was a
Refurbished it.
woodworker and a craftsman.
perfect.
So like he was like, "Oh, we can fix that up, no problem." And I was just so amped. So I spent like probably a day taking the grip off. The grip had probably been on there for like 5 years.
Right.
You know, and this is
You know, like
1980.
hairdryer?
This is 1985, and then to come to realize this was like a 1979 or 1980 board.
There you go.
So
right,
it was like
right,
5
right,
years
right.
old. So the grip had probably been on there for 5
And
years.
and at that time, it probably
just
came
chip
with
away,
grip.
too.
It probably came with grip, right? Like it
Like
wasn't
that?
even made to be taken off.
Yeah,
Probably. Right.
It did come with the grip.
Yeah.
And then so when you think about it, $20, like it's basically like I bought like this relic. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, like at this time, the Bones Brigade boards were out and stuff. They were 10 inches wide. This board was like 8 inches wide.
Oh yeah.
So it was like, you know, it was not like current.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
when the guy was like, saw me all stoked on it, and he probably gave me a deal too, but he just saw me all stoked. It had Bennett trucks, OJ wheels.
Okay.
Like OJs before they were OJ2.
Oh.
And then it had, basically it was a Sims Super Light.
Where'd you say you moved to when you started actually skating?
Palm Beach Gardens, Florida.
Palm Beach Gardens, Florida.
Yeah.
So, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. How old were you?
I was 11.
11.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Skate park out there?
No,
or
no
anything?
skate park,
no
but just
driveway.
skating. Driveway, neighborhood, cul-de-sac. Like skateboarding was going crazy in the 80s
Okay,
in
right,
Florida. It was
right.
like blowing up.
Yeah.
Bones Brigade were coming onto the scene, but I hadn't seen a video, but I did see neighbors now skating, and was like, you know, got introduced to the ollie, and because I saw the surf guy and what his moves were, and then I just practiced those for like the summer before we moved there.
Yeah,
And I was just
yeah.
doing 360s and carving and kind of like learning, mixing what my sister had shown me plus what he showed me. And then I asked him about other tricks too, and he showed me like whatever, how to pop the board in your hand and how to do 360s and like carving. And by my grandmother's house in Melbourne where I was for the summer, there was a tennis courts, and I would just go there and like cruise around, and like I remembered it being like the best feeling in the world.
Right.
Like,
Wow.
I had been shown how a skateboard was supposed to be ridden, and then I had this tennis court, and I would just go there and ride at my board for hours, learning to push and learning to carve. And,
Right. Were you
all those things were
Mongo
tricks.
first? Did you
No,
pushing Mongo?
I never
No.
pushed Mongo.
Okay.
I didn't know that anybody did that.
Right.
Until like later when I got to Florida, there was a couple of buddies of mine that pushed Mongo, and I was like,
did you correct them? Were you like, what the fuck
no,
you doing?
I just was like, it looks funny.
weird.
It looks weird. But I just didn't, you know, I didn't really know.
So
I
you're
didn't know that I had the right way to do it. I just
When was Mongo like first like discovered almost? You know what I mean? Like
Well, I knew that I had one homie that was like the best homie, and he pushed like that, and I just remember thinking that looks absurd.
So now you're seeing all these people in your neighborhood. You said doing ollies and stuff. Were you blown away? Were you just like, whoa, dude, this is a whole nother level? Like,
Yeah.
I gotta fucking.
Oh, I just
learned
so-
360s.
My mind was blown. There was so many. I was learning the names of tricks. It was like basically seeing Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game or something.
Right,
where
right.
Everybody there was a name, and I just remember getting so hyped on the names.
Oh, yeah.
They're like you know, we had someone on my street had a quarter pipe, and they're like, yeah, you got to learn rock and rolls, and I was like, that is the coolest name ever. Because the Van Halen album came out the year before.
right.
And rock and roll I was just being introduced to rock and roll. Because you know, as a kid, you're listening to like whatever's on the radio. It's
Yeah,
like
for sure.
It's like Michael Jackson, Prince, and
Yeah.
I don't know what you know. That was kind of what I remember. Was
Okay.
Michael Jackson
Yeah.
and Prince.
So at what point did you like, oh, okay, I got to upgrade this board now because this board ain't happening no more?
Well,
like the refurbished
I
one you
didn't
had.
right away. I was just like still so stoked on it.
Oh.
But I did have a board. I went to school and had like a 70s board, and everybody had like an 80s like 10-inch wide board.
Yeah.
But I didn't care. I was so stoked on
Oh.
skating. It probably lasted, I don't know, 6 months to a year of just skating that board and just being stoked on it
Okay.
until I realized like, wait, you know, I remembered wanting to ride everybody else's boards because they were way cooler.
That's when you knew.
Yeah,
like,
and then
you got to get your. I
probably
got to upgrade.
So back to your question, probably 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember that board? Was it a?
No, I ended up getting
I
ended up getting like a hand-me-down, like spray painted Agent Orange board, and like shapes were just starting to come into the picture.
Okay.
So I had an Agent Orange, which a pig is like basically the bomb looking board, right? Like the PAL boards, that's called a pig.
Okay, gotcha.
Anyway, so this Agent Orange board was a pig. It was just basically like shaped like a bomb. But shapes were starting to come into the picture, like Roscops, and like things started having cuts and grooves.
Little money bumps.
Money bumps, yeah. So I remembered trying to cut a Rob Roscop tail onto my like Agent Orange board.
What do you mean you tried to cut? Like you actually
like a jigsaw?
Really?
Yeah.
You
I like put the Roscop on and you trace the tail cut out.
Did you fuck it all up?
No, I didn't. I mean, it was good, but it was a pig front with just with just a cutout on the tail. So the Roscop had some like contour and shape, but because I was like 11 or 12, I wasn't like thinking about it all. I was just like, I wanted something to make it more current.
Gotcha. Okay. Right.
But, I mean, at an early age, I started like, kind of like doing stuff myself and kind of making boards and
sick.
I don't know, customizing them and stuff. But everybody was kind of doing that at the time. It was like customize your grip, write on it, paint your board.
Right. And
so, yeah.
Were people getting sponsored and stuff? Like your buddies?
I didn't know anything about that. I didn't, I didn't know. I mean, at the time, I didn't even know that there were, I knew about the Bones Brigade, but that was kind of it.
Okay.
I hadn't been introduced to street skating at all. I didn't even know that. I felt like me and the kids, and I hadn't seen a video yet, so I felt like I heard Tony Hawk's name, I heard Mike McGill's name.
Okay.
And I'd seen the Skull and Sword board, and I just remembered thinking the graphics were just next level.
Okay.
Like those were like and I remembered hearing the boards were like $150 or something. And I knew that wasn't an option, so I was just like, I don't know. And it's not like my parents were poor or anything, but it just like...
It's a lot of money back then.
Well, and skating, like, I'd only been skating like a year. And to go to them and be like, yeah, I want like the most expensive board out. It just didn't seem like it made... I didn't seem like I had... I don't know. I don't know why I didn't ask for it, but it just didn't seem like it was an option.
Yeah, interesting.
And I wasn't even sure that I was that into skating to where I wanted that yet.
Wow, it sounded like it though. You loved the names and you loved everything.
I was into it. I was into it, but I wasn't really like, I got to have this board. I just wanted to like hang out with the dudes in the neighborhood and do what they were doing.
Right.
And it didn't matter if I rode their board for a minute or mine, or I made some crappy rendition of a current board. Like it was all just fun riding the board.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was stuck into whose names. And,
gotcha.
And I hadn't even been to a skate shop yet, so I didn't even know. I didn't even know like that all those options were out there. Yeah.
Right.
I just knew what everybody in my neighborhood had, and there was like 4 guys in my neighborhood that skated. I knew what they had, and I knew what this, janky thing I customized.
But when did you get introduced to like the real world of like the skate shops?
That was 6th grade elementary school, and in 7th grade I got to junior high and everybody was skating. Like everybody had the bangs, and it was like Tony McSqueeb, the haircut.
Right.
And I grew my hair out, and I just remembered at that point I started acknowledging like, whoa, there's lots of people that skate, and there's like a culture that goes with this. It's not just like something you do in your neighborhood. It's like a lifestyle. It's a culture.
Yeah.
So then I started kind of getting a little bit more into it, and then right as I started getting into learning about skating a bit, my parents told me we're moving back to Alabama.
No.
Yeah, it was crushing.
Same house.
No. Well, they were talking about the same house, but somehow in there we had sold the home or something, and they were going to move closer into the city, not be out in the country. And so that was like the only like grain of hope that I had, but I still knew that in Florida, the skate scene was going off. There was like youth, punk rock shows for like young kids, and I started getting into like punk rock music and stuff. And then we were moving back to Alabama, and I could only imagine that it was like a very closed-minded place.
You were devastated.
I was devastated. Right. I remembered thinking like honestly about like suicide. Like I
can't.
Yeah, I remembered thinking like I have friends, I have like everything is here and it's amazing. And I know Alabama's going to suck.
I mean, it's hard for young kids.
It is.
Because the parents, they just pick up and move, and the kids are there.
Yeah. So when I got to Alabama, it was every bit as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Was it?
Oh, it was so bad.
Shit.
I was
You weren't in the sticks, though.
I wasn't, but I was the only skateboarder in my school.
Oh, wow.
And I was like seriously teased to such a gnarly degree. And I'm not
Really?
I'm not like...
Did you get in any fights?
No, because I was really intimidated. It was like a lot of jocks and preps, and there was a lot of them and only one of me.
Okay, right.
I was completely by myself. It was like being in the prison yard and like, you know what I mean? And like, even if I really wanted to like go for it and fight somebody, like, am I going to fight them all?
Right.
You
got no backup.
No.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of put my head down and I didn't talk that much. And I was kind of like, and it was against my personality too, because I was, you know, for the most part, outgoing, you know, an extrovert. And I just felt like I was withering and dying. And then in 8th grade, I remembered getting really into skating and kind of starting to see, I think I saw Sick Boys. And I saw like handrail skating and street skating, and I just remembered getting like really, really stoked. Like we had a 3-stair rail right by our school, and I remember wanting like, you know, I want to boardside the rail.
Yeah.
It had, you know, the rails that have the rail and then the sidewalk, like, you know, you have to like rock and roll out almost, or you land a grind.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was one of those rails. So it's not the ideal scenario. Easier for frontside board sides than it is backside board sides.
Yeah.
But so my first trick was a frontside board slide on like a 3-stair rail.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the backside board slide, it was harder to turn out.
Well, you had to ollie up too, right? So you had ollie mastered the ollies and stuff, right? You'd already...
Yeah, you know what? I ended up going back and visiting some of my friends in Florida.
Okay.
And they were really progressive in skating, and they were doing like kick flips and stuff. And I just remembered, like, I went, I think, for a spring break. And I remembered going back, and everyone was like ripping.
Oh.
And I remembered like getting a crash course, and you got to catch up.
Wow.
And I remembered learning kick flips like that week.
Seriously?
Like basically like, yeah, like you got to... Everyone around you can do kickflips. You're the only one that can't.
You got to do hundreds of hours.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
I'll be in when this is done. You know. And so I remember just getting dedicated to kickflips, and then that same time period, I remember learning like how to ollie over a board and ollie two boards. And I remember just, you know, and then I went back to Alabama, and it seemed like that kind of, you know, was a little bit of a boost in confidence.
Sick.
Anyway. Yeah, I was ollieing stuff and ollieing the 3-stair and maybe a 5-stair, and then I wanted to boardside this rail.
And you did it.
Yeah, and I frontside boardside the 3-stair.
A little dinker, right? You just little,
I mean, it was probably
you know?
enough to fit the whole board on.
Oh, okay.
Like just that amount.
Right.
You know,
Smashing
and
it.
that's where you got the bug, huh? The rail
yeah,
bug.
that no.
Is that the
8th grade skating? I just remembered seeing Sick Boys and realize, you know, kind of like, you know, seeing street skating, and then I just craved anything I could get my hands on that had street skating in it.
Wow.
It was like, you know, Streets of Fire, you know, or Wheels of Fire, Streets on Fire, those videos. I just remembered, and then came the Powell videos, you know, and I just remembered getting so amped on all of it. Animal Chin, and just seeing the videos, and then went into like Ban This or Propaganda, and like seeing Frankie Hill, and Frankie Hill was like one of the dudes that just kind of like blew my mind. Like, whoa, you can jump off anything. Crazy. And we had these loading docks in my town. I didn't really know much about gaps, but we had loading docks, and I just remembered, and jump ramps. You know, the jump ramp era came right around the same time. Yeah, I remember riding off these loading docks for hours, like seeing how long or how high I could take drops. You know, like I was something I was really excited about. And then jump ramps, I loved as well. Like, you know, seeing how high you could go. Yeah, or seeing how far you could go. You can make a jump ramp with like a little mellow kick and go far. Yeah, I never went over a step ladder. I just remember getting so psyched on skating. At that point, I was like, I didn't think about a career. No. But I just thought, this is all I want to do.
That's it.
That's it. This is all I want to do. Like, baseball's done. Sports are done. Skating. I don't care about anything. This is all I want to do.
Did you finish high school? So, going into 9th grade, I started, I was 15, and I started kind of driving to local towns around and skating with all the dudes from all the, you know, surrounding areas and getting more into it. We started filming a little bit and, you know, just kind of, and then that time, like 8th Street videos came out and 8th Street videos were unique. They were different from PAL videos, because PAL videos were filmed on like 16 mil and 35 millimeter cameras, and they were like these big productions. Right.
And then when the H Street videos came out, and then even when like, the First World Industries video came out, Rubbish Heap, those videos were filmed like on a VHS camera, and they were kind of ghetto, and there was like just somebody filming.
Right.
And that kind of like suggested to us like, hey, does anybody know anybody with a video camera?
Okay.
Let's just get a video camera and start making videos.
Oh, sick.
So me and my buddies just started filming and making videos.
Oh.
And I didn't really have any vision for it. I was just like, hey, turn it on and point it at me and follow me around, and I'll do this, and I'll do the same.
Right.
And I'll do the same for you. But I remember being very interested in seeing myself on film because I felt like it helped me progress. And it also gave me a reason to try a little bit harder than I'd planned on trying that day.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
Absolutely.
you were able to then like create a goal.
Yeah.
And then try and accomplish it, and then look back on it.
Right.
And without looking back on it, you give yourself a goal, and it feels good, but you can't replay it. You
for sure.
And you can't even replay the feeling.
No.
You can try a couple of times, and then it kind of wears away.
Right.
And then you reminisce about it, but you can't talk about it with people, or you're just a weirdo. So it really like, I just remembered finding a fascination in filming, and how cool it was to be able to watch your stuff back.
It's true though. You could just see yourself. Everybody's looking at you, but now you can look at yourself too.
Yeah, and then you also
like, why is my arm doing this? I gotta like control my arm.
That is actually the first thing that I noticed.
Was it?
I had a lead hand that like I skated like.
Really?
Yeah, and it was like this. Like, and I remembered thinking like, what am I doing with my hand? Why am I doing that?
Yeah.
And it took me like a year or two to
control that.
To control it. And so what I started doing was grabbing my pants when I pushed. And when pants were really baggy at the time, it really helped because there was a reason for you, because you had to pull this big sheet of fabric off your leg so you could move your leg.
Right. Yeah.
So pants started getting baggier, and at this point I used it as like, I'm going to give my front arm something to do. I would pull up my pants so my knee would work. And then it took down this lead arm.
Wow.
Yeah, so in my really, really young footage, I have this hand. It's like a hand navigating me everywhere. It's really jacked. Like when they do my Epically Later, you guys are going to see it, and you'll be like, oh, that's what he's talking about, the lead hand.
Wow. The lead hand. Oh, man. So you guys are filming now and everything, right? Are you not now turning that into a sponsor meeting?
Not really. No. I mean, at this point, we're just kind of like...
There must have been a skate shop or something where you got in there.
There was a skate shop, but it was like a hobby shop, and they weren't really sponsoring people. I did end up applying for a job there, and they gave me a job. And that was not my first job. My first job was at Wendy's.
Really?
Yeah. I got...
What are you, flipping burgers?
I got caught stealing. And
really?
And they gave me community service. Oh, shit. In community service, there were no like jobs working at the old folks home or something. Those were all taken. There must have been a bunch of derelicts in our town. So they gave me a job at Wendy's, and my salary went to the city for them to use on whatever they wanted.
You got? Oh, I thought you got caught stealing at Wendy's.
No,
you got caught stealing.
I got caught.
What were you just stealing? Like a candy bar or something? What were you like a kid?
Like this is 9th grade.
Car.
I kind of got.
Yeah, he's a Grand Theft Auto.
I kind of got. That's not that far off.
Oh, shit.
I kind of got into like I was hanging out with all these dudes that drank and like stuff, and I was the youngest of the crew. They were like 10th, 11th grade.
Right.
And I was like probably just 9th grade, and. Anyway, I started drinking and started kind of like wanting to be cool and party with them.
Right.
And then we would get drunk and go like break into cars and like, well, actually, no, we wouldn't even break in. We would go to apartment complexes and just open doors.
Check if they were open.
Right. And it was kind of like this thing that we did when we were drunk, and it was, I mean, I know it's terrible, but if there was like stuff like laying there or whatever, we would steal stuff. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if we had a plan to sell it or do anything with it. It was just like kids in a small town bored. And at this time, skating, I liked it, but I was starting to get caught up a little bit in high school, and I was kind of like drinking on the weekends and like, I don't know, just kind of trying to find my way, but got a little distracted from and I might have told this story backwards. I think that when I got to high school, I got caught up in this before I started traveling to other towns.
Okay, gotcha.
So whatever, broke into some cars or went into some like unlocked cars. And at first we would just like take change and like like a pocket knife or it's like random dumb stuff that is undetectable. And then, just like most things, you get carried away, and then the next weekend we would take a little bit more, or we would be like, "Man, there's all these unlocked cars. Maybe we can take something and sell it and buy things we want,
right?
Or party stereos. Or whatever."
Okay.
So we stole car stereos.
Oh, whoa!
And so we were in theory, selling like CB radios and car stereos and stuff.
With the cops, did they catch you?
No, so I don't know. I think we sold a CB radio to a guy.
Okay.
And that dude, for whatever reason, got in trouble with the law. And then they like ran the like, I don't know, serial number or something on his CB radio, and his CB radio came up as stolen. And then they were going to, you know, like whatever, prosecute him. So he told them that he got it from us. And then that was enough for them to get a search warrant. And then they searched me and my homie's house.
Wow.
And then, and this is in 9th grade. So in 9th grade, the cops came to school and took me out of biology or like science class, and then took me out of the school in handcuffs.
Really?
What? Yeah, it was gnarly.
Wow.
And my parents were devastated.
I bet.
I had good parents. Like they taught me right from wrong the whole way through.
Yeah. I mean, you got cops at their house searching your whole.
Yeah, they had to call my parents in order to get into it, and then they got into my room, and there's just car stereos everywhere.
No way.
Yeah,
Didn't your parents see these things in your room too?
No, I kind of like, you know, I was the youngest of 4. My parents were a little bit like left me to my own devices.
Okay, right.
And I was kind of just running amok a bit.
Okay, right. But that taught you a lesson though, right? Did you stop after that?
I went to juvie. I went to proper 3 days in juvie, and it was like waiting for sentencing, and then I had to go in front of the judge, and it was like, and then they let me out after 2 days, I think.
Okay.
And then I had to wait for
Wendy's.
I had to wait for my court case. And since it was my first offense doing anything, they, you know, said, hey, we'll give you community service and probation. Okay. So I got 6 months community service. And for whatever reason, the old folks home was taken. Actually, you know what? I raked leaves for a little bit. Oh. I think I was 15 at the time. And I had to get like a work permit in order to serve community service at Wendy's.
Jesus Christ. Wow. What were you doing at Wendy's? Flipping burgers? Or what do you
they
didn't put you on the register.
They put me on the register.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
They put you on the register.
The car stereo
kid who's stealing car stereo. We'll just put him on the register.
Give him the money.
Yeah,
you know what? This is the first time it's dawned on me that I got caught stealing and got put on the register. Yeah. She basically interviewed me and was like, yeah, you'll do great on the register.
Oh my God! Wow. But you didn't take anything.
No.
Right, you learned
at that point. I remember sitting in the like the room with the metal toilet and the like and juvie, going like, I have to have crushed my parents. This has to be the worst.
Right.
And then I remember when my parents picked me up from juvie, and it was like, the first like half an hour of the car ride was like completely silent.
Oh yeah.
And then it was like, we are so disappointed in you.
Right.
And they didn't even need to say anything to me. I knew how disappointed they were in me. And I knew that I basically had to spend the next phase of my life like making it up to them and not being such a derelict.
Yeah, right.
So shortly after that though, I still hung with the same crew.
Okay.
So I didn't completely snap out of that, but I just knew I wasn't stealing anymore.
Right.
I remember around summertime, 9th grade, maybe.
Okay.
Summer 9th grade.
Yeah.
One of my friends' parents were out of town. We partied at their house. It was like 2 a.m, and it was like crazy night. Like everybody, you know, like got wasted and was acting a fool. My girlfriend at the time got drunk and was throwing up. And I just remembered kind of sobering up like late, and I went outside to smoke a cigarette. And I remember like just kind of sitting there, and then like I remember watching the cigarette burn as I smoked it, and I imagined that the cigarette was like my life.
Oh.
And I had this epiphany that if I didn't do something with my life, it was just going to burn out and be over.
Burn your fingers,
Burn my fingers,
Right.
Anyway, so I just remembered like that as soon as I had that thought, it was my last drag of a cigarette. I threw the cigarette down, I stepped on it, and I was like, I'm done smoking. I'm done drinking. I'm done with this life.
Really?
And I'm going to do something with myself. I knew that to make something of my life, I was going to have to apply myself and give it all I had.
Right.
Or I was going to be in the same garage or a different garage.
When you're 35 years old,
I knew nothing was going to change.
Right.
And for some reason, that became crystal clear. I remembered stepping on the cigarette, and then I went in to go down and go to sleep, and I just remember laying there in bed going, like, getting super motivated that I'm going to do something with my life. I want to be a pro skateboarder. And I just remembered thinking to myself very clearly, I'm going to focus on that. And so all my friends woke up the next morning, and everybody's like, oh, they're all telling stories about like what happened the night before. And I remembered, like, I waited till it was my turn, and I was like, hey guys, like, I know this might sound weird, but I'm done. And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm done drinking. I'm quitting. And they're like, oh, if I had $1 for every time I quit, I'd be a millionaire.
See you tomorrow night.
Yeah. And I was like, nah, I really am done.
Wow.
And they were like, oh, right. Yeah. You'll be back, whatever.
Yeah,
and I was just like, there's no use in trying to convince these guys that I'm making this change.
For sure.
So there was one other buddy at my high school that skated that was like into it. And I remembered the next, like when, the start of the year or something, or maybe even before the summer was over, reaching out to him and trying to go skating with him. And then he was, kind of a loner, and his name was Adam. He didn't really have somebody that he skated with. He skated with his cousin maybe, but he didn't have somebody that was like his good skate homie. And so it was like, I called him up and I was like, hey, let's go skating. And we just started skating together.
Wow.
And he didn't drink, and he didn't he was, super focused on skating. So it was like, I was done. And so.
Did you pretty much switch your friends then? Did you hang out with those people again?
They called me for the next few weekends. And then they just stopped calling because and then as soon as I befriended my buddy Adam, and we started skating all the time together, it was just our whole world was about that. And we played some video games, like at the time Skate or Die, the video game came out, and Zelda came out, and all the Marios were out. Yeah. So we would play video games. Oh. We would play video games, watch videos, and it was went around Rubbish Heap. Time that came out, I remember we would just watch those videos over and over and over and over again. And we got really into skating together, and then I started traveling around to the local areas, like 25 miles this way, 30 miles that way. Right. And that same year, I got a motorcycle. I got a motorcycle, so I could drive. I could get around.
Okay, right.
And so I would ride my motorcycle.
What about your buddy Adam?
What about him?
You would go nuts to butts or what?
No,
what do you mean?
No,
how would he get?
We didn't go nuts to butts.
How would he? You ditched him?
I didn't ditch him. Oh. So I think I've always been a little bit of a hustler. So I don't know if he told his mom or I told his mom that I was 16, and so she let us drive his car or her car.
Oh, okay.
She let us drive her car. She thought I had my license. I think he was like, yeah, Jamie's got his license. He's 16.
Right.
And I didn't have my license.
Wow.
And I was just like, yeah,
I got this.
And I'd driven a car before, and I'd driven my motorcycle before, so I was like, yeah. And I think she'd seen me drive my motorcycle, so she was like, oh, he's got this.
Right.
And I think I was still only 15, and I think we told her this for like a whole year.
Until you walked in, you're like, I got my license.
No.
What?
No, we never told her. And there was a few sketchy instances. One time we were driving to, I lived in Dothan, Alabama, which is South Alabama, just above like Panama City Beach. Anyway, Columbus, Georgia was like almost 2 hours away, and there was a skate park there called Warehouse Skates. Anyway, we were driving to Warehouse Skates, and it was raining. We went down, we were on this back road, and we went down this big-ass hill, and her car, it was like a Mazda Protege. Oh. It started hydroplaning, and I didn't know what to do in a hydroplane scenario. Right. And we hydroplaned all the way down this hill, and I remember the hill went to a bridge, a narrow bridge, and on either side, was like a 60-foot ravine. And I remember thinking, like, this is it. We're going to die right here because I don't know what to do. So I didn't really do anything. And it turns out that that's the right thing to do in a hydroplane.
Right. You let your foot off the gas.
Yeah, I left my foot off the gas, and we hydroplaned for a while. And then, it just kind of came, we were kind of sideways. And then it just came out of it, and we were just driving, and then we didn't talk for like 30 minutes. And I remember thinking that, I'm 15, I don't have a license.
This is crazy.
Obviously, if I had totaled the car or killed my buddy or whatever, it would be like I'd be in jail for life or something. Right. I don't know. I don't know what happened to me, but
crazy. So you guys were going to parks and going to skate,
because there was no real parks in our area, so you had to drive about 2 hours.
And I'm sure you're meeting people.
We were.
You're meeting tons of people.
It was awesome.
Right. Okay.
It was totally awesome. And then sometimes I would ride my motorcycle to those towns if he couldn't go or his mom needed her car or whatever. Right. But it was just another option for us to travel. My buddy Billy lived in the next town. He had a car, and then he was like a year or two older than me, and he would drive us to South Florida, and we would go 6-8 hours.
Stepping it up.
Yeah. You ever go to Kona?
We did go to Kona, and we went.
Isn't that in Hawaii?
No, Kona's the oldest skate park in Florida.
Okay, go ahead.
And we went to Daytona Beach, and I wanted to go and compete in this contest in Daytona. Oh. And that was 1991. It was the NSA qualifiers. And I remember going to that contest thinking I'm going to enter, I remember just feeling all confident about it.
Like you were going to win.
Not going to win. I didn't think I wasn't that delusional, you know? I mean, even though I was doing well in my like local area and I was like as progressive as anybody else in the area.
Okay.
I knew that there was better dudes out there than me.
Okay.
But we met John Montesi that trip.
Oh, sick.
And John Montesi was like blowing up, you know, he rode for New Deal at the time and it was like, he was a big deal and he was super cool to us. It was rad. And then I remembered going to the skate park. It's Stone Edge was the name of the skate park. I remember going to the skate park.
Is that the one with the bull with the spine? It's like it had like yellow edging around everything?
Yeah, it had yellow edging. And I don't know if it had a spine, but it has a center section that you could launch. And it was like about a 3 or 4 foot section. It was kind of like a horseshoe almost.
Yeah.
But they had a street section there and the qualifiers were on the street section.
Right.
And Andrew Reynolds was there. He was really little. Like I was 15.
The boss and the chief.
And he was probably only 11 or 12
Wow,
at the time. But he was super good.
Right.
And then Dave Duran was there. Kane Gale was there.
This was like a star-studded.
All the best guys. All the best guys in Florida were there. Yeah,
Gotcha.
they were there.
Okay.
And I remember going there and like, I mean, whatever, Hocus Pocus and you know the 8th Street videos had been out for a year or so. But I remember going there and seeing Kane Gale do a 540 ollie on the quarter pipe above coping.
Wow.
And I was like, you know, I had all this mojo that I'm gonna enter. I want to place and I want to go to the next qualifier and I want to go to the finals, you know, the AM finals.
Right.
And I remembered seeing Dave Duran and Kane Gale and Andrew and a couple other, you know, Clyde Singleton was there, all these guys. And I just remembered thinking like, I got no business out there. And I just like, I entered and then I went and kind of like did some practice and like saw everybody. And I was like, I got no business here.
You didn't even go. You didn't even do your run.
Then I went and like unentered.
You said no. Give me my I need my money back.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna see you guys next year.
Wow.
I'm not ready for this. I got no business here.
So what did you do?
And Kane Gale, I remember Kane Gale and Dave Duran were the dudes. I think Dave Duran won the contest.
Okay.
Dave Duran, they had a vert wall basically on the street course, and I remember he did a nollie to fakie above the vert wall, and it was like an 8-foot wall, and it was like probably 4 feet of vert or something. But I just remembered being blown away. And I remember Andrew Reynolds like maybe fronts 180 and backs 180 the pyramid. And at the time, like I'd never even skated a pyramid. I'd seen a pyramid, but I mean, and I'd skated one a little bit of hip, but I hadn't skated a pyramid like that. And I was just like, there was too much for me to take in. They had a small rail there, and I don't know. You know what it really was? I was just intimidated. These guys were like, they were skating like vets.
They were good, right?
Yeah, and some of them we were the same age. Like me and Kane Gale and Dave Duran were probably almost all the same age. But because I was from Alabama,
they were on a different
Totally, they'd been skating around each other and maybe even a contest circuit for a while. Right. And I was like, you know.
Did you come back next year?
I did come back the next year.
Did you?
Yeah.
And did you actually enter?
The next year was in Orlando.
Okay.
And I came back, and I think I got third place.
Yeah.
So in that year, I basically was like, okay, I'm going to come back next year, but I'm going to be ready. So then over the next 12 months, I skated contests and traveled around the Southeast. And
were you picking up any sponsors or anything?
So I got a job at the local hobby shop, skate shop, bike shop.
Okay.
And we were filming each other more and more this time. And I made a couple VHS, sponsor me videos. Right. And I worked at the shop. And I was the buyer. Like I had to buy the cool stuff. So they let me, pick. And at the time it was like Reel was just getting started. I bought some blind stuff, like, the original Skull and Bananas and all those boards when they came out. The Nodus Kaboom board. All that stuff around that time period. All basically the biggest board graphics that collectors are sought after in the early 90s.
Right.
I bought those for the shop.
Okay.
And I'd either ridden them or, kind of sold them to my buddies.
Sure.
But, I think I was starting to like ride the boards from the shop and then like not always telling the boss.
And stealing again.
Yeah.
Kinda. But I think I was like,
just put himself on the team.
I think I like put myself as the only guy in the shop. Hobby shop. But anyway, at this point, I sent a video to Deluxe.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And Tommy's brother, Tony, was a sales guy for Deluxe. And Tony was a very generous guy. And he was like, oh, you're, very outgoing. And like, we love to get Reel boards. Reel was just kind of starting and growing. Sick. And he's like, we'd love to get Reel boards in the shop.
Oh.
And so like overnight, I went from buying like a couple of reel boards to as soon as they put me on like a flow program,
right,
I was buying like 50 to 60% reel boards, like
Oh,
almost
you-
all the boards. It was basically like a reel outlet.
right.
Yeah, it was like we were a real skate shop.
Wow.
So it was like half blind and, you know, the world stuff,
And then,
the other half was real. So anyway, I was buying, you know, real stuff, and they started sending packages, but they would send them to my house, which felt very special.
Yeah,
and they'd
of
only be
course.
like 1 or 2 boards.
But still.
Totally. So the first package I ever got was the Hanging Klansman board.
Oh wow.
Jim Tebow.
Wow.
The Jim Tebow board.
Oh. There's his name again,
There's
being brought up
his-
on the
yeah.
show. Huh? His
Every
name gets brought
episode.
up a lot.
He's the best guy.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
So anyway, they were flowing me boards here and there, and then that year, you know, I was going to the AM qualifiers in
Right.
Orlando, and I reached out to Tony and I was like, hey, could you guys like, you know, help me with the entry fee stuff? And he's like, well, how about you enter this contest? If you can take care of this one, if you make it to the next, because how the old AM finals used to work, where you had to qualify in the Southeast.
Okay.
And then you had to go to the East Coast qualifiers.
Oh.
And then after that, it sent you to the
nationals,
finals.
yeah.
It sent you to the finals.
Okay.
So it was Orlando, Winston-Salem, North Carolina at Eastern Vert, and then Texas.
Okay.
Skate park at Houston.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
that was the circuit. And it was like, I think you could see it in Thrasher magazine. It like told you where to go.
Oh, right.
And so,
okay.
you know, I went to Orlando first, and Clyde Singleton and all the guys that were there the year before were there again. But it was kind of like that 7th grade thing where I wasn't like ready the first year.
Right.
I came back and now I had confidence.
Oh.
I think I learned the Benihana. And I was bringing the Benihana to the contest.
Yeah.
At any rate, I did okay.
Yeah.
I did okay, and I qualified third
Oh.
riding a reel board.
Okay.
And so I called Tony, you know, I was like, hey, I qualified third. I'm making it to Winston-Salem. And he's like, okay, I'll talk to Jeff Clint, or I'll let you talk to Jeff Clint. And at the time, you know, Jeff's one of the original founders of Deluxe and Reel.
Okay.
I talked to Jeff, and Jeff's like, yeah, we're stoked on you. We're stoked, you know, you're buying boards for the shop. You're the buyer.
Right.
And, you know, you're riding the boards. And,
And
you did good.
you're ripping, right.
And at the time, like, it was kind of like a contest was like almost like kind of something for your resume.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was sending them a video every single month.
Are you
And
serious?
yeah.
Every month.
Every month. And it would be like I remember one video.
And this was like VHS, like you
VHS.
hadn't like master. You were just filming
Yeah,
yourself.
we were filming all right, there's a couple
This is-
couple
okay,
stories
okay,
here.
I love it. I love it. I love
couple
it. Yeah.
stories here. One story was at my high school, the only guy we knew with a video camera, he had to babysit his little brother after school. So we were like, screw it, I'm coming over to your house. I'm gonna film in your driveway.
Oh.
His name was Jay Bush. Anyway, we went to
Jay Bush.
me and my buddy Adam, my straight edge buddy Adam.
Yep.
We went to Jay Bush's house because he had the only video camera. He had the only video camera that I knew of. And we went to his house, and we drug out his garbage can. I jumped between his driveway and his neighbor's driveway. I did lines up and down his driveway. I filmed pretty much a whole video that one day in his driveway.
And you sent it to Reel.
Yes. So, but then one other day he came out of the house and went to a local mini ramp with us.
Okay.
So one of my videos was, and then the background, his younger brother was like maybe 9 or something. Mm-hmm. And I remember he came out of the house and he had on the pajamas with the feet.
With the feet, yeah.
And I was like, dude, you're real big to have those pajamas with the feet. But I just remembered being stoked that we
Kelly
got
has a pair.
I just remember.
Oh, yeah, wear them all the time.
I just remember being stoked on the fact that my buddy Jay would film us in the driveway.
Yeah.
And then my other buddy was like Adam was like my hype man. And the footage would be like, yeah, Jamie, yeah, Jamie.
Do you have any of this footage
do,
still?
I
You
do.
have to. I mean,
Yeah,
you got to
post it.
post some of this stuff.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, it's just
Yeah,
it's
somewhere.
You
Somewhere.
gotta, you know,
Somewhere. I mean,
it's
if
rad.
I talked to Patrick, you know, I helped them with the Musk episode
Okay.
and with Reynolds episode, and he talked about doing Epically later next season.
Oh, sick.
So maybe some of that stuff
You
will
got
show
to,
up in
yeah.
there, but and maybe at least the lead hand.
the
footage.
lead hit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so
Early on style.
that Sponsor Me video is composed of his driveway and then my buddy's mini ramp. And my buddy didn't know how to make a mini ramp, so the mini ramp
God.
has transitions at the bottom, but then it's just like a ditch.
Oh Jesus.
And you could, and so you can't really grind the coping very much. So it pretty much was me learning melons to fakie and like bone out ollies to fakie and stuff.
Right.
So I think I do like 15 ollies to fakie in this video, and they're all in like VCR to VCR slow motion. I think the video was like 18 minutes long.
Oh my gosh! Did they say to you, "Yo, Jamie"?
They didn't say anything. I think probably Tony was the only guy watching it because he was just like, "Oh, I shouldn't show anybody this."
This is bad. This is bad. Right.
And that was one of them. And then the next one, I would send him another one a month later.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think I was naked in one of them as well.
You were going all out. You wanted to get on the team.
No, you know what? I didn't even think about that.
Why would you send it in?
That's funny.
Why would you send it in?
It just happened to be on the tape, probably.
No.
Like, they're gonna be stoked on this one.
Yeah, this is
I don't. Now that you asked that, Kelly, I don't know what I was thinking. All right, here's another one for you. One of those videos, maybe even that one, the naked one, was the one in Baker 2. In the end, when it says skateboarding has gotten so serious, we're going to leave this section black.
Oh, yeah.
And oh, gosh, it's so bad. So I remember one of my party tricks was getting naked as a kid.
That was your party trick,
yeah,
right?
And I was a sober kid, but still had no problem getting naked. I was like the sober Bill Weiss.
Okay, right.
Wild on the streets. And so I remember skating in Atlanta before I moved, same summer as the like NSA contest series. But
Okay.
I remember we were skating a schoolyard, and for some reason it made sense to me. There was like a bump to a fence, and for some reason it made sense to me that I was gonna ollie the bump to fence naked.
Right.
Of course.
I don't know. Still don't even know why that makes any sense.
Were you shoeless or did you have
No.
shoes?
I had shoes on. I had shoes on, and I had a hat on backwards. But I had no shirt on
And a belt.
and no, I didn't have a belt. So it was like, I didn't wear underwear at the time, so my pants, and at the time pants were sagging, like you wore like blind cut off shorts or something.
For sure, yeah.
And in Atlanta, it was so hot. Like in the South, it was so hot in the summer that you couldn't really wear underwear. It was like, so I was like only one layer away from being naked anyway.
Might as well
just take it off.
Drop the
Anyway, so I filmed, and it's like a long extended line.
Oh, God.
So, yeah,
It's even better that the guy's just filming you.
I know.
I know.
And described it as long and extended.
I know. It wasn't long and extended. Anyway, so the thing starts off with me. The fence was kind of like bent down, and there was like a bump to the fence. Mm-hmm. It was a really good spot.
Yeah.
I think it started with me ollieing over the fence into the bank. And then I remembered like maybe doing a shove it on flat or a couple shove it's.
Okay.
And there's this one part where I'm kind of like not really sure what to do, and I start like scratching my leg. And I remember watching it back and going, why am I scratching my leg?
Right.
I think I was just like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm naked.
You're naked, yeah.
Yeah, I'm at a schoolyard, which I'm naked.
You could get arrested for nowadays. Yeah.
You could have then too. I was 16 though, so I don't know what that means. But at any rate, I cruise around and then I'm pushing to the bump to fence, and I Benihana the bump to fence naked. And then for some reason I carve around, and then I'm like flapping my wiener all over the place. And all of this is in the video. Seriously, all of that's in the sponsor me video.
There's a lot in
You
that.
just said, fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm going to just,
I said fuck it. So I had a whole sponsor me video, and it was like everything we filmed everything I filmed in the summer.
Right.
And then this was like the funny shit at the end.
Okay.
I know it doesn't even really make sense. It seems insane.
How many tries
Like, if
was
you-
that line?
No, I think I just did it that try.
I was
it was
kept
just-
going
yeah,
back and
right.
forth.
No. And I think I was so naive that I thought they'll think of it as funny, just like me and my buddies do.
Right.
And I never really heard anything negative about it. I think Tony told me like, "What the fuck, dude? You were naked or something," but he didn't even trip on it that hard. And so, and you know what? And I don't even know if anybody was even seeing my tapes at Deluxe. I felt like I was just sending them into thin air.
Right.
Sending out
You didn't
names.
have any.
You know what?
No.
And I think I knew that, so that's why I sent one every month. I was like, if I up my odds by sending a video every month to the same place, eventually Thebo or somebody, Tommy, somebody's gonna be like, "What the hell?" Who
And
keeps
especially
sending us
if you
these
say if
tapes?
you send this line in when you're naked, maybe you'll get a callback.
You know what? Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I just
Yeah.
wanted a reaction. Maybe
Right.
I just wanted like
Right.
I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, I think that, and I don't know for certain that they were going to put the naked footage in to Baker 2, but I remember catching wind.
So they found the tape.
So Mickey, here's the story I was told.
Okay.
I wasn't close with Mickey at the time. Didn't really,
No.
I knew of him and I knew him and I'd met him before.
Okay.
But apparently the Baker guys were visiting Deluxe and they came across the video.
Gotcha.
And got the video and they're like, oh, we should check this out, or we should,
Yeah.
we should watch this or whatever.
Right.
And those guys are all about causing hijinks or whatever. So they got the video and the video was just put in.
Was it the whole Sponsor Me video or just the naked line?
I think it was the whole Sponsor Me video.
The whole Sponsor Me video.
Yeah, because
Okay.
in the video, if you still go back and watch it,
This
says,
is after black.
Yeah, this is after the videos.
Yeah.
It's like the credits.
Right.
I just remember thinking, like, I know these guys.
Yeah.
I filmed some of Andrew's tricks in this video.
Right.
And I filmed other tricks in the video. Why would they put me on blast?
Right.
And I have nothing to do with this company.
So, right. Okay.
At the time, I'd had an attorney friend that helped me with my audio contract.
Oh.
I think, I just gotten, it was like, out of America and into audio. And it was the first time I'd ever had an attorney do anything for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I call this guy and I'm like, hey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
There's this footage of me apparently in a skateboard video, and it's like from like 5 years ago or something, 7 years ago, and I have nothing to do with this company.
Right.
What are my rights?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, they can't use that.
Oh.
And I was like, really? And I was like, so what do you do? He's like, you send them a letter right now, and then they have to recall production if they use it, and if they haven't done it yet, then if they haven't produced it yet, they have to take it out.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that makes me feel a little better.
They're using your likeness.
So I called Per Wellender and said, hey, sorry to do this, buddy, but I just, caught wind that my Sponsor Me video is in the Baker video.
Right.
And then I just called, my attorney friend and got some legal advice, and, he made me aware that, you can't use this without my permission, and I absolutely do not give you permission to use this.
Wow.
And I'd like you to take it out.
Right.
And he was like, and he's like, it's about to go out for duplicating like that day or the next day. And he's like, and this is like the third thing we've had to deal with. It's been like music and like us using something of Chad Fernandez, and I've been in a legal fight with him, and like it just kind of went on. And it was basically like Jay was just mixed, he was just like, causing hijinks.
But you didn't call Andrew or anybody like to try to be like, yo, what's going on with this?
I felt like Andrew's role in the company at that point, like he was the like star writer.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like the guy calling the shots yet.
Okay, gotcha.
And I didn't, and also like Andrew and I were buddies, and I didn't want, not like we were buddies, but we were like, friends or whatever,
Yeah, for sure.
And I didn't want it to be like me calling him out, And I felt
Right.
like the best way to get it taken out was to call the business guy.
Got you. Okay.
The guy who was really going to care if my attorney called him or not.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just thought it through and sat there and was just like, what should I do?
Yeah.
And then I thought, don't call Jay Strickland. Then my phone conversation's going to be in the next video.
Okay.
And
Right.
so I was like, that's not going to do me any good. He's just
Yeah.
going to love me calling him.
Right.
And so I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of it.
Yeah.
So I just called the guy who ran the distribution
Okay.
that was eventually going to be dealing with the legality of it.
Right.
And it worked.
Yeah.
It got the thing taken out. They took it out, and then they put 2 minutes of black, and it says skateboarding has gotten so serious that this section has to be black.
And that was referring to
That was
you.
him trying to make jab at me
Okay.
for not wanting my sponsoring video in there.
Now, people knew that this was a jab at you, or this
Some people
was
knew. I mean, if you're on the
okay.
inside, some
Right.
people knew, and then the story got out. I heard about it on the Slack message boards later, and people talked about it, but I didn't care. I mean, I'd rather that be black than some footage of me that was insane in the first place.
Right.
Just imagine that if
you should release the whole part.
Yeah, the naked part for sure.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Put it on iTunes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, look at Jaws now. He just Ollie Del Toro naked.
I know naked's an in thing.
But
We got to let's
you're
do
way, I mean, you're way ahead of the game, dude.
I mean,
know.
if you saw this footage, you'd have to blur a lot out.
Right,
I'm
right,
very liberal with
Yeah.
showing the wang in this video. It's like I'm flopping it around, and it's like
so oh my god.
we thought it was the funniest thing
Right,
ever.
right,
We didn't.
right.
I don't know. I feel like it went through this time where being
Yeah.
naked was funny.
Right.
And maybe it's
You know
still
what? It is funny though. It is funny.
It is kind of funny,
It is
but
funny.
then I remembered you know, like meeting new people, and their crews didn't think it was funny, and it was like,
I just asked why. I'm like, why are you doing that?
well, I think it was like what Chris said. Maybe it's to be noticed, or
Yeah, maybe.
You know,
Right.
I mean, you know, you're an extrovert when you're like getting
Doing
naked,
so, right,
you
for
know?
sure.
And over time, I realized that just made me look like a weirdo. Not really necessarily like it didn't. You know, it doesn't necessarily help,
Right.
but someone would notice it.
Did you ever say to Andrew afterwards? Did you ever say, "Yo, man, like, what was up with that"? No, never talked about it.
Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe.
interesting.
I don't know, but you know what? I think he just said, "Oh, that was Jay." You know, and it was
okay.
Jay.
Right,
you know, it was
right,
Jay.
right, right.
That was Jay's MO. You know, he
Yeah.
just wanted to
Stir it up.
stir it up.
Right.
Yeah, you know, and
Right. Without the permission of the
yeah,
other
of course,
party.
that stirs it up even more.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
But
for
he
sure.
didn't really care about legality of
Yeah,
things.
no,
you know what I mean? That was on pair. He was like there to just have a good time and
Right.
you know, cause shit. So
Wow. Look
Whatever,
At that,
though.
huh?
I mean-
I love that though.
So anyway, yeah, sent sponsor me videos to Deluxe
Yeah.
like a lot,
Right.
and then they paid for my entry fee in North Carolina at the Winston-Salem contest, which Andrew was at again, and Jim Gagney and like all the guys on the East Coast then were there.
Oh,
Yeah.
how'd you do at that contest?
I got second.
Second.
Yeah, so I went third to second. So
oh,
I was,
there's only one
Climb the
place
ladder.
left to go, huh? Yeah.
Isn't Mark
was-
Johnson from there?
Who's that?
He's from
Mark
North,
Johnson.
North
Yeah. Mark
Carolina.
Johnson
yeah.
is.
He's from
He's from
Winston-Salem.
Winston-Salem and Virginia, but Winston-Salem.
Oh yeah, Winston.
But I think he was a few years younger, and I don't think he was in that. He wasn't in that contest because you had to do this whole qualifying thing. And
Okay.
if he would have been 13 or so, he wouldn't have been going down to Orlando. And actually, he just started skating probably that year.
Oh, maybe. So the next stop, Texas.
The next stop was Texas. So I went home and saved up money. I was only 17 at the time,
Gotcha.
and I quit school. I kind of got in a little more trouble at school.
Okay. Oh.
And I ended up quitting school, and oh man, when I quit school, and I shouldn't be saying this, but it was the best. Because I used to have to go to school every day, and
Yeah.
all I thought about was
skating.
All I thought about was skating and going to California.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of friends that lived in other areas that either didn't go to school or they were out of school.
Yeah.
And
I
I
was
just
say, you
remember,
have to wait for your friends to get out of school to go skate.
and I would do that too.
Yeah.
And I would like, or if someone like skipped school that day, I would be like, I was there. You know, they had a homie.
And you were still saving up money to go to Texas
no
and
at
doing
this,
the
at
no.
this point I wasn't yet. So I actually I hadn't even gone to the qualifiers yet. This was before.
Oh, this
that.
is before all that.
Yeah,
Okay,
this was
gotcha,
before. We're jumping around.
No,
This
it's all
isn't
good.
chronological.
No, hey, it's all good.
Anyway, I my dad knew that my mom had signed me out.
Oh.
And he had said, to live in my house, you have to go to school or you have to get a job. And I looked at him and I said, is it either or? And he said, yes, it's either or. And at this time, we were skating every day, and I went to this one Burger King, and I was like, I ate double cheeseburgers every day. me and my buddies went there, and I was like, I know everybody at Burger King. I'm getting a job at Burger King. And then I'm like, plus last year I worked at Wendy's.
I did great there.
I did
Yeah.
great.
Right.
I didn't say this earlier, but I did good at Wendy's, and I did a good job.
Yeah.
I had pride in what I was doing there. So
Okay.
after my community service, they just kept me on. And I
Oh.
stayed another 3 to 6 months after my
Oh, there
community
you
service
go.
was up.
Made
Right.
manager.
Right.
I didn't make manager, but the manager I feel like maybe had a crush on me. And even though she was like 30, and I wish she seemed really old at the time.
Okay,
I got the
right.
job at the skate shop. So I worked at the skate shop. So
Yeah.
I went from Wendy's to the skate shop. And then the skate shop ended up saying, hey, the skateboard thing's not really working for us. We're not making any money.
Okay.
It might have been because I was riding too many of the boards.
Right. We're losing money here. I don't know why.
we're
Right.
losing money. Those blind Jason Lee boards seem real popular, but for some reason the books aren't proving positive.
And we're always out of them. I don't know. Understand. Yeah.
At any rate, so then there was like that, 6-month
little
window,
thing, and then
where,
Burger King.
and then my dad said, "You got to work or go to
Wow.
school." So I just said,
Got the Burger
sign
King
me up
gig.
at Burger King." But at Wendy's, I was running the register. That was a lot easier. At Burger King, I was like on Whopper. I was on the sandwich detail.
Would you steal? Like, would you eat? Would you nibble on
Some-
the? You would.
Sometimes I would nibble.
Yeah. This is before all the contest, right? This is
No, I
before?
was kind of doing the local contest, but it was before the summer where I went to the NSA qualifiers.
Right,
yes.
okay.
So this is leading up to the summer.
Okay. Right.
And so what I needed a car. And so once I had to get a job, or my dad said I couldn't live there.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'll get a job at Burger King and I'll save up for a car. And my dad was always legit in saying that if you pay for half of anything, I'll meet you halfway.
Oh, that's a response. I like that. Yeah.
So he was like, if you save up half the money for the car, I'll pay the other half. And so my aunt and uncle had like an Isuzu iMark, and it was like maybe $1,700 or maybe like $2,000.
Wow.
And I remember thinking like, oh, I only need $1,000. And so I worked at Burger King enough to save up
How long did that take?
Well, I kind of was still working part-time because I was skating.
Right.
And then once I realized that it was just going so slow, I was like a couple of months had gone by.
And I stole some car stereos.
No, I was done with that.
Oh, okay.
My stealing days were done.
Quick buck.
Maybe a chicken nugget here or there, but I wasn't into stealing anymore.
I'm just kidding.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I deserve it. So at any rate, I started working split shifts. So I would go and help make biscuits in the morning and do breakfast, and then I would skate
Cut
home.
out and go,
I would skate home for a few hours, like take a nap or I don't know, watch television or something, and watch Wheel of Fortune, and then go back to work and then work like the evening.
Oh.
And so I started getting money quickly. And then I also started getting money to travel to the other areas around me. And, skating, and I was able to buy boards, and it was amazing.
Great,
And then I saved $1,000, and my dad met me halfway, and I bought my aunt and uncle's car.
Oh.
And then and that's how I got to the contest. And,
Right.
So I drove to those contests.
Did you drive to the Houston one too?
Yeah.
You drove there?
So the theory that at this point was I was dreaming about California all day and night.
All day and night.
Yeah. So at this point it was like what do I got to do?
You're
to get to
halfway
California?
there if
So,
you're in
yes.
Houston or in Texas.
So
right.
the mindset was qualify in Orlando for Winston-Salem, qualify in Winston-Salem for Houston. If I make it to Houston, I'm halfway there and I'm going all the way to California.
Right. In my Isuzu Trooper, whatever.
Isuzu iMark. I'm hardly a Trooper.
Yeah. Okay.
This is like a Ford Fiesta.
Oh.
It's like really small and crappy.
Okay, gotcha.
But it was a car nonetheless.
A to B, right?
Absolutely.
You just get A to
so
B.
I had some buddies that I'd met in Atlanta, and this is why I quit Burger King too. So I put in like a week notice to take one day off from work. The band 411, Mario Rubalcaba, the drummer of the band, Dan O'Mahony, it was like a hardcore band.
Okay.
He was like a straight edge guy, but anyway, I was really into the band 411. It was like they were.
Kelly was into 411 too.
All of them.
Anyway, I was really into the band 411, and I wanted to go see them. They were playing in Atlanta. And I had a couple of buddies that I'd met in Atlanta from like a trip, or I'd met them at a spring break or something.
Okay.
In Florida. Anyway, I was going to go to Atlanta and hang out with my friends that I'd met there, skate dudes, and I was going to go to the 411 concert.
Okay.
It was like on a Friday night.
Right.
And I put in with my boss. I was like, hey, I really want to go. I think it might even have been 2 weeks. And she's like, oh, we'll see. Friday's our busiest night. We'll see how busy we are that night, and then I'll let you know.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, I just want to let you know this is really important to me. I really want to go. And I had planned a weekend in Atlanta, and it was going to be awesome. And I was going to get to see this band.
Yeah.
Noon came around, and I knew that I had to leave. Atlanta was about a 3.5 hour drive.
Basically, you were going there regardless.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so lunchtime came around. I went to her before lunch, and I was like, hey, I just want to remind you, this is the day that I have something going on in Atlanta. I need to take off.
Wow.
I just want to let you know I got to take off by like 11 or something. And anyway, so 11 comes around. I'm like, hey, I need to take off. And she's like, we're slammed. Wait till we're done. And then lunchtime came around, and then lunchtime, it was like, you can't leave in the middle of a lunch. A lunch rush is like from 11 to 1. I was like, she's like suckering me into staying here all day.
For sure. You could see it a spot a mile away.
Totally.
Yeah.
I just went to her and I was like, look, I got to go. And she's like, you can't leave. I'm sorry. You can't have the time off. You can't leave today. And I remember going back to the Whopper station, and I remembered, I remember having this moment where I was just like, I was just
it's
like,
now or never.
I was just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And I just stood there for a second thinking about like how fun it was going to be to hang out with my buddies and see 411, and all the orders from the drive-through were coming in, and like the monitor was just stacking up.
Oh no.
And I just remember watching it stack up and not saying anything, and people started yelling. They were like, "What? We need this. We need this."
This is like out of a movie.
It is out of a movie.
Yeah.
I just stood there for an extended period of time. It was probably only like 3 or 4 minutes, but 3 or 4 minutes in a rush.
Seriously,
like you have the
pressure.
Yeah, the line is stacking up. And I remember just like taking my shirt off like all slow and casual and just like setting it down, and then it's like walking out. And she's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I told you weeks ago."
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm done. I quit.
Wow.
So anyway, I left, and then
you don't know what happened. You don't know who manned the Whopper station. After
the Whopper station was
nobody.
Jacked. It was like
people.
It was stacked up, and it kind of felt good that it was stacking up. I felt like it was, it felt like office space or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Anyway, so I quit Burger King.
Yeah.
Went to Atlanta. met some buddies in Atlanta, and I'm like, I'm moving to Atlanta.
Oh.
Yeah. So I went back, and I already had the car.
Got the car.
Yeah.
Good.
I had the car, and
Right.
I was like, it was almost summertime. Atlanta was like, these dudes were, it was going to be summer in Atlanta, and I was just stoked. And so after the Florida qualifiers or whatever, there was one in Winston-Salem.
Right.
I went to Atlanta for a month or so waiting for that Winston-Salem one, and it was like not halfway, but like on the way.
It was on the way.
The way to Winston-Salem. Hung out there. My friend
Okay.
Devin let me stay at his house for the summertime, and it was epic. It was so fun. Like everyone, there was so many dudes that skated there, and it was a big city.
Listen, no job, no school,
Yeah.
no. I mean,
And I got a car.
and you got a car. You're
Yeah.
cruising, right?
I didn't have much money, so I quickly started running out of money.
Oh.
And then I was like, hey, what should we do? And then we all got a job telemarketing. We weren't even telemarketing.
Telemarketing.
We weren't
Oh.
even telemarketing. We were doing online. We were doing cold call surveys.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was rough.
You got hung up on a lot, probably, or got called
Oh
names.
no,
and
you get hung up on 9 out of 10.
That's crazy.
But then it becomes this like gnarly challenge to like,
Get
how
one.
can you get somebody on the phone? It's like you're fishing.
It's like a job. Yeah, yeah.
You're
it's like
fishing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right,
you're
right.
like out there and you're like, oh, I got a bite.
Right.
And then I started working on my charm as well. I started
Oh, yeah.
working on
Your
like
phone voice, maybe.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
not even a voice. It's more
Oh.
like technique. It was
Okay.
like me and my buddy Sean Young. He rode for Antihero and Real and stuff. But anyway, he did it, and we would sit next to each other, and we would like challenge each other to who was gonna do what. And I would be like, I'm gonna get this many calls. And you had to. The only thing you had to do was make X amount of calls a night.
Oh, that's it. You had a
Yeah.
certain number you had to hit.
You had a quota.
and That's
yeah.
okay.
And so it was kind of like you didn't care if you got hung up on, but it always felt better. I mean, rather than just
Now, do
getting
they give
hung
you a
up on.
list of phone numbers to call, or is it like
Absolutely.
a random dialer
You have a
thing?
list, and you don't know their name. You just have a list of numbers, and then your agenda.
What was a pitch? Give us a pitch. Do you remember the
Yeah,
whole
I mean,
thing? If you called me right now,
I would be like,
Man,
Yeah,
I would be like, yes.
let
can
me
I
do
pl-
it. Hello.
Hi, can I please speak to the man of the house?
Hey, this is speaking.
Oh, hi. How are you tonight?
I'm all right. Who's this?
Well, no. Generally from there, you'd be like, and sometimes I would say like, I actually don't really have that good of a job. And I would start with this like sob
You would
story.
start with the sob. I love.
I would
that.
just say that I get hung up on let's just say I get hung up on a lot on this job, but my goal is to ask you a few questions about your laundry habits or whatever. And the funny thing is there was 3 of us that did it in the beginning. It was me, Sean, and my buddy Hurley.
Okay.
We were the 3 that moved to California together.
Oh,
And Hurley lasted 1 day.
one day.
Yeah,
couldn't do.
he was like, "This is terrible. Too much rejection." And he went to the bathroom and never came, never came back.
I'm gonna go get a pack of smokes and yeah.
And he basically, and I think he maybe asked me for my keys to get something out of my car, and he just went to go to sleep in my car and just slept.
Oh, my
He slept for
God.
like, we worked an 8-hour day.
Oh,
He went and slept like 6 hours in the car.
Now and then you guys were at the time like saying like we're gonna go to California.
We're gonna go to California,
All 3 of
100%.
you were in.
100%. We were committed to
Hurley,
California.
maybe not so much.
No,
because
Hurley was.
did he get another job?
No, Hurley was from New Hampshire.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, like, wasn't Sean and Hurley both from New Hampshire?
So Sean was from Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
and his dad moved to New Hampshire for like a year. Or his family moved to New Hampshire for a year. He met Hurley in New Hampshire, and then Sean, when they moved back, they moved to Atlanta.
Oh.
And so Hurley and Sean stayed in touch, and when they graduated high school, Hurley was like, "Oh, I'm going to come down and stay the summer with you in Atlanta." And so Hurley came down and stayed the summer, and then I was there, and I knew Sean from Alabama. And then, we skated together in this crew, and Sean was just like the funniest dude to be around and the funnest guy. He was so carefree and easygoing. It was just always a blast. And then he heard about our garage plan of moving to California, and he's like, "I'm in."
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So right before we left, the timing belt blew on the Isuzu iMark.
Oh, jeez.
Or broke. I
What
guess
is
not
that?
blew.
$500 to
No,
fix or
I thought
something?
that, and it was $1,200 or $1,700.
Total. That's probably like both you
It
guys'
was a
monies?
good
Yeah.
amount of money, and so we all thought to ourselves like, okay, do I just pay this with all the money I have, and I borrow $200 from you guys, and I'm dead broke, and then we stay here another 3 months for me to get the money?
Oh, God.
And they were like, oh, that's not going to work because you got the AM finals in Texas. We got to be there by this date. So we were like, what should we do? And everyone's like, let's just all pitch in, and then we'll survive on less.
Oh.
So we divided $1,700 3 ways, and then right then I pretty much gave my car to the 3 of us.
Yeah.
It was like our car now.
Right.
And then it was only like a week or 2 later we left for Texas.
Oh, wow.
So we had no time to raise more money. We were just like, and we were just committed to going.
Right.
So there was this one big gap I wanted to try before I left, and was like, I might not, I don't know what I was thinking. I might not ever come back here. Anyway, I just was like, I got to try it before we leave. And I remember talking about it. I remember, the guys smoking cigarettes in the garage and us like talking about this trip to California. But I was like, I got to try the Buckhead Gap before we leave. I got to try it before we leave. Anyway, I went to the Buckhead Gap, and I didn't go fast enough.
Oh no.
And it was a gap over like some bushes and a sidewalk, and then the sidewalk was about a 2-foot drop to the street.
Oh,
which is kind of weird for it to be that high of a sidewalk.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah, definitely not up to code.
Right.
Anyway, so I remember not going fast enough and kicking out, and one foot landed on the sidewalk, but the other foot landed in the street, and that meant the foot landing in the street took most of the impact.
Yeah.
And so I blew my heel out, and it was like the worst heel bruise. And at that point, I really hadn't had a heel bruise where it was black and blue, and my leg was shaking, and I was like, so I blew my heel out. I thought I broke my foot. Wow. It was that bad. And we were leaving for Texas in with less than a week.
So you're like, fuck it, let's just go straight to California.
No. I was like, I just got to go, but I'm probably not going to be able to skate because my heel bruise is so bad. So it was kind of not a good idea, but I thought I would do it or whatever.
Yeah.
When you're 17, you think you're invincible.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we left for Texas.
Yep.
And I was supposed to hook up with the real guys when we got there, and according to Jeff Clint, one of the owners at the time, he was like, yeah, they'll hook you up with a place to stay. You can stay in their hotel, whatever.
Oh.
Hey, naked dude's coming.
Yeah, naked dude's coming. Anyway, and they'd probably already gotten the lowdown on who I was. Or somebody had probably seen my sponsoring video and gone like, oh, this guy. I can't believe we're giving him awards.
This guy.
Anyway, so I went to the Texas contest. We got there a day or two early. We didn't have real much money. Somehow we left with a microwave. We left. I don't know who had the microwave.
Him and Sal stealing microwaves.
That is the weirdest thing.
No, we brought a microwave, and here's our theory. Hot dogs are the cheapest thing on the planet, and all we need to cook hot dogs everywhere we go is a microwave.
You don't even need to technically cook them. They're already cooked.
Yeah, they just seem real gross. So we thought if we have a microwave, and one of my buddies had a small microwave, and I remember we took that and we put it in the trunk of my car.
You're in your little Suzu. You got your microwave in the back. You're buying hot dogs.
So we got to Texas a couple days early.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and then the real. You're supposed to hook up with the real dudes.
Supposed to hook up with the real dudes. That was the hope.
The hope. Did that hope come true,
No,
or did you guys end up sleeping in the Suzu?
We slept in the bowl at the skate park.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So we got there a couple days.
Outdoor park or indoor park?
Outdoor park. So they have an outdoor. They had an outdoor and an indoor, but the mini ramp contest was at their indoor park. It was a skate park in Houston. There was 2 parks.
Okay.
One was an outdoor that had a bowl, an outdoor mini ramp, and a street course, and the old Texas vert ramp.
Oh.
Like Craig Johnson and all those guys skating.
Okay.
So that was the park the street contest was at. They had a little mini street course at the mini ramp indoor park.
Okay.
And Jeff Taylor, I met him then. But
oh, sick.
Anyway, we got there a couple days early. Mm-hmm. And we just camped out in the bowl. The dudes run the park. We're like, hey, we don't got a place to stay. I'm entering the contest.
Oh.
Whatever. We're going to link up with, the real guys and hopefully, we'll have a place to stay.
Right.
So we slept in the bowl for a night or two, eaten alive by mosquitoes.
Oh, God.
It was August in Houston.
Oh.
Yeah, it was rough.
Wow.
That was the biggest problem. I mean, because sleeping outside, whatever.
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Yeah. Right. I mean, I don't know why we slept on concrete, though, because we didn't have sleeping mats. I didn't have a sleeping bag. I had a blanket.
Oh.
I had a blanket and slept on concrete. That just doesn't seem like it makes much sense.
No. Right.
At any rate, though, I didn't care. I was like, we're here, we're doing it. My heel was really still bruised.
Okay.
I had it wrapped up, and I was icing it and nursing it, and kind of really couldn't skate that much yet. And the contest was a day or two away, so I wasn't very hopeful on how I was going to skate. I knew it was going to be
bad,
kind of crummy.
Okay.
Yeah. But whatever. I was still going to California. It was still happening. Anyway, so everyone starts coming into town. We start seeing everybody, and I start seeing whatever, Kane Gale, Dave Duran, all the guys that I'd seen it the year before, and then the guys, some of them that I'd befriended.
Okay.
And then all the guys from California were coming out, and the real team came, and at the time it was Moses, Tony Ferguson, Kelly Bird, Joey Bast.
Oh my God.
And a couple other guys. And they were all really good, you know. Like,
But was it weird for you to go up to them and be like, "Hey guys,
For sure.
I'm
for sure. Well, it wasn't
I'm
really.
Jamie and,
it wasn't really that
supposed
weird.
to stay with you guys? Is this?
It wasn't really that weird in the beginning, but once I tried to talk to them,
Yeah.
they made it very clear they didn't want to really have anything to do with me.
Oh.
They were cordial, but they weren't asking me questions. You know, when you have a conversation with somebody like, "Oh, so where are you from?" They'd be like, "Hi, I'm Jamie. I get reel boards. And
Right.
I live in Alabama." And they'd be like,
Cool.
"Cool." They didn't want to know anything more.
Right.
You know, and then I think the way I carried myself, like, you know, it was probably only a month before this that I filmed the Naked Sponsor Me video.
Okay.
So
Right.
I think that I was like trying to like, you know, like whatever, like trying too hard.
Okay,
I think that that's a basic.
Okay.
If you had to put a title on the first few years of my career, probably
Trying
you could
too
say
hard.
trying too
Right.
hard.
And that's a turnoff. It could be
trying
it's a
too hard
turnoff.
in
Right.
quotations could have
Yeah.
been like everywhere I went. That was like a sign above my head. Trying too hard. Right. Here comes trying too hard.
Yeah.
With these new guys, or these other guys like Joey Bass and them, have you heard of them before? Or was it
No.
It was just the
first time I'd ever seen them.
Oh,
even
okay.
even Tony Ferguson, like, you know,
Yeah.
there hadn't been, you know, a girl or a real video. That, you know, girl didn't start till 93.
Yeah.
So this is 92, summer of 92. So he still rides for
Plan B.
real. Oh yeah, Plan B. So
Oh,
he,
yeah.
he quit that to go to Plan B.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then girl would have been like 94 or 5.
93.
So he would have gone from real to Plan B to girl. Like, anyway, whatever. I didn't know who they were, but when I watching them skate, I remember Tony only tried like really hard technical stuff, like where the other guys like wanted to make stuff. You know, Tony would try like switch flip, switch nose manual,
Right.
on the manual
Yeah.
pad only, and I'd be like, I mean, he might be good, but I haven't seen him make that yet. You know? And- But I just remembered thinking,
But when he
like,
does make it, it's gonna blow your mind.
I know. I just remembered thinking, like, wow, who would ever try that? That would take forever. I just skate off and do like a 180 over the hip.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Anyway, my skating was extremely basic.
Okay.
I did 3 flips over the hip and
Yeah.
some back foot flips, and other than that, I did some maybe grabs, even though they were probably out of
Occasional
style by now.
Benihana.
Did a couple Benihanas. My pants were probably sagging. I had no underwear on. I might as well have been naked.
Right. Again. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are some takeaways, and the takeaways are I saw people for years, and they were like, I remember you. You were
Sick.
sagging and your ass was hanging out.
Yeah.
Or you Benihana the pyramid, and
Right.
you thought you were cool, and I was just like... Yeah.
So you skated in the contest with your heel and everything.
Well, I didn't. The first day I didn't skate in the practice. They had like open practice.
Okay.
I didn't skate
You were-
because I
no.
tried to skate, and it was a little sensitive and sore. And then I Epsom salted. I was just icing Epsom salt, ice. And then eventually I was like, there's no way I'm not going to skate. And so I wrapped it up and just skated.
Wow.
You know? And then that day, you know, I kind of was like, all right, it's got to happen. I just got to do it.
Gotta
I got
do
to
it.
deal with
Fight
it.
through it,
And,
yeah.
fight through it. So
Right.
I did. And I ended up making the semifinal and then making it to the finals.
Oh.
So I made it to the finals of the contest.
Okay.
And Mirko Mangum was there.
Oh.
He was like one of the first dudes that I met that was like really cool and
Okay.
outgoing, and
Right.
he was doing like massive frontside ollies to disaster. I remember it was awesome, and he had his ass hanging out too. So I was like, at least there's somebody else. At least there's somebody else here with their ass hanging out. But anyway, the finals I did okay. I ended up getting 7th. Matt Beach won.
Oh.
Andrew Reynolds got 2nd.
Okay.
And I can't really remember from there, but I'm sure like Kane was in there somewhere,
Huh.
Kane Gale. And Reynolds, I think he already rode for Birdhouse at the time. I think Matt Beach rode for Birdhouse as well.
Okay.
Yeah, they both
Yeah.
did.
Oh, sick.
So it was like 1 and 2, and then I can't remember who else, you know, kind of
Right.
placed in there. I think Ben Liversedge was in there. I met him on that trip.
Oh.
It's an epic group of guys right
I know.
there.
Seriously.
Super
Seriously.
sick.
Yeah. So you got 7th.
I got 7th, so it wasn't terrible.
No.
but nonetheless, I did meet the real guys. And
Okay.
at the time, the team manager was Dave Meddy, and they'd had some like car trouble or something on the way out, or maybe they had brought more guys than they originally anticipated. Kelly Bird had spent some time in Houston, so maybe he's even from there. I think he was from
I
there.
think he's from there.
Yeah, and so he went back. He came to the contest with them.
Okay.
And originally a couple people weren't supposed to. So Dave just said, "Hey man, I Jeff told me that I'm to hook up with you, but unfortunately we don't have any room for you to stay with us." and we can't really help you out. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And so, and also, it wasn't like it was a really thought out plan on my part because I have 2 other buddies. What am I going to do? Leave them in the bowl?
Right.
I go stay with the real team?
There you go.
And I can't go, hey, real team, can all 3 of us stay in the hotel? So we didn't really have that thought out of a plan anyway.
Okay.
We were pretty much destined to sleep in the bowl the whole time no matter what.
Gotcha. Right.
So we did. We slept in the bowl
Wow.
the day or 2 before the contest started, and then we slept there every night. And I remember people would come and see us sleeping, and then they'd be like tripping out, like, dude, aren't you skating in the contest today? And I'd be like, yeah. And they're like, why are you sleeping in the bowl? I'm like, I don't know. I remember this too. There was an old pad company called Dr. Bone Savers.
Okay.
Remember them?
I forget her name, but the chick from Dr. Bone Savers was there. And somehow I was like, oh, can I ride for you? I don't even wear pads. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't even know what I was thinking, but I guess maybe I just wanted a sponsor or something.
Okay.
And she was like, yeah, sure. And she's like, you know, where are you from? Whatever. We were talking. And then she's like, where are you guys staying? I'm like, oh, we're just staying here in the bowl. Oh, and there's another one too. Like, remember that pool that Alfonso Rawls tries to ollie across the pool from one side of the pool to the other, and his board goes in the pool in the H Street video?
Yep.
Anyway, that pool is in Houston, and that's where everyone stayed.
Okay.
But that pool was green, and the water was like a lake. It was like it had been neglected.
Gross.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh gosh, this is another embarrassing story. For some reason, I'm like gravitating to these embarraing stories.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
so-
love the yeah.
So on this trip, I brought a Speedo, and my theory was that if I go swimming, or if I like take a shower in a pool, or not take a shower, but I wash off in a pool, I won't have to deal with wet shorts after. All I'll have is this Speedo that you can like wring out, and all it is like underwear.
Okay.
I don't know. That seems insane, but I was like, practical. It was
was your-
probably just another reason to get as naked as possible. But anyway, we went to that hotel.
Party boy over here.
I know.
I know, party boy.
Yeah.
Right? I know. So we went to the hotel, and it was like a close hotel to the skate park.
Okay.
And we didn't know everybody was staying there.
Right.
I went to go jump into the pool, and I was like, the pool's green. And I was like, well, I haven't showered in 2 or 3 days. It's got to be cleaner than I am.
Wow.
Even if it was a lake,
Okay.
I'd be swimming a lake. So I had a bar of soap. I went in the shallow end, put on my Speedos.
Oh my gosh.
I went in the shallow end, and I'm washing myself in the in the green pool.
At night or during the day? During the day. Oh my god.
During the day.
Wow.
And then
That's
I
kind
started
of bold to just go to a hotel and just do it. Yeah.
You were completely nuts back then. Bro.
I know.
I think I just didn't give a shit.
Right.
Anyway, I started seeing people from the contest like cruising around, and I was just like, whoa, what up, dude? Like showering up in the pool, got out, had Speedos on, like no big deal, don't worry about me. And then changed into
Like,
back
aren't
into
you
my
guys? Aren't you the dude from the bowl?
and then changed back into my skate clothes.
Wow.
So if anyone would have happened to have seen me in the bowl,
Yeah.
and then happened to see me Benihana the pyramid with my pants sagging and no underwear, and then happened to see me in the Speedo at the pool,
Right.
it would have been like 1 + 1 + crazy. Don't touch this guy. Don't sponsor him, no matter what.
Nowadays, you'd get all the sponsors. You know, and everybody loves
Maybe.
that. You know,
Maybe.
This guy's so marketable.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
I met all these guys. I met a bunch of cool people. Met Jeff Taylor.
Okay.
Met Mirko. Met some of these people I'd be friends with forever.
Yeah, sick.
And so Mirko gave me his phone number and was like, "Hey, if you come through San Diego, call me. Like I can help you guys out with a place to stay, and we'll go skating. It'll be sick." And I was like, it was the only person that kind of said that. Actually, you know what? I take that back. The guy, the team manager of Vans at the time, I think he might have been hooking up with the Dr. Bone Savers chick.
Oh wow.
At any rate, since I got on good with the Dr. Bone Savers chick, she put us up for the last night of the contest after the finals. She put us up in the Doubletree Hotel.
Whoa.
So me, Sean, and Hurley had a $300 suite, and they kept encouraging me, like, dude, you got to hook up with the Dr. Bone Savers chick. But she was like 32. Not 32. She was like 30 as well.
30. Okay.
And I would have been down, but it was like,
right. Yeah.
but it was like, it was not really an option.
It was a long shot.
It was a long shot.
Right.
And she might have even seen me in the Speedo and been like,
This kid. Yeah.
you're not really
Right.
cutting it. You're a boy still. So at any rate, she put us up in the DoubleTree though, and we lived like kings for one night. We got a good shower. It was amazing. And that was before our drive to
California. Okay.
So we drove to California. First stop, San Diego, Mirko Mangum. Drove into El Cajon.
Oh.
Called Mirko from a payphone. He's like, yeah, I'll meet you at my buddy Ty's house. He met me at, his buddy's name was Ty Gilbert. He was a sponsor, a dude that rode for, companies back then too.
Okay.
And he was Mirko's buddy. We ended up staying at Ty's house. It was awesome.
Oh, sick.
Anyway, that was my trip to California.
Journey.
Yeah, our journey there.
Wow. So, but your first stop in
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
The guy who was hooking up with the Dr. Bone Savers chick, he was a team manager at Vans, and I ended up getting on Vans at the AM finals.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was like a break.
That was a good, right?
Yeah, like I
Start
properly
of something.
he was like, yeah, I would love for you to ride for Vans.
Wow.
And I was like, awesome, yeah, I'm
Not
down.
flow or any, just ride.
Well, he didn't tell me what was going to happen, but it wasn't.
Here's
He
the
didn't
half
say.
cap
He didn't
free
say.
shoes.
Yeah, he didn't say you're going to be co-sponsored or anything. He didn't say you're going to be on Flow. He just said, yeah, we want you to ride for Vans.
Dope. Okay.
Here's a pro form.
And I said, oh, we're coming to California, and he's like, oh, we'll stop by the factory. I'll get you a package. It'll be awesome.
Okay.
Here's my thinking. It was as simple as this.
I love your thinking back then.
I met Mirko. So San Diego is now on our list.
Gotcha.
I met the guy, the team manager from Vans. Tiny was his name.
Okay.
I met Tiny, and he told me that Vans was in like Irvine or Orange.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah.
so it goes San Diego, Orange,
Right.
And I knew that Embarcadero was in San Francisco.
Okay.
And the Plan B video would come out.
1, 2, 3. You're going up north.
Yeah, that was the goal. The goal was to go to San Diego because I met Mirko. We're gonna hang out there for a little bit,
Right.
see how it treats us.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're gonna go visit Vans, and then after that, we're gonna go sleep at Embarcadero.
Wow.
That was the plan.
Right.
And at this point, we ended up leaving Atlanta probably with like maybe $600 each.
Okay.
Which is like $1,800. And at the time when you pulled it all up and we were like one for all for one,
Yeah.
it was like a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
But by the time you get to California.
Yeah. So we didn't really do the math.
Okay.
We knew it was going to be tight, but we weren't not going because it was going to be tight.
Right.
So we went to California. Yeah, we went there. We stayed at Mirko's house. So all we'd spent money on was food, Taco Bell, hot dogs, and gas.
Man.
To San Diego. We went to
Dream
Vans.
diet.
And here's an interesting story.
Yeah.
The day we got to Vans was the day they had their first batch of half cabs off the assembly line.
Oh.
Before I got there, the only person that had gotten them was Steve Caballero.
Whoa.
Wow.
And I just showed up, and he's like, "Hey, it's like noon, and we just got our first batch of half cabs off the assembly line. Would you like some half cabs?"
Wow.
Everyone was cutting them.
We'd all been cutting our
Yeah.
full cabs down and putting stickers around them.
Right.
It's been like a year or two that been happening.
Okay.
So he handed me a pair of half cabs, and I was just like, and they were all black, and I was just like, "Oh my god, these are the best things in the world."
Right. Wow.
He gave me 2 pairs.
Okay.
And I felt so rich. Anyway, I got super amped on the new half cabs. We went out skating that night. I tried to ollie some street gap that was way too big for me, and I ended up putting my foot off the front of my board and rolling my ankle really bad.
Same foot. They fucked up.
Bruised.
Yeah, same foot.
Oh.
It was my front ankle. And I remember it being really bad. So we hung out in Orange for a day. I knew a guy that I'd befriended, pen pal or something.
Yeah.
In Orange, he gave us a place to stay for a night, and then we went up to San Francisco.
Wow.
So we drove all the way to San Francisco, amazing drive, whatever,
Yeah.
awesome. Went straight to Embarcadero, parked at the first parking spot in front of Embarcadero, and just got out, and we were just so stoked that we just arrived.
And you slept at Embarcadero.
Well, I mean, we looked at our situation and we knew we weren't going to be able to get an apartment. By this time, we had $300 to $400 each.
Okay. Right.
And we knew that wasn't enough money to get a place. So we took that money and we went and got a bank account. And we put all the money in the bank. Because we were there to
interesting.
stay. We were there
Okay.
to stay.
Oh,
we knew if we had the money, we were
Right.
going to spend it.
Okay.
So we put the money in the bank.
Yep.
Probably the second or third day we were there.
Wow.
And then we were like, we're just going to panhandle. We're going to panhandle. We're going to sell stuff. We're going to hustle and do whatever we got to do.
Oh.
And we made this pact. Me, Sean, and Hurley made this pact that we're not going to go to the bank and get any money out unless we all 3 of us haven't eaten in 24 hours.
Oh.
So that was like the pact. Like, we'll find a way to get food. And so
Okay.
like at this point, it was like, if someone's eating there's a pizza, there was like I forget the name of the place, but it was a pizza joint right at Embarcadero, like right where everyone hung out.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is real. I would look at the tables, and if someone left like a half a piece of pizza, and they left their plate there because they didn't clean up,
You just bust tables?
I would bust tables, but eat all the leftover pizza.
Wow.
And that seems like, I mean, you know, like if you're whatever, you got plenty of money for food, that seems kind of gross. Like, what are you doing? Like eating after them? Mm-hmm. But then I thought of it as, what could they possibly have? Like, what kind of disease am I going to get from the pizza? None.
Yeah.
And I'm not grossed out because I'm trying to survive here. Like, I haven't eaten in 8 hours. I'm going to eat this pizza.
Wow.
And at some points, I remember, I met Drake Jones around this time. I met a lot of like kind of the locals, and Drake was nice to me, and Brian Young was there. I remember one time, and I'm not telling these stories for sympathy points or anything. I don't.
For sure.
I don't really.
No, this is real.
At this point, I don't really care what anyone thinks about me.
Right.
But at any rate, there was a pigeon that had a big pizza crust. And I remember
You took the fucking pizza crust from a pigeon?
Yeah.
What? How did you catch this pigeon?
No, I didn't.
No,
I
you
charged
scared
at him.
him off.
I charged at him.
He couldn't carry it.
He dropped the pizza
Right.
crust because I was like hanging out and I was hungry. I looked over at the tables for like an hour or so, and there was no pizza.
Oh.
And panhandling sucks, man. It's hey, spare change, and
Right.
I look like I had like blind jeans on. You know what I mean? I look like some skate punk that just. And really, like right next to Embarcadero, there was a thoroughfare from right at the end of Market Street where everyone went to like the pier to take the buses.
Okay.
And so it was like that's where all the real like panhandlers hung out. There was one dude that we called the drummer because he panhandled and he acted like he was like drumming. He had dreads.
Okay.
He panhandled like this, and we had nicknames for all of the bums around.
Right. How much would you make panhandling like in a day?
Not
like
much.
A couple bucks?
I mean, usually a couple of bucks. Most people just would walk right by you.
Right.
And you know
Not
what
even
sucks too?
acknowledge.
You would hear people's change. You're like, I can hear $3 of change jingling in their pocket. And I would be so stoked on a quarter, and they won't give it to me because they think, what, I'm going to buy drugs with a quarter?
Yeah, right.
I don't know what they think.
Exact change for the bus.
No, it was too much change. At any rate, I remember just, and sometimes people... And sometimes, like, there'd be like an old lady that would be like, you know what? I'm not going to give you money, but would you like some food? And I'd be like, yes.
Okay.
Because I hadn't drank in years.
Yeah.
And I hadn't done any drugs. And, I was straight and focused on skateboarding. Never touched anything since the night of the cigarette, which is probably a year and a half now. So she'd be like, yeah, can I, I'll buy you some food. And I remember one morning she offered to buy food, and it was my shift panhandling.
Okay.
And I was asking for money, and she took me, and I couldn't be like, oh yeah, I got 2 buddies.
Oh yeah, right.
So I like went, and she bought me like a breakfast platter at like, at Embarcadero, there was a Carl's Jr. around the corner.
Okay.
So she took me to Carl's Jr. The pizza place wasn't open yet. It was probably like 8 in the morning.
Okay.
She took me and got me like a big breakfast platter, like eggs, sausage, pancakes.
Wow.
And then I'd noticed that the breakfast platter was the same plate as the salad bar. So then that was the first time. And I was like, I ate like a pancake or a sausage, and then I went and got Sean. They were probably sleeping. I went and got those guys, and then I shared my food with them.
Okay.
And then I was like, held up the styrofoam plate, and I was like, hey, this is the same plate as the salad tray, or the same plate as the salad plate.
Right.
Why don't we go back at lunchtime when it's busy and we can just eat salad bar? We'll just kill the salad bar. So that was the new hustle. And, and I got the idea from all the guys at Embarcadero. They would get a cup. They'd find a cup in the trash or find a cup somewhere, wash it out, and they would take the cup back with them, and you'd skate all day, and you'd just take your cup in.
Yeah,
and,
free refill.
Yeah, and they had like a janitor at Carl's Jr. that would like eyeball you to see if you walked in with your cup or if you bought your cup. And he was like the soft drink police. And he was just like, he looked like groundskeeper Willie. He was black. He was a black dude, but he looked like groundskeeper Willie. Like he was all wiry.
Right.
And he would like kind of grunt at you and like and kind of yell at you and get in arguments with you and stuff.
Right. So you had to watch out for him and kind of go.
Yeah.
Right.
So you had to navigate it, and you'd like
Right.
kind of hang out outside and wait till he wasn't there, and then you'd go and get your drinks.
Yeah.
And then
Salad
at
bar.
this point, now we did the salad bar. Since they did it with the cups, I was like, oh, why can't you do those salad bars?
For sure.
So we would keep that little styrofoam thing, and it would be like,
Right,
like
cut up.
all cut up. Yeah. We would keep it for like a week. We keep it for a week, and then later on,
Find another one.
we could go there at breakfast and get another one. Leave someone left their food on the table, and I did that. I would bust tables too, leaving eating leftover food that people left. Like at any time.
You guys were really like fucking like struggle like.
Well, we didn't.
The struggle was real.
We had like 12. So Hurley stayed about just like at the telemarketing job. Hurley stayed about 3 weeks, and then was like, me and Sean didn't want to go back to Alabama or to the South.
Okay.
But where Hurley lived in New Hampshire, there was a scene. There was a punk rock scene. There was stuff going on. He had friends.
He was ready to.
Well, there wasn't so much to lose for him going home, So California was cool and all, but screw sleeping outside and panhandling.
He was over it.
Was he trying to skate too?
We were all skating, but it was kind of like we were all a little confused on how we fit into skating, because it was real clear that no one wanted to be our friend, and probably because I was chasing everybody away. We were homeless kids, but there was a lot of homeless kids that came through.
Oh, there were?
Yeah, and there was a couple of homeless kids, there were those Ohio players, and those guys were like a lot smoother, and people.
But I was going to ask you, like, how did the Embarcadero crew like treat you? Because that was a whole.
So I showed up the first day. I had a sprained ankle. Came to Embarcadero.
Yeah.
And James Kelch came up to me, and he was looking at my shoes, and he's like, "What shoes are those, blood?" And I was like, "They're half cabs." And he's like, "Where'd you get those?" And he rode for Vans.
Okay.
And I was like, "Well, I ride for Vans, and we just went through Vans last week, and they just, were like just made."
Wow.
And he's like, "What size you wear?" And I was like, I told him, he's like, "That's the size I wear." And he's like, he was like,
"Oh, wow."
He goes, "You're gonna have to come out those shoes."
No way.
And I was like, "Yeah, sorry, man, I'm not gonna give you my shoes." He goes, "No, you're gonna give me your shoes."
Wow.
And I was like, "No, sorry, man, it ain't gonna happen." And he just like looked at me, and I think he said something like, "You gonna make this easy? You gonna go the easy way or the hard way?"
Right.
And I was like, "I guess the hard way." And he goes, "No, I'm just kidding with you, man."
Wow.
I think he was hoping that I just coughed him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he realized, like, well, I'm not going to really punk this kid for his shoes and steal the shoes off his feet. And at this time, he rode for real.
Oh, yeah. He had a thing going on. Right. And he was for Vans.
He was pro. But what I mean is, though, is like he was a made dude. And he was like, maybe, his board was already out. He was pro.
Crazy. Yeah.
Anyway, and I think that if I would have said, "For real, all right, man, you can have them," he'd have been like, "Hell yeah."
Right.
But he was like, "Nah, I'm just kidding with you, man. You're cool." He's like, "What's your name?" And I was like, I told him my name. And he's like, "All right, cool, man. Well, good to meet you, whatever." He was always nice to me too. He was always cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that was like my introductory, and I was like, "Oh, this ain't gonna be that bad."
Right.
But he was like the older dude, and he didn't really have a chip on his shoulder. But all the younger kids, at the time, it was like Mike York, Lee Smith, like Carl Watson, all those dudes were like, they were a few years younger than me. They all were like the antagonists,
Yeah.
And so they were a tougher win. It was tougher to win them over because, I mean, I've already admitted how whack I was. And I think to top all this off, I had a perm.
Oh, you have perm.
Shit.
Wow.
I don't really know why I had a perm.
Okay.
At some point, we permed my hair across this mission. I don't really know why.
That's amazing.
But we permed my hair at somewhere. It was like a dare or something. I don't know. So I had a perm, and it was maybe bleached as well. So I had like a bleached perm. Yeah, and those kids were ruthless too.
Yeah,
it was bad.
It
was bad.
How long did you stay up in San Francisco?
About a year and a half.
So eventually you probably got a place and
so we slept on the streets for 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah, Hurley left after about 2 weeks.
What did he Greyhound it back to
he took a Greyhound, and his mom bought him a Greyhound, and he came to us and said, "I want to see you guys make it. You guys can have my money."
Sick.
So he gave me and Sean like $300 or $400.
Wow.
So we had about $1,000 to $1,200 in the bank. Mm-hmm. And it turned into, now we had 500 or 600 each instead of 300 each.
Right.
Or 400 each.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Hurley took off. He didn't tell us either. He just called his mom and was like, "Give me a bus ticket."
Oh.
And then he called and he came over and was like, "Hey, I'm going home."
Oh, wow.
We were like, "What? Why?" And he's like, "Man," he's like, "Nashville's not that bad. I'm not trying to like,
skate scene there.
I'm not trying to live on the streets with you guys. Yeah, I got a good scene. I got a bunch of buddies back there.
Right. I'm good.
I'm going home."
Right.
And my mom's helping me. And
there you go.
Anyway, so now it's just me and Sean. Me and Sean knew we didn't want to go back to the South. We knew we wanted to stay in California. So we stayed out. We slept outside for a few more months. And we met a lot of people, and some, Thebo would let us, because at this time I was still on Flow for Deluxe.
Okay.
And I was hopeful that something would work out. Jeff Clint would give me boards. Tony would give me boards.
Okay.
And Thebo would give me boards. Thebo didn't really, at this point, tell me yet that nothing's going to work out with Real.
Oh, okay.
I was still hopeful.
Right.
But I felt in Texas that I was like the odd man out.
Okay.
And then out in Embarcadero, it didn't take long to feel like I was the odd man out again.
Okay.
So after a couple of months,
Even
Thebo...
weirder is Kelch rode for real.
What's that?
And Kelch rode for real, too.
Yeah, but Kelch didn't really... He didn't seem like he was passing any judgment on me at the time. You know?
Right.
It was like we were sleeping there every night, and over time I had kind of a run-in at one point or another with all the locals.
Okay.
And since I didn't really know the etiquette of Embarcadero, it was like it was the gnarliest high school scene ever. I was trying to come into like that.
They had a thing going on
for sure, and it wasn't like you were just gonna waltz into it and be a part of it.
Right.
Even though that's what I thought in my head. Being a kid in Alabama, I was just like, oh, you just go to Embarcadero. You just go to Embarcadero, and when you get there, they're gonna be like, oh, you skate too? Sick. Mm-hmm. Skate with us. But that wasn't the way it was. That wasn't the way it was. And so, I admit I was jacked. I didn't understand the etiquette. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to. I don't know. I didn't know how to like integrate.
Yeah.
Were you filming stuff at that time too?
Yeah. So we, so we filmed our whole trip to California, but then in front of when we went to San Diego, Mirko's house, we left my car with the windows down in front of his buddy's Ty's house, and our camera got stolen.
Oh man!
So we ended up losing the tape with all of our footage on our trip to California and all the stuff in Texas. Damn. So that was a bummer. The camera was gone, and like my mom helped me buy that camera, and that's how I was filming and making videos, and that's how I made the sponsor videos after Jay Bush's driveway edit.
Okay, right.
Anyway, so I started. I had made videos with that camera, and then when we got up north. My high school girlfriend, her name was Brandy, and we were like really tight in high school and stuff, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
She wanted to help me out, so she convinced her dad to buy a video camera, and she sent me a video camera in California. Wow. Yeah, it was amazing.
Damn. Where did she send it to? Embarcadero?
No, she sent it to Deluxe.
Oh.
So she sent it to Deluxe, and as I got my mom sent me care packages.
Okay. Oh,
so
okay.
I got there and
cookies and muffins, maybe.
I got there in late August, and it quickly got cold. So for my birthday, I got a sleeping bag, and then I got.
And your parents knew you were out on the streets? Or did you not tell them the full story?
No, I told my mom. I kind of pitched it as we were camping, and that some buddies would let us stay at their houses from time to time, so which was kind of true. Right. I didn't want her to worry though,
of course. Right.
Anyway, so yeah.
And
Thebo would let us. Sometimes he would let us stay at his house, cook us ramen, and we would get showered up. And,
there you go.
And then sometimes we'd meet somebody that was staying in, coming through town, and they'd have a hotel, and we'd hang out with them. And they'd let us. It was basically like people just helping us out.
Yeah.
So, had a sleeping bag into the winter of 1992, and there was like all locals there. And there was always this one dude that skated super late at night. Every night, it was like 2 a.m.
Huh.
And he wore this Black Label shirt every time, and his name was John Baker.
Okay.
And we met him, and I thought he looked like Lou Ferrigno. The guy who played the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I thought the actor that played the Incredible Hulk name was Ferrigno.
Ooh.
And I don't know why anybody would ever call anybody Ooh, but I started calling this guy Ooh because I thought he looked like Lou Ferrigno. Okay. And so his nickname became Ooh.
Ooh. Right.
But little did I know that he wore the Black Label shirt so much that all the locals had already seen him, and the Black Label shirt had faded, and they all called him Brown Label because the shirt was brown. So
Brown Label.
I didn't know that. I called him Ooh. So Ooh is what we called him. Every night, Ooh would come and skate in Embarcadero at like midnight to 2 a.m.
Wow.
And the cops did a pass at like midnight every night, so we would get there after midnight to go to sleep. We'd hang out at Haight, or go to the Civic Center, or go skating, or do whatever, and we'd just get back to Embarcadero every night past midnight. So the cops already did their rounds. They'd kick all the homeless people out. Anyway, we would see Ooh all the time skating, and And we befriended him just because, you know, he was like, you guys are always here. What are you up to? And we're like, oh, you know, we grew up in the South and we'd just rather sleep here than live in the South. And he's like, oh, crazy. And we're like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I go to school and I study and I do all my homework and stuff. And this is kind of like my time. My first class is until like 10 in the morning. Oh. So I just come and skate from like 12 to 2. And plus nobody's here. I get to skate in peace, whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's sick. Cool. Whatever.
Wow.
So we ended up befriending him. And then after a couple visits, he's like, hey, you guys know that my parents pay for my place. I live in the Tenderloins, a ghetto neighborhood, but my parents pay for a studio apartment. If you guys want, you can, you know, you can come and sleep on my floor and pay me like $50 a month or something.
Wow.
And we were like, yes.
No way.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I think Sean paid $50 and then he gave me his closet, which was like the size of a single mattress.
Oh.
And so I almost had my own room or whatever,
Yeah.
but we lived in the studio apartment in the TL on Jones and O'Farrell.
Okay.
So when we got off the streets, because it's really hard to get a job living on the streets. I applied for some jobs. I applied at like Burger King and like all fast food and stuff, but you don't have an address.
I was going to say.
And you can't
right.
and you can't really clean up enough for a job interview and even if you do clean up, without an address, it's really hard.
It's hard, yeah.
And I tried to like go with the like deluxe address, but then it's hard to clean up every day, and I didn't have a place to park my car, so my car's getting all these parking tickets.
Wow.
And it was kind of hard to get to and from a job.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, and you've seen that movie with Will Smith. What's it called?
Yeah.
Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit
yeah.
of Happiness.
Right.
So it's hard to maintain a job while you're homeless.
Yeah.
People think like, oh, why doesn't that homeless guy just go get a job?
It's not that easy.
Yeah, it's not that easy.
Right.
Without someone giving you without someone throwing you a line, it's really hard to get off the streets.
Right. And then Brown Label Ooh comes along, and now you guys got a place to stay.
Now we're showering every day.
Wow.
You know, and then I got a job at a department store selling shoes.
Oh.
And then
there you go.
I worked, saved up money, and then I moved out of we lived in the Tenderloin for about 6 months.
Okay.
Saved up enough money, moved to the Haight District.
Yeah.
And got a place with Drake Jones and Brian Young.
Oh, sick.
Awesome.
And then at this time, too, you said that
so we were filming.
Nothing was going to happen with Real, right?
Well, so by around this point, Thebo sat me down and was like, I remember he like had a rock and he was like playing with the rock and he was like, I saw him like processing that it was difficult to tell me this. I felt like he was shattering my dreams, but he was like, look, I'm really sorry, but there's not really anything we can do here for you. You know, the guys, you have to be able to get along with the team and that kind of stuff, you know, and that really hasn't happened. Yeah. So we don't really have anything to offer you, but I personally will give you boards to help you out. And I'll give you even a couple extra to sell here and there. You know, he'd told me this when, you know, we were living, you know, before I'd gotten a job. Yeah. But it just, nothing's really going to work out. We can keep you on Thunder and Spitfire. That's not really much of a team decision, but things aren't going to work out with Real.
Wow.
And at the time he was like, you know, if there's a brand you like out there, you know, and you want me to talk to somebody for you. And I was like, oh, I really like Black Label. John Cardiel's my favorite skater.
Oh, sick.
I really like Black Label. And he's like, oh, I know John Lucero well. So yeah, just film a video and let me know and I'll send it to John for you.
Okay.
So I was, you know, like filming a video, and I think I skipped a step here. One day I was...
All the footage that ends up in the Spitfire video?
No, Brian Young actually got hired to film for the Spitfire video, and since, you know, we were roommates and hung out a lot, we filmed whatever. So anyway, I was filming for that video, and before I even filmed a sponsor me video or anything, this guy approached me at Embarcadero and was like, hey, I heard, you know, you're from Alabama, you got 7th in the AM finals, and, you know, whatever, and he offered me like to help him build his new company, and it was called Experience.
Oh yeah, okay, right.
And anyway, that was an experience. Roger Davis.
Raj, another Raj, huh?
Yeah.
No, wait. So how long did you do that Experience thing for?
It seemed like a long time, but I think it was only like a year.
Only a year,
maybe even less.
Okay,
yeah, probably.
And when he was talking about build it for him, was he just saying just to skate for him and
skate for him? But he told me the name. At the time, the name was Chapped. And I was like, that doesn't sound good. Oh. And he's like, it's not like chapped. I was like, chapped lips, chapped ass. What are we talking about here? Yeah. And he was like, no, it's like chapped, like you're bummed, like CHAPT. And I was like, is that a real word? Like,
so he changed it to Experience.
And I was like, yeah, I'm not really interested. And he goes, well, we can change the name. And I was like, well, what can we change it to? And he goes, well, you can help me pick the name. And I was like, okay, now we're naming a baby. I'm in.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, and you can help me, pick some team riders or something, and at the time, Drake Jones was on Think, and Sean Young didn't really have a sponsor. So I was like, yeah, here we go. Me, Drake, and Sean.
Oh.
And then this guy, Matt Robeson, was already on Chapped, and he's like, yeah, he'll just stay on, and so it would be you four.
Oh.
This guy, Adam Schneider, was getting boards as well, so he would be thrown in the mix. Anyway, there was 4 or 5 of us that were going to be on, and then I was a big Jimi Hendrix fan, and so I wanted to name it Experience. So he was like, yeah, it sounds good. I like the name. Let's do it. So he called it Experience, and he's just like, yeah, I want to turn you pro. And I was like, well, I haven't really done much to turn pro. He's like, what do you, no way, man. You did great at the, AM qualifier, AM finals. And I was like, 7th? That doesn't seem really great.
Right.
And I was like, Matt Beach and Andrew Reynolds aren't pro yet, but they were younger. And I was just like, he's like, well, I'll pay you $600 a month. And I was like, all right, I'm in.
Wow. Okay.
And I'd had a job though. I was working, and then I kind of waited until some checks started coming, and I also had a job, and I bought like a stereo, I bought some furniture, I bought a bed, I bought like the basic necessities. And then once I bought all that stuff, I was like probably making about $1,200 or $1,000 a month working a full-time job, working this job.
Yeah.
And then he was offering me $600, and now that I'd bought all this stuff, all I had to do was pay rent and food, and I could do that on $600. I think my rent and food was like $500 or $600.
Go. Right.
And I was like, all right, yeah. So I quit the job and started skating full time.
Okay. Why only a year though? What happened in that year that you wanted?
We started like Profile and Cream.
He was kind of shady. Yeah, that was after. He was kind of shady, and he didn't really, not that I had any business experience, but he didn't really have like a business plan worked out. It was just buy boards, sell boards, and then try and use some of the money off of what I sell to put back into product, what he sold, to put back into product and give me some.
Gotcha.
But he pretty much had to reinvest the money into the product nonstop in order to keep it going, which is obvious. But he didn't have enough of a buffer in order to pay me, Drake.
So he stopped kind of paying you probably.
Consistently.
Right.
And then he started paying us in boards. And I was like, man, I already had this hustle of, I used to sell boards. And one of our hustles when we were on the streets and homeless was people would come down and they'd bring boards, and it was like consignment. They would give you a board and be like, hey, I want $10 for this, or I want $20 for this.
And you would go sell it.
And I would go sell it.
Right.
And you wouldn't ask questions. It could be cracked. It could be broken. It could be glued back together. It could be whatever. And you would just go sell it.
Right.
So as soon as they gave it to you, you'd look at it and just be like, what kind is it? Graphic. And you would just go find. There was out-of-town kids that came in every weekend, like 100 kids per weekend.
Corny kids.
I would just like be a middleman for the sales transaction.
Yeah.
And sometimes it would go fine. And sometimes they'd put it together, and 5 minutes later they'd break it and come back to me, and I'd be like, look, it wasn't my board.
Right.
I sold it for a homie, and they're like, who did you sell it for? And I just like, I don't know.
He's gone. Yeah.
He's gone.
Right.
That was kind of lame.
Yeah. So you stopped riding for you quit Experience.
Well, so I knew that Experience wasn't going good.
No.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to get back. I talked to Thebo, and I was like, hey, I need to get away from Experience. He's like, I get it. I was like, if I film a sponsoring video, will you still give it to Lucero? Because I don't know Lucero.
Okay.
He's like, yeah, I will.
Oh, sick.
So I this time was going to focus on filming a sponsoring video. I pretty much had the video done. And the video was at a friend's house, and Laban Fidias went to that, or was that, I think it was at Dan Hobel's house. Oh. The video was at Dan Hobel's house, and Laban Fidias was at Dan Hobel's house. Saw the video, watched it, and they were just starting a division of Blockhead called Invisible.
Oh, right.
And so I didn't even get a chance to send the video to Lucero.
They had already seen it.
They had seen it, and then he'd called me up and said, hey, I'm starting a new company. Would you like to be a part of this new company I'm starting called Invisible?
Oh.
And he told me John Reeves is going to ride for it, and then we have like some other up and comers, but you'll be pro and you'll get $500 a month. And I was like, oh, well, I'm supposed to get $600 now, but I haven't been paid that in like 2 to 3 months. He's like, you'll get a consistent check every single month.
Wow.
Guaranteed. And he's like, I've been riding for, Blockhead for whatever time, and I get paid consistently. So I was like, all right, I'm in.
Let's do it. Right.
And so that was in San Diego. Okay. So I finished out the lease I was in, and then I moved to San Diego.
Moved to San Diego.
Yeah.
Okay. With your buddy still?
So Sean Young stayed in the TL. He never even moved to Haight.
Oh.
Eventually he moved out there and we skated a little bit.
Okay.
And then Brian Young and Drake and I, that apartment we lived in, they all went their separate ways in different time.
Invisible. Now you're getting $500 a month. You moved down to San Diego.
I moved to San Diego. It was good. It was a really positive scenario.
Sick.
Living in San Diego.
Yeah.
Except we lived out in the middle of nowhere.
Well,
other than
you're
that,
used
though,
to that though.
Yeah.
Right.
So I used to get rides, and I would get a ride to Transworld and get a ride to the Invisible Blockhead Tracker, HQ Climax. And I would skate the ramps all day, and I would go and hang out at Transworld. And I had befriended all of the photographers at Transworld.
Sick.
And I basically just camped out at the couch at Transworld until they went skating, and then I would just jump in the car and go skating. Yeah. And then I would just try my best without offending anybody or putting anybody off, because I was starting to learn the etiquette by this time. And at Embarcadero, I realized that no matter how hard I tried, I wasn't going to be accepted. And eventually I stopped trying. I stopped talking to the locals.
Okay.
I kind of just kept my distance. And
right.
Just didn't go to Embarcadero when anybody else was there.
Oh, yeah.
Started filming on the outskirts. And that video I made for Label that ended up, Laban ended up seeing, I wasn't around any of those guys, and I was just kind of doing my own thing.
Doing your own thing. Okay.
And I kind of realized that I was trying way too hard and that I really needed to just focus on skating.
Yeah.
And I remember having some really some big epiphanies about how the way I came across too, during that time period.
Interesting.
I mean, I was getting in screaming matches with the Embarcadero kids. And going wait, I'm 18. These guys are 13.
Right.
Are you on LeVar?
No, LeVar was always nice. It was mainly Lee, Mike York, and even Carl. Carl, Carl's a nice guy. He's the nicest guy on the planet now.
Right.
But he was still an antagonist.
Kids,
he was an antagonist.
They're
time.
kids.
So yeah, they were 13, literally
right.
13 or 14.
Yeah.
And I remember that I remember getting into a crazy screaming match with Lee Smith one time. And then I went to Embarcadero the next day, and when I skated up, everybody started barking. If you're a T-Dog, everyone barked.
Oh, T-Dog, right. Yeah. Okay.
And I was trying to figure it out, and I was looking around, who are they barking at?
Yeah.
And I realized, they're barking at me. And it was because I'd gotten into a confrontation with Lee Smith.
Right.
And I'd threatened to get physical with him, even though I was 18 and he was 13 or 14.
Right.
And they were clowning me so they didn't have to fight me.
Oh, okay, right.
Kind of is what it felt like.
Okay.
And I accepted it and was I get it. And I just kind of skated off, and that was the last time I ever tried. I was just I'm going to go on my own and do my own thing.
Right.
I need to disappear from trying to be accepted by these guys. It's never going to happen. And the funny thing is that then Mike and even Lee a little bit, they'd be hey, I heard you did so-and-so, this spot or whatever.
Oh, sick.
And then I was yeah, how'd you hear? And they're oh, so-and-so, said something about it. So it was they were hearing what I was doing, but I didn't have to tell them anymore. And I didn't try and prove myself to them.
Right.
And once I started doing that, it kind of started working.
It's cool. Yeah. Right.
Anyway, moved to San Diego.
Yeah.
Moved to San Diego, and it was a fresh start. I had the perspective of the roughest crowd.
There you go.
The hardest people to be accepted by.
Right.
And when I moved to San Diego, it was I was cheating. It was so easy because people were nicer.
But also you're in the mix. You're at Transworld. You're
totally
Invisible.
And
all
then,
this. You're in it.
Yeah. And then the company. Larry Ballma and the group that owned Transworld also owned Invisible.
Oh, there you go.
So it kind of gave me this chance of hey, maybe put this guy in the car. He rides for one of our companies.
Right.
And put him in the pages.
You could do it. Yeah.
It wasn't really put him in the pages. It was just give him a shot.
Give him a shot. Yeah.
And then when I went out, I tried my hardest and tried to apply myself. And, and I usually got photos, and then I started getting photos running the mag. And
sick. Now at this point in time too, are you doing are you into the big rails and stuff?
No rails. I'm still just jumping
down gaps.
I just jumping stuff everywhere I go.
Okay.
I haven't really tapped into rails. I skated rails a little bit, as a kid, and but I still haven't.
What made you want to? I mean, I know the evolution,
Pat
but I mean,
Duffy.
what made you? Yeah, was it Pat Duffy?
When I saw that Pat Duffy part, I thought half of it wasn't real.
Right.
I remember thinking that double kink grind is not real. There's no way
Crazy,
it can be real.
Right? Yeah.
Who can balance on a round bar
Round bar.
for any length of time, much less that far.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that's totally.
Was that inspiring for you to
no,
try to get?
I was like, I might as well have been motocross.
Okay.
I was like, I don't even know what he's doing or how he's doing that.
Well, I'm sure we'll get there. We'll get there. But so
In about
Invisible.
another 5 hours, we'll get.
No, we're rounding the corner, baby. We're almost there.
We're at Invisible. I got some pages in Transworld. Let me speed it up.
He's getting the clip notes now.
Let me speed it up for you.
But I'm interested in
These are great stories.
No,
So
they are amazing.
I started dreaming up tricks that I wanted to do
Yeah.
at spots that I saw. And then now these photographers that I'd befriended, Grant Britton, Dave Swift, Skin Phillips,
Yep.
those three guys, they had given me a chance to go out, and it was always positive. They were very encouraging, and we'd gotten photos every time we'd gone out.
Amazing.
So we would, Dave would take me around to spots that he knew about, and then I would just be looking for things, and
Right.
I would see things wherever we went that I wanted to do.
Big gaps.
Yeah, and there was a roof gap. There was a roof gap that I thought was awesome. It was like one roof was slanted one way, one roof was slanted the other way. I was like, dude, I want to jump across that roof. You could probably do tricks across it.
Huh.
And Dave was like, well, I don't know, man. Whatever. And I was like, line it up, Dave, line it up. So he got Grant Britton, to this roof gap. And I was like, I'm going to ollie it. And I want to at least try and pop shove it, and we'll see where that goes.
Okay.
So I ollied it. I pop shoved it.
Right.
And then I was like, I think I can kickflip it.
Okay.
Anyway, so I kickflipped the roof gap, and it all happened relatively quickly. The kickflip was really rocketed, and but that at the time I was probably 90, maybe 94. Maybe it didn't matter as much,
was
or
good,
it
right.
wasn't as critical.
Yeah.
It wasn't good, but it was good enough. The fact that I was jumping from roof to roof, I guess, made it okay. Anyway, I came into Transworld a month or two later, just a normal, hey, what's up, guys? What are you up to?
Right.
And they just handed me the magazine, and I was on the cover.
That's
Wow.
And it was
So sick.
whoa, this
Whoa.
is changing
The
everything.
kickflip, the
Kickflip from
rocket
roof to
kick.
roof.
Right.
And the pop shove sequence was inside the
Oh,
bag.
sick.
So it was wow. And then that was the stoke that I needed. I was like, these guys believe in me enough to give me a cover.
Yeah.
And then I just seriously
Ignited
fueled it.
Full throttle?
Yeah, I was
Really?
full throttle. At that point, I started jumping everything in my path. I was like,
You were
I'm
a
going
madman.
for it. Yeah, I
You were
was
a
like,
madman.
no,
Yeah.
I was like, these guys believe in me enough to put me on the cover of Transworld.
Right.
Growing up, Transworld was everything.
Yeah.
And they just put me on the cover.
Wow.
And it was before that, I'd had a few pages, and then Bryce Knights, when I was in San Francisco, he had taken a few photos of me that were in Thrasher.
Okay.
It had happened, but it wasn't like a cover.
No, cover.
Like a cover
I mean,
was
yeah.
it was huge.
It's huge. And
so-
you're still Invisible at the time, too.
I'm in
right?
Invisible, yeah. And then I went on tour with Invisible that summer, and things kind of fell apart.
Oh. Were you trying too hard?
No, I wasn't trying too hard.
No.
I was starting to become seasoned and not be such,
Right.
I don't know, not be such the trying too hard guy.
Mm-hmm,
Anyway, John Reeves and I got into a conflict, and it just wasn't working out. And it was
But he was the man.
John is the man.
He is the man.
He is the man.
We're trying to think of nicknames
I
earlier.
I got all the love in the world for John, but at the time we were oil
didn't
and
get it.
water.
Oh, okay.
It was too competitive. We were gunning for the same spot,
Oh.
and I was the new young kid gunning for it, and
Okay.
things were working out for me. And he'd been around for a long time, and I wasn't sensitive to the way he felt about things, and we just kind of had words back and forth.
Butting heads.
Yeah, and I didn't really understand where he was coming from. I just felt he was picking a fight with me. And so eventually it got to a friction point where I was over it, and I just got out of the van in Wisconsin and got on a Greyhound.
Oh, and
wow.
went back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I didn't go back.
Oh.
We were in the middle of the country, and I had a friend, Greg Ware, in Massachusetts. Oh. And I called him and was like, hey, can I come to your house? I want to come skate the East Coast. And he's like, yeah, sure. So Dave from Invisible bought me a one-way bus ticket from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin to Boston, Massachusetts.
Fond du Lac.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Salba came and picked me up at the bus station, and I went to Drake It and hung out in Drake It, Mass with my buddy Salba.
And was that the end of Invisible, or did you?
That was the end. I mean, I quit right then.
Invisible kept going for a while.
No, but I mean for Jamie.
Yeah,
that was.
I quit, but he was like, "No, just think about it." And I was like, "Dave,
this isn't
working, man."
Okay.
And then you're not gonna let him go, which you shouldn't. And it's just not going to work.
But you're quitting this company that is supporting you. I mean, financially,
they were supporting
you're probably
me,
paying rent and all this stuff.
They were supporting
right?
me, but the friction was so much so that it
wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it, and
Yeah.
I didn't. And Dave was a really nice guy, but he wasn't a problem solver. He wasn't going to figure out a way to solve it. He was just like, come on, guys, get along.
Right.
That was his way of solving it. And it wasn't really solving it. So I was just like, this isn't going to work. I had a strong personality and I knew how I worked. And John, at the time had a strong personality and it just wasn't going to work.
Interesting.
And we were in a small van crossing the country and we were halfway across the country.
But did you think maybe you could stay on the team and just not deal with anybody and just do your own thing?
The team was too small. The company was too small and everybody was on deck. And, and those guys, like Laban got bummed. He felt like I left him hanging. And because at this time I'd started to create a name for myself and all these kids were expecting me to be at the demos. And I didn't even think about that.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't think
You're just like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, I didn't think that I had a name and that anybody wanted to see me. I just knew that van
was toxic.
Was toxic and I had to get out.
Gotcha.
It was so much so I just got out of a gas station. And the gas station also had a Greyhound bus station at the same gas station.
Crazy. Yeah, right?
Yeah,
wow.
and I was just like, all right, and I'll see you guys later.
Wow.
I had a bag and a board.
So now you're shredding East Coast.
So I went to Massachusetts. Yeah, I went to Drake.
Did you see Raj there?
I didn't.
No. Okay.
But anyway,
I knew Greg too.
Right when I got there, I called Jim at Deluxe and I said, "Look, I quit Invisible. Is there any way you could help me out with some boards?"
Okay.
So he sent a box of boards to Massachusetts.
Sick.
And I was riding real boards. So I was riding real boards. I went and I stayed with Greg for like a week, and then I took a bus down to Philly. I'd met some people in Philly, and I ended up staying with somebody there and filming a little bit, and then I was filming my 4-in-1 profile.
Oh.
And 4-in-1 issue number 7.
Oh,
Kelly, can you
Kelly,
confirm
remember
this?
that
Can
The
you
first
confirm?
ones, I'm very foggy in the first
Okay.
ones.
It's got Renee Matheson on the cover. Renee Matheson on the cover doing a heel flip across a channel gap.
Oh.
Is that the one where you're
Logo.
talking at Love Park?
Yeah, I got a sparkler, and it's embarrassing.
Yes.
Basically, anytime anybody ever let me
4th of
talk,
July?
it was embarrassing. Yeah, it was 4th of July. Yeah.
Wow.
But I 180'd the Love Gap and filmed some lines
Okay,
around Love.
sick.
And at the time, I don't think it had been 180'd. But I was filming. Dan Wolf was there. Dan Wolf filmed me. He and I became friends. And,
Wow.
And then I took a Greyhound from there. Or actually, maybe we drove down to D.C. And then I took a Greyhound from D.C. And I was just selling boards or doing whatever I could to get the Nest Bus ticket.
Right.
And then I took a Greyhound from there to Alabama. And then ended up seeing all my homies I grew up with and stuff.
Sick.
And then I remember selling every single thing I had, including my shoes, and getting a plane ticket home.
Oh. To San Diego.
And I think even my friends and my high school girlfriend chipped in on a plane ticket back to San Diego. So I went back to San Diego.
Okay.
Summer of 1994, and that summer, Ed Templeton called me and asked me to ride for Toy Machine.
Wow.
Sick.
Yeah, he could cold call you out of the blue.
Cold called me out of the blue.
Wow.
You never knew him either?
I didn't know him. I didn't know him.
And you were down.
I was talking to Markovich. I knew Markovich and I knew all the guys on Prime. And I wanted to ride for Prime.
Okay.
But Markovich, I think, saw that he and I on the same company might not be a good fit because
You guys are very similar.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks. 'Cause the same things might happen that happened with John Reeves might happen
Interesting.
with me and Markovich.
Okay.
So he was like, "Hey, you should get on Blind or 101."
Oh.
And I was like, those companies are cool, but they're not what they used to be. Like Blind is, Mark and those guys are gone. I don't really associate with who's on Blind now.
Okay, right.
And 101's cool, but I don't know Nodis and I don't know even where to start with that. So I was kind of like, maybe World Industries isn't the best camp for me. I wanted to ride for Plan B.
Right.
And this was the Jeremy Ray era of Plan B.
Oh.
And I talked to Jeremy before I took the plane ticket home with just socks on.
Okay.
I didn't have to take my shoes off in security.
You
Anyway,
literally got on the plane with no shoes.
Yeah, no shoes.
That's
Sold my shoes.
amazing.
That's fucking funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but I saw Jeremy. They were doing a Plan B tour that summer, and I saw Jeremy in Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay.
And I remember talking to him, and he's like, "Hey, I can talk to him," but I was still kind of rough around the edges.
Okay.
And
right.
I, in my head, I was thinking Alien Workshop, Prime, Plan B.
Right.
That's what I want to do.
Right. Toy Machine, not even on the radar.
It wasn't on my radar.
Right.
Just it was so obscure.
Yeah.
But then
And
it was Jamal and Panama and
yeah, so that summer they had a blowout tour and everybody quit.
yeah.
Everybody quit except for Panama Dan. So there was, Panama Dan and a couple of flow guys. And so Ed called me and said that my whole team just quit. Do you want to ride for Toy Machine?
Wow.
And I was like, I didn't know him. I was like, well, do you even, I didn't really know you, but he's like, I just know you're motivated. I like your skating, and, I want to sponsor you.
Wow.
And so I was like, and within a week before that, I got a call from Flip. And Flip was like, we're moving to America. We used to be Deathbox. We got a brand called Flip. We're moving to America. We want you to be our first U.S. rider.
Wow.
Damn.
And I was like, I don't know anything about. And they told me, like, we got Tom Penny, Jeff Rowley.
All names you never heard of?
Yeah. Runa Glifberg, Andy Scott. And I was like, that sounds great, but I don't know any of those guys. I've never heard
Imagine Jamie Thomas on Flip.
I was like, I've never
right?
I've never heard one of those names.
Yeah.
And it was Jeremy Fox that called.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know who any of those guys are, man. I don't think I can do that. And he's like, well, think about it. Like we're really gonna make an impact. He's like, these guys that I'm bringing over are better than everybody. I remember thinking, okay, that's very off-putting, but they were.
Yeah.
When Jeff Rowley
they definitely made waves.
When Jeff Rowley,
Yeah.
right after they showed up is when he 3-flipped the 13 at Oceanside High, and Tom Penny kick-flipped over the 10 stair at the police station.
Yeah.
That was probably only a month or two later. So he basically gave me a warning that these guys are going to come. They're coming to annihilate. And then Andy Scott was one of amongst the first guys to do the kickflip McTwist.
Yep.
Oh.
And they were coming for all the glory.
They were coming in hot.
So I remember thinking that that's just too much of a stretch. I'm flattered that anybody called me.
Right.
So the only calls I got were I got 2 calls.
Flip and Toy Machine.
Flip and Toy Machine.
Wow.
And Ed Templeton called me and said, my whole team just quit, and I know you're motivated, and if you're down to help me rebuild the team, I'd love to have you on board.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, well, what is there? Do you know any of the details? And he's like, well, go meet with Todd Swank. I'm in Europe. So I went and met with Todd Swank, and, Swank was like, yeah, we'd love to have you involved.
Wow.
And he asked me how much I wanted to get paid. And
here's the number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at Invisible, 1 month, I had this one board called the High Plains Drifter. It was like this.
That was a great graphic, by the way.
It was like this horse scene and a sunset.
Okay.
And the sunsets were like a rainbow gradient, and everyone was different. And it was like this blue scene. I had a graphic. I had an ad too, doing a frontside blunt on a 4 or 5 stair rail.
Oh.
And I think it was the first front blunt on a rail. But I also had a photo in that ad. I was on a horse. And
what do you mean you were on a horse?
I was on a horse.
Oh, they took a photo of you on a horse?
Yeah, I was on a
fulfill
horse.
the dream, kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So there was a photo of me doing a front blunt that's a sliver.
Okay.
And then there's a photo of me on a horse. And
Right.
Grant Britton shot both photos.
Oh.
And it said, Jamie Thomas, High Plains Drifter.
It's amazing.
And it was to promote the board.
Okay.
I don't know why I was on a horse, but I thought Clint Eastwood was awesome and his movies were awesome.
Fuck yeah.
So I was trying to I don't know what I was doing.
Right.
Anyway, my best month ever, Invisible paid me $500 a month.
Okay.
My best month ever when that board was killing it. I think I had a slick bottom version and that version out at the same time, and I made $1,200.
$1,200.
And $1,200 in 1 month for skating
Great.
was so good. And I was like, I remember living off of that 1 month I remember living in luxury for 3 or 4 months to follow. And so I was like, if I could get $1,200.
You had that number in your head already.
So
right.
when Swank asked me, he's like, yeah, so, I was like, how much, are you going to pay me? He's like, well, what are you looking for? And I just went, $1,200. And he's like, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. Wow. And I was like, dude,
you could have got more problems.
I was like, could I have said more?
I know, right? That's an age-old question.
Yeah,
but
at any rate, I was like, oh my gosh. Ed Templeton called me
Right.
a day ago,
Right.
offered me to ride for his company, and now they're about to pay me $1,200 a month, and he wants me to help rebuild the team.
Yeah.
And at that point, they had just put out that video live.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, Ed, I saw your last video. It's kind of a shit show, man. He's like, I know, man. I'm making videos is not my thing. Like,
Right.
if you want to make a video, make a video. And I'm like, really? I can make a video? He's like, yeah, just help me rebuild the team and we'll make a video.
Wow.
And so I was like, let's do it. Let's do it right now. And so I had met Donnie Barley earlier, and I'd met Satva Leung in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I'd met these different guys, and then Kalis I actually met at Love Park in '93, and you know, I got him on Invisible, and then he went on that whole Invisible tour.
Wow.
And I talked to him and was like, hey, you should come to Toy Machine with me. And so I kind of put together this little
You got
bit
him
of a
on
team.
Invisible, then you left.
I know. He was bummed too.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was
man.
like, you got me on Invisible, and you know, these guys are cool too. It was sick. It was the best time of my life. You know?
Wow.
I was like, sorry, man, but would you ride for Toy Machine? And he was like, I don't know, man. I'm like in Dallas right now. And he was like kind of getting into gangbanging and stuff. And I was like, look, I'll send you a box. At this time, Ed had me like sending out team boxes because Ed didn't go down there very much. And I was
Okay.
like, hey, man, I'll send you a box and I'll help pay for a ticket out here. So I sent Kalis like a box of like 15 boards.
Wow.
I was like, just sell them all and get a ticket out here. And he was like, shit, I can't. I mean, like, all right.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I'll figure out a way to pay you something a month
Wow.
so you can survive. And he's like, all right. So I went to Ed and was like, Ed, there's this kid. He's the best.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Right.
And he's worth it. I'm going to send him a box of 15 boards so he can sell to get here.
Yeah.
And we need to pay him a couple $100 a month. He's going to film a part for the next Toy Machine video, and it's going to be amazing.
Wow.
Anyway, so Kayla showed up at my doorstep. With not only Kayla's, but with his girlfriend.
Oh.
And not only with his girlfriend, but she also brought a friend. And none of them have any money.
Oh, man.
Wow.
So now my next 3 to 4 months of $1,200 a month, we're going to pay for Kayla's, his girl, and his girl's friend.
Wow.
No way.
Eventually, his girlfriend's friend went back, and then
Okay.
eventually his girlfriend went back.
Right.
And then it was more manageable.
Wow.
But anyway, it was awesome. Kayla and I had great
Yeah.
times filming that video.
Sick.
Recruited Satva. Donnie didn't get on right away.
Nope.
You know, he waited and he didn't get on until
Okay.
after
Right.
till Welcome to Hell. But
Wow.
anyway, made that video in 6 months, heavy metal,
Mm-hmm.
and then that was the first video that I kind of somewhat filmed most of and
Okay.
edited it.
Right.
And then started finding music and putting music to songs and learning about editing. You know, before that it was just like put all the footage you have down and then put a song behind it.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
that was the first one where I started imagining why should this trick go in
What
front of
would
this
the A,
trick.
B, C,
and-
D. Right,
Yeah, and
right.
then what trick should be last and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So
Wow.
Ed stood by his word and, you know, basically gave me the keys to help build
That's
the video.
amazing.
And then I filmed
Right.
Ed, and before that, Deanna was Ed's filmer. She filmed him on roller skates.
What?
So
Yeah.
funny,
No
dude.
way.
Wow.
And I was like, Ed, why is the footage like kind of high, like almost like eye level?
Well, she's on roller skates.
And I was like, who's filming it? And he's like, Deanna. Deanna's filmed it. She filmed it on roller skates.
That's
And I was like,
incredible.
and he was like lip sliding 10 stair rails. And at the time, there wasn't that many people lip sliding 10 stair rails. So he did a feeble, a lip slide, and a front board down a 10. And I was
She's
like,
doing rolling Longlands.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and I was like, Ed, we got to go back and film those, refilm
Ooh.
them. So we went back to UCI, and he was like, no problem. He did them
Just did
again.
them right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember just being shocked, like, whoa, this guy's so good at rails.
Yeah.
And at that time, I started skating rails a little bit.
Okay.
But I was just kind of barely grinding the same rails that he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that next year or two, after that video, I kind of like got the taste of like, oh, this is what it's like to make a video. Now I know how the process works.
Right.
And I felt like I didn't put enough into that video, and I really realized it in the editing phase.
Okay.
So the next video, I was like, all right, I'm going to work really hard. So when I get to edit, it's going to be like it's going to be great.
Right.
You know, because until you edit a video, you don't really know how to go about it.
For sure. For sure.
So now that I'd edited a video,
Yeah.
I was like really stoked, and I was like, Ed, we got to make another one, and it's got to be good.
Right.
And then I was like, hey, I'm gonna work on the team a little bit more. I have a few guys that I think we could add.
Okay.
That was Donnie Barley, Mike Maldonado, Chad Muska.
Oh, crazy.
So those were the additives to it, and then Alyssa Steamer as well. So
Right. And then Welcome to Hell.
Brian Anderson came with
Yeah.
after Donnie Barley came.
Right.
So,
Jeez,
yeah. So then
you built a hell of a team.
I know.
dude.
Seriously.
yeah, it
Kind
was
of, I didn't know who they were really yet. I felt like in my eyes, I was like, I just
yeah, I mean
discovered
that
Toy
was
Machine.
that was kind of the MO was like I don't really want to go take riders
grab
from other
people,
teams,
right.
you know, and there's like all these people out there that are, you know, and Alyssa
Yeah.
that were so good. And Alyssa, we were on a Toy Machine tour and we went to Tampa and, you know, she was ripping
Right.
the demo. We did a demo at Skate Park at Tampa and she was killing it. And
Yeah.
Muska and her just hit it off and
Sick.
we wanted her on Toy Machine, you know.
Wow.
I remember originally I was like, God, you know, she's awesome and we can admire how rad she is, but do we need to put her on the team, you know?
Oh.
And I wasn't like, I didn't know what to think, you know? And then he was just so hell-bent on it. And then I was like, all right, well, let me go out and film her. And during that video, I went out to stay with her for a week and she was awesome. And we
Right.
had the best week filming.
And you're like, you're on.
I think she might even have been on. I think Muska was so like
Right.
heavy-handed with his vote.
Yeah.
I think he put her on the day of the demo.
Oh, wow.
Like, you're on.
Like,
And then
okay.
like, I'll deal with these guys later.
Right.
He did the same. He did the same thing with Brian Anderson too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Musco's very impulsive. Like,
Wow.
I think he put Brian Anderson on the first day we met him.
That's incredible.
Because Barley like knew how good Brian Anderson was.
Yeah.
They grew up together.
Yeah.
And Brian Anderson lived in like Santa Rosa, I think. He was washing dishes. And Barley, we went to San Francisco to film and skate, and he's like, you got to come down and skate with us. You got to come down. And then the whole way, Barley was like, you got to meet my friend. You got to meet my friend. He's like, he's so special. You just got to meet him. And then everything that Barley said was true. We saw him at SF State the first time, and I was just like, and he was just going around doing all this stuff. Like he was wall riding over the rail and down the stairs, board sliding the big rail, and we were just like, I remember being just blown away. Like, whoa, this guy is like insane. He's doing so much crazy stuff.
Wow.
And he was super, like respectful and nice.
Nicest
and he was
dude
washing
ever, right.
dishes, and he was a cook. And I was just like, this guy's like the best guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to put him on the same. We skated with him all day. Like, hooked up with him at like 11 in the morning, and then hung out until like 10 at night. And went to dinner and stuff. And they were like trying to have a team meeting in the van after dinner to put him on. I was like, dude, why do we got to rush this? What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And Musco was like, no, we got to put him on. We got to put him on. And Barley was like, obviously Barley was down. Everybody was down, and Alyssa was there, and I was just like,
just hesitant.
Wasn't Brian talking about this?
Yeah. I just didn't feel the need to put him on in one day. I was like, it's not like somebody else is here to recruit him tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, let's just like get to know him. But I was like outvoted, right? And all I was trying to do was just like
be patient.
Well, just think about the big picture.
Yeah.
And I just didn't I was just like, what's the rush? And they
hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah, they all were just like, we got to put him on, and I was like, yeah, all right.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not going to be the guy who says no. He's an amazing skateboarder, and he seems like the nicest human being on the planet.
Right.
I have no objection to the guy.
Yeah.
It's just I don't see why we got to put him on in one night.
Right.
And they were like, we got to put him on. Brian Anderson got on in a day.
There you go, man.
Pretty much Alyssa got on in a day.
That's amazing.
That's just Muska calling the
I
shots.
love it, dude. You got to respect that.
No, I know.
Man.
He works on intuition and gut, and he was just
spot on though, right?
I mean, I admit, like the day I actually went through the tape recently.
Oh yeah.
The first day skating with Brian Anderson, I went through the tape to get some footage of Muska for his Epically Later.
Okay.
And I just watched the tape, and I was just like in awe of, like, I remember what I felt watching him.
Wow.
And just how insane it was.
Wow. How did you feel when they gave you the tape of me to put in "Welcome to Hell"? The line. Did you feel a certain thing where you were just like, wow, this kid is just heel flipper, huh?
Yeah.
It's probably like the most like mellowest thing in the whole video.
I know.
A black guy dragging a ledge.
Hey, listen, man. I'm just friends with Donnie Barley, dude.
You were.
The video,
and I basically reached out to all the guys and was like, hey, if you got any friends that you want in the friends section, make sure to get me their footage. And he did.
Sick.
And you were in.
I was in.
But we skated together multiple times when I was filming Donnie, because I had to do the same thing. I had to basically camp out at the guys' houses.
Right.
And I remember just staying in, what's the name of the neighborhood he lived in?
UCLA maybe. By UCLA?
Yeah, maybe.
Brentwood.
That's what it was. Brentwood.
Yeah.
So I remember going up and staying at his apartment in Brentwood, him and Katie.
Yep.
And then, we would skate the courthouse with you or skate, wherever.
Yeah, but I would skate heavy with Donnie. He was rad.
Yeah, it was like the whole Hot Rod crew kind of, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Dude, how did you end up skating and filming for that video and like actually filming the skaters and editing the video? That's like,
how did I end up doing it?
Well, I mean, dude, you had the last part.
You were wearing a lot of hats.
I know.
Yeah, you were doing a lot of stuff.
Well, I mean, I was so back to like the first cover of Transworld. When they handed me that, it was like that was like my diploma. They like gave me the like stamp of
you can go do whatever you want now.
Stamp of approval. Like you can go be whatever you want to be. And and I've thanked Grant and Dave countless times for that.
Yeah.
I've like, sometimes I'll just text them driving down the road and be like, thank you guys so much for giving me a chance. And Bryce Knights too.
Okay.
I probably thank Bryce Knights, Gabe Morford, Grant Britton, and Dave Swift and Skin, like, I don't know, 5 times each. Some of them more. Grant, I just send him a sappy message once or twice a year. A sappy message, sorry.
Right.
Anyway, but I think that when I each building block led to the next. So like I filmed a part for the Spitfire video and the Invisible video, and both those, like at least Spitfire was short because those guys were editing it down. They had 1 million guys to put in the video. That part was short. My Invisible part had every trick I had on film, and it was 2 songs, and it was just a bunch of stuff. And it wasn't really like thought out. There was no thought behind it at all.
Is that Vanishing Point? That video?
No, that was the second one. This first one was Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Vanishing Point was when they did the like Crocodile Dundee skit with Mumford, and Mumford skated to Eric Clapton Cocaine, which was a good part. But I was off Invisible during that time. That was the footage from the tour that I left.
Okay.
And then when we did Heavy Metal, Ed kind of gave me the keys. You know, he was kind of like, "Here's your thing," and we wanted to do something quick, and we didn't have a budget, so we filmed it all in San Diego, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I remember it was my first project that I took on start to finish, and that was the building block to show me how to make a video.
Right.
You know, it was the first time I'd used, and it wasn't computer editing equipment yet. It was beta, tape to tape.
And you put one tape in, you get another one, you got a control board.
Yeah, and you put one trick on at a time, and you build the part one trick at a time.
Crazy.
You record one trick at a time.
And you have this song all like...
Yeah, so we laid the track, you lay the music, and then you lay a trick. And then if that trick doesn't look good to the music, the only thing you can do is go over and relay a new trick on top of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so you had to
constantly recording over the same thing.
Yeah,
and this is for what video?
Heavy Metal.
Okay.
So that's 1995. So you put it in, all you know is your intro and your first few tricks. And then after that, I wrote each trick down on a index card because you can't, and then I just imagined what they would look like after one another. And then you have your ending index card and your beginning index card, and that's how we did the first video part, tape to tape. Terrible nightmare. But I remember doing it, and I remembered thinking like, oh, this is going to be like the ending section. And I only had like 3 things in the ending section. And it made me feel like, man, I wish I really focused more on this ending section. I need more than 3 things to like close this part. And I just didn't have anything. In the video, we'd already committed to a time frame, so I was like, all right, that's going to be it.
Wow.
So that process got me into, okay, the next video, I want to have an intro.
All enders, the whole thing.
No, I want to have an intro, and then I want to have a build up, and then I want to have a plateau, and then I want to go out with a finale.
Wow.
Sick.
Yeah.
And so because I'd made a part with index
and you gotta find the
cards,
perfect song for that.
yeah. And I'd made a part with index cards. I was like, I know the foundation of how a video part's laid, and now when I film it, I can envision where this trick goes in the part.
Oh, there you go.
So it was like Heavy Metal was the building block for Welcome to Hell, and that was kind of like I'd figured out the formula of how it works, and I made a mediocre part, and it was okay. I skated a Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, and that was kind of all about like me kind of finding my way, and I don't know. It's kind of weird, but a disco song. I don't know many people skated to a disco song. I might be the only one.
Maybe Alex Olsen.
Maybe. Anyway, so I wanted to find a song, and I wanted to do that song justice early on in that part. A buddy of mine that rode for Zero early on, I met him on a tour, Wade Burkett. He had an Iron Maiden tape, and I didn't grow up listening to Iron Maiden much. I knew about Number of the Beast and some of those songs, like their hits.
Yeah.
But he had a tape, and it had Hallowed Be Thy Name on it, that song. And I remember hearing it and just thinking like, whoa, this is like an editing, like
Masterpiece,
the dream. The dream editing part. And I was just like, I remembered hearing it. As weird as this is, I'm naked again. I remembered hearing it in the shower. I had a little boombox on this trip.
Right.
And I was in the shower, and I was listening to it, and I was like, this is it. This is the best video part song there ever will be.
Wow.
I'm going to skate to this, and I'm going to do it justice. And that was early on. It was only like the first few months of us filming, like right after Heavy Metal came out. And I was like, I have time. There's no like deadline set for this video. And I was super motivated. And we kind of had rounded out the team. We kind of had put everybody on. And basically, I had no job.
Right.
My job was to film the guys and skate with them. And it was kind of like, I'll film them do what they want to do. And then I'll either set up the camera, or I'll tell them how to film me, or maybe I'll get a filmer. And so the things that I really wanted to do that I think were good, I asked somebody to come with me.
Okay.
And it started off with like being Lee DuPont.
Oh, yeah.
Lee DuPont was like, I lived in Encinitas. He lived in Encinitas. And I would ask him, like, hey, Lee, do you mind filming me today? There's this thing I really want to do.
Yeah.
And he was a great filmer. And I would be like, you know, do you mind helping me with this? And I didn't even really have to. He was great because most of the time I had to come up with how's it going to be filmed and then try and like convince somebody to hopefully try and film it for me that way.
And get it right.
Yeah. And sometimes you'd end up doing things multiple times.
Yeah.
But with Lee, he had his own vision and his vision was better than mine. So he would film great and I would just watch the footage back and be like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it's better than I could have imagined. And then also Dan Sturt, I started hanging out with him in this time and he started filming some tricks of me as well. Like if I had something really big I wanted to do, I would call Dan and be like, Dan would, somehow I felt like,
you die.
Yeah.
Somehow I felt like it would be safe if Dan was there because he had like, you know, paramedic stuff in his bag and like he was ready to like stitch you up and put you back together. And he just had this way about him that everything was going to be okay. And so the really gnarly, scary stuff, I'd call him.
Okay. Wow.
So it was kind of like Lee and him and then anybody I could get to hold the camera.
Wow. Sick.
So, but I was dreaming stuff up and I, you know, some of my tricks I would write down and I wouldn't even want to tell anybody about because I knew that they would think if they couldn't do it, that they wouldn't think that I'd be able to do it. And I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want to doubt myself.
Yeah, you don't want to put that in your head.
Yeah, so I kind of would just go there and they'd be like, I just want to go look at this thing. I just want to go look at this thing. And then I wouldn't tell anybody until I got there.
Call it the leap of faith.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, what the fuck is
I wouldn't tell anybody until I got there and then I was ready to go. And then they'd be like, what are we here doing? And I'm like, I want to do this. And then they'd have whatever reaction they had. But I was already committed at that point and I was only like a few minutes away from trying it.
Right.
And so there wasn't going to be much room for them to like, you know, get in my head.
Wiggle out, yeah.
Yeah, I'd already looked at it for every day that week and, you know, knew that I wanted to do it.
Wow.
Anyway, so that's kind of where Welcome to Hell, I knew how to make a video part from making that heavy metal. And then I went into it and then I dreamed. And then there's that intro in the beginning and I was like, okay, I went to the Brooklyn Banks and I was like, if you did a line from rail to rail, it'd be the ultimate intro. And no one had skated the big rail yet.
30 seconds long.
Yeah. No one had skated the big rail yet. And there was some leeway that like with that pushing across the bridge, I could have started the line anywhere inside that pushing across the bridge.
Right.
And you wouldn't have been able to notice.
Yeah.
It just had to end at a certain point. And then the difference in heavy metal and Welcome to Hell is that Tomieto got computer editing equipment. And so now I could put the tricks wherever I want and you can like mess with them in different places. You can lay your music, you know, how you edit now.
Right.
I understood the concept of editing and I'd admired Mike Ternesky's videos. I'd admired like all the great skate videos and I'd like gone back now and watched all those and found out what made them all awesome.
Right.
Saw what I thought were the flaws, like in the Powell videos, how they're cut in the middle of the trick, not even show the first land and then cut in the middle of the second trick. And I was like, oh, well, you could use that to your advantage if you got a guy at least riding away. Even if he doesn't make it, if he's like landing on it, then you can cut to another angle as long as the angle cuts quick.
Right.
So I started kind of incorporating that into the videos and taking Powell and Plan B and those things, you know, because Plan B's first video was in 92. Now we're in, you know, what, 96? No, 96.
It's
so
2017. Oh, you're talking about.
I'm talking about when we made Welcome to Hell. So anyway, that was it. And I really didn't know how to film that good still yet, but I was getting the hang of it. And that was like my
So crazy
test project.
Yeah. I mean, you killed it. Welcome to Hell.
Yeah.
You know, iconic skate video right there.
I mean, the team and a lot of guys.
Glue that held together.
I'm the glue that held it together.
I was trying to vote against it, but Barley.
Sure you were, Jamie.
I'm just kidding. I wanted to start with that trick.
Did you choose the whole like music soundtrack?
Oh, yeah.
I was suggestive anywhere where someone didn't know what they wanted to use. I would suggest stuff to kind of. But a lot of people knew, like Mike Maldonado knew he wanted to skate to London Dungeon. He knew he wanted to skate to London Dungeon. And Alyssa Steamer wanted to skate to the Sundays. Yeah. And that seems insane to go from
sick, though.
Misfits London Dungeon to the Sundays.
I like Satva's song in that. I forget what it was called, but it was some like jazzy type thing.
Yeah, that was Satva. Satva was into music on his own. I think I might have picked the Police. Every little thing she does is magic for the first part. But this one he picked and it worked out great.
I mean, speaking of songs, you've had like some of the most epic songs, you know?
Well, I mean,
really good
I
songs.
always felt that if you picked a really good song, it encouraged you to live up to the song. you know.
So you would pick the song
A lot of times.
you would even start filming.
So usually I would get like 5 to 10 tricks on film, and then I would find a song, and then the rest of the time I was just trying to like do the song.
Live up to the song.
I was trying to do the song justice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was the next 3 videos. So it was
Yeah.
Chambers Brothers, Time Has Come Today with Thrill of It All. That was another Rush project. That was Zero's version of heavy metal.
Okay.
Here we have 6 months. Let's put out a video to put our name on the map.
Right. Well, because let's move back. So you left Toy Machine to start Zero.
And that was tough.
Wait,
that was
so
tough.
you had started Zero as like a clothing thing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
So
making shirts and stuff?
originally Zero was just supposed to be a clothing company.
Right.
Anyway, so we made some T-shirts, and we made the American Zero logo was first.
Right.
And actually, you know what? The first thing was first was the Army zip up. That was the first thing we made. We made it in December 1995.
Oh wow.
So the Army zip up on a U.S. tour, the end of a U.S. tour, right before we left for Europe, summer of '95. Our van was below Panama Dan's house, and it got broken into.
I was here that day.
Yeah, it got broken into, and Ed came downstairs to a guy in our van.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the guy took a screwdriver and pointed it at Ed's face.
And I was like,
And Ed didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so Ed just like kind of froze, and the guy grabbed my bag and took off running into the projects.
Wow.
And so in my bag was all my clothes, my passport, all my stuff.
Jesus.
And so I had nothing.
Right.
And, you know, Toy Machine or Tomieto was like paying for me to be on tour and paying for me to go to Europe. We were supposed to leave for Europe in like 4 days or something.
Jeez.
Right.
Actually, you know what? It was a week.
Okay,
we had to
but
go to.
still,
We had to
you're
go
gonna
to
get a new passport.
We
in a
had
week.
to. We had to go from Boston to Rhode Island because the first X Games was happening in Rhode Island.
Oh.
And so I think I had the clothes I had on, and then we went to a Army surplus store in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
And I got the green pair of cargos that I wore in the opening line of Welcome to Hell,
Okay.
and all throughout Welcome to Hell.
Right.
And then I got the Army shirt that I wore and I won the X Games thing.
Oh, wow.
So I only had 2 T-shirts, whatever I was wearing that day, and then the Army shirt,
I love
and that's
that.
what I went to Europe with.
Wow.
At any rate, I wore that shirt all summer, and then so when we had the Zero talk, I was like, oh, it would be so sick to make a Zero shirt just like the Army shirt. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to emulate that shirt I'd worn all summer and worn. So, you know, when I got into the Zero thing, I just wanted to make that, and then we called that the Army logo.
Oh.
And so it was called the Army logo, and I, you know, remembered tracing the R off of the Army, you know, logo.
Right.
The
Yeah,
font.
yeah.
Yeah, trying to get the font as close as
Okay.
it could so it resonated that was what it was from.
Yeah, interesting.
Because I, you know, at that time too, copying stuff was kind of cool or whatever, you know.
Now, let me ask you a question real quick.
Don't
you know,
ask it.
you do, huh?
Go ahead.
Jamie. No, you start this company Zero with them, right? I mean, they're helping you do T-shirts, right? Now, are you getting the name like trademarked and stuff? Are you having it under
So,
your name, or how does all this work? Like,
yeah,
are you?
So I didn't know how any of it worked. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
So Todd registered the trademark,
Oh,
and so essentially he would own Zero.
yeah,
But
right.
at the time, I didn't care. The fact that he was going to make the stuff I wanted to make was good enough for me.
Okay, right.
You know, and I didn't care at all. And so really, and I didn't get paid a lot for making Welcome to Hell. I mean,
Okay.
I got like, I don't know, a couple grand, or like, I think I got $1,200 or $1,800 I got for making Welcome to Hell.
Okay.
As a filmer and editor and everything.
Oh, wow.
And I remember thinking that wasn't enough. But really what it was like my thesis or whatever, you know, it was like my resume to do more.
For
And so
sure.
Todd backed a company because I had made Welcome to Hell.
Right.
I'd built a team, I'd filmed the guys, I'd edited it, and it was a success. And
you
Toy
proved
Machine,
yourself.
I'd proved myself, and Toy Machine was working. You know, obviously a large part of why I was working is because Ed made rad graphics, he had cool ads, but there was a portion that I was doing too, and
course.
Todd noticed and recognized that, and he saw how determined and motivated I was, so
Right.
he wanted to like encourage it. So he used the resources he had to help create opportunities.
Okay.
And so we were making T-shirts, we started making logo boards,
Yeah.
and he registered the name. I didn't even think about that stuff. I didn't even know how any of that worked.
Right.
I was just like, I want to make stuff.
Yeah.
And the name, it was at the time, the name was a little bit clouded, so it started off as American Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any rate, we made logo boards, and then the guys that were riding for Zero in the beginning, they all had other board sponsors.
Right.
And at one time or another, some of them, their board sponsors wasn't working out, or they needed boards to ride. I ended up giving them boards, and it kind of got into this gray area of, is it a board company or is it a t-shirt company?
Right.
And then I started getting closer. It was basically Adrian Lopez, Wade Burkett, Scotty Kopelman, Eric Ellington. That was the crew. I remembered, going to Ed and being like, hey, I really want to do this brand as a board brand, but I'm going to stay on Toy Machine for now. And, as it grows, I'll see if it makes sense for me to change over later on.
Right.
And so anyway, he, Ed's like, all right, cool, whatever. He thinks that's plenty of time.
Right.
So Todd asked me to write a business plan. I didn't know anything about a business plan. I just wrote down on notebook paper why I wanted to do it, why it was going to be different, and what was going to be a no-nonsense skateboard brand that was all based on these underdogs. That was like the goal.
Right.
And so Todd liked it, and I was really nervous because I was like, I might have to quit Toy Machine if he doesn't like it, and I can't do this brand here. I might have to go find somebody else to do it. I was stressing for like a week. Anyway, so he's like, yeah, let's do it. So we started making boards, and we started doing it. And then just after I went and talked to Matt Mumford. Matt Mumford was talking about leaving Invisible.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And anyway, it started coming together.
Right.
And then it looked like I should be a part of it. And so
Right.
I went to Ed. I remember it was at a trade show. I went to Ed and was like, hey Ed, I know I've only been riding for Toy Machine for a couple of years, but I think I really want to do my own thing.
Right.
I really want to do my own thing.
Yeah.
It's already starting, and I can't stop.
Right.
I really want to ride for zero. And he was like, well, let's just film one more video. And I was like, yeah, I don't have it in me. My heart isn't in it anymore. I got to move on. I need to make a zero video as soon as possible and get this thing off the ground.
Right.
So we started filming for Thrill of It All.
Thrill of It All. I mean, great video.
Yeah, great.
And Welcome to
video.
Hell was only a year, which
Wow.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
But Thrill of It All was 6 months. Heavy Metal was 6 months, and then Misled Youth was almost 2 years. So it's
2
a year
years,
and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
And so then Thrill of It All was kind of like this burst of me coming off of Welcome to Hell, not really knowing what to do and not wanting to do the same thing over again. And then when we started filming, I knew that, again, we put it out and we felt like it was rushed and we really wanted to make something great. And that's when we started focusing on Misled Youth. And when we started on Misled Youth, it was kind of obvious that, we had something again, and we had a team that was hungry for it, and everybody was getting it. So
Wow.
I feel like those videos were like, or Zero specifically in my eyes, you guys just like had a certain style and a certain look, and you skated certain things that were just like, no one was doing that.
I don't even know that we were trying to do anything on purpose filming for Misled Youth. I just remembered, when the Fisheye came out, when the Mark I came out, it was the game changer.
Yeah.
I always wanted to get close, and in all the old videos when the Fisheye was really close to the guy, it was my favorite footage. The Dan Sturt footage and the Life video, the Brian Lottie, Dan Sturt footage of Brian Lottie, and Now and Later, like all that stuff was like the greatest. But the Fisheye I had was like some janky Fisheye, and it was so lame. And then when the Mark I came out, it was like the game changer. It was like was like I was gonna jam that thing everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't.
Paid $800 for the thing.
Yeah, I couldn't get it close enough to the action.
I love that too. In your face, like skateboarding. I love that.
It's a bit obnoxious at times, but my goal was to go back and forth from long lens to fisheye, long lens to fisheye,
right?
And to really showcase the fisheye, and then to give you a break with long lens.
There you go.
And so that was my method back then. It was like, and then also just when the music's fast, you just put all the fisheye clips in. When the music's slow, you put the long lens.
But also,
clips.
you did the quick shotgun editing, the really quick.
I got real carried away with that.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, some of those parts are hard for me to watch now because they're overly cut. Like really, like if the stuff didn't fit,
do a roll away.
If the stuff didn't fit, I was like, I don't care if they think I rolled away or not. I knew I rolled away.
Just
I was like, I'll just jam it in there.
Right.
There were some tricks where I'm like, there's no roll away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's not a second angle that's showing you that he did it.
Yeah.
You just gotta take our word for it, bud.
That Paul
But it was kind of like the style though too. It was like this I don't know.
Yeah, I
you
know.
like had this thing,
Just
hitting
bangers.
you over the head. Just
Yeah.
constantly,
Yeah,
Right.
that was the goal, is to take someone's attention hostage,
Right.
and just hammer them.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't know, we were into it. And then
break their eyeballs.
and the fact that we had some songs that were pretty fast, you know, like Eric skated a Slayer and Jim skated a Black Flag, and then even the Who, song. And the funny thing is I always edited to beats differently than everybody else. And I knew that. Everybody edited, you land on the beat. I edited the scene changes on the beat.
Oh.
Because I felt like...
I remember asking you, like, oh, why don't you edit to the beat when you showed this video at show us Welcome to Hell at our house in Boston.
And I said I did.
You're like, yeah, I did edit to the beat.
Yeah.
And I was like, not really.
Yeah. And people always would ask me that. And I was just like, that's not... I feel like... the beat is more... I feel like a scene change is more dramatic than someone landing.
Right.
Someone landing, I don't feel like is the most dramatic thing happening.
Yeah.
I feel like the scene change, especially when you got quick cuts.
Right.
And so I felt like that the beats demanded the scene change. And I saw some people be like, that's a cheap way of editing. And I'm like, you can call it cheap. You can call it whatever you want. But I feel the different... Like, I feel the dramatic part is when the scene changes.
Yeah.
And so... But then over time, I started to find that certain times it's like you land on the beat and certain time the scene changes on the beat, depending on how defined the beat
You
is.
were really trying to make the scene change on the
Scorsese over
beat.
here.
Yeah, I was picking the scene. Or I would make the scene change on a loud lyric.
I would always hear that from people that you would give people money. You'd have a trick list for them, and you'd give them money if they got that trick.
That's not a lie. You know what? The money that I offered was basically, I was just trying to get it into someone's head that I believed in them enough to give them a carrot.
No,
and you know, just to be clear too, Kelly, I only offered that carrot if it was something they already wanted to do.
Right.
It wasn't like I was like,
oh no, yeah, totally.
it wasn't like
Sure.
it wasn't like I think you could kickflip nose slide staples, so I'm putting it on the list.
Yeah.
You know, it was like,
for sure.
it was, sometimes I would ask them, do you think you could kickflip nose slide staples?
Right.
And they were like, yeah, I think I could.
Right.
And I'd be like, all right, it's on the list.
Wow.
And they hated it but at the same time,
something to look at, look forward.
But at
Yeah,
the same
goals,
time,
man.
they usually got like motivated by the process.
Yeah.
The fact that there was these tricks that they had wanted to do, but they weren't willing to commit to, had been floating or dinging around in their head. Now they're on paper.
And
sometimes
there's a reward attached on.
yeah, I mean,
you know?
not very often there was a bunch of money. I mean, those are just a few a few exceptions that there were tricks. Like when Forrest Edwards was trying to get on the team, there was like a few tricks that he'd claimed he wanted to do. And if I ever heard someone claim something big, I was like, I'll give you $1,000.
Right. Yeah.
Like Dane said he wanted a hard flip El Toro. I was like, there's $1,000 on a hard flip down El Toro, Dane, for the rest of your life.
Wow.
And whenever you do it, there's $1,000. And Forrest said he wanted a 3-flip grind Hollywood 16 back then for his part. And I was like, there's $1,000.
Wow.
I'll give you $1,000. And then he also wanted a switch flip, switchback lip, the 12. And he almost did that.
Oh shit.
He got into it.
Didn't Dane try to hard flip too?
He's tried the hard flip.
Yeah.
I think he tried it. You know, there's $1,000 on the line when he tried it. You know, and I mean, there's certain things like that's worth $1,000.
Yeah.
Hell
For your video to have a hard flip down El Toro in it, just to someone say, yeah, Dane hard flips El Toro in the new Zero video. That's like an advertisement.
Yeah. For sure.
I just bought an advertisement that everyone's going to talk about.
True. It's
and
true.
So,
And that's going to help him a lot too.
and it wasn't like Dane did a hard flip down at 12 and I'm like, hey, if you do El Toro, I'll give you $1,000.
Right.
You know, it was like, I heard him say he wanted to do it. I was like, well, I got $1,000 on it when you do it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of more like that. But, you know, I've gotten a bad rap for doing this or that, or, you know, everybody says whatever. But usually it's like I try and do what I can do to motivate dudes to be what they want to be.
Well, let's move it on. We got to, I want to like a Fallen, Circa, Audio. I mean, that's America.
It's like another 20 years of his life.
I know.
Touched on yet.
Wow.
So we can start with America.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
I got a pro shoe at America,
Yeah.
very similar to how I got into Transworld. I lived with Ed Templeton for a summer, didn't have a house when I got back from Europe.
Okay.
Maybe it was after summer. So for a couple of months I lived there. And I would go to America each day, hang out with Don Brown, and just hang out. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, give me a blank shoe piece of paper, a blank drawing of a shoe. I want to draw shoes. And I would just draw shoes at America all day. And I would hang out with Don and I would talk to whoever came in. And I would just I just kind of hung out there.
Okay.
And then my career, like Welcome to Hell, we were filming for Welcome to Hell,
Mm-hmm.
and things started picking up, and Muska was blowing up. So it was kind of like Muska was about to get a shoe because of the hype that was around him.
Right.
And I think that I kind of rode his coattails on that hype, in the sense that there probably wasn't plans for me to get a shoe,
Yeah.
but because I was hanging out at Soul Tech, drawing shoes,
Right.
and like getting to know everybody, getting to know the designers, and I'd had a few sketches like lying around.
Okay.
They took one of my sketches and no one asked me, "Hey, here, draw some shoes." I was just like,
You were
"Give me,"
just
I was like,
Yeah.
give me some blank shoes. I want to draw on some shoes. I'm bored,
Right.
like coloring. And I don't know if I probably hoped that maybe they cared about what I was drawing, but at the same time, if they didn't, whatever, I was doing my thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I was wearing Sal's at the time.
Okay.
For most of Welcome to Hell.
Right.
It was the most functional shoe, and they made an all black, like black outsole,
Yep.
black upper, and that was my deal.
Right.
Anyway, I feel like Muska's hype, was starting to like warrant him a shoe.
Yeah.
And then since I was like his counterpart in Welcome to Hell, and I was
Mm-hmm.
making the video, and I was hanging out at Soul Tech, they like threw me a bone. And kind of like gave me a shoe, but it wasn't like even officially a shoe yet. They just sampled one of my drawings. They took one of my drawings, made it more into a design shoe,
Right.
and then sampled it.
Okay.
And they gave me a sample, and the sample was like a size 9 or 10, and it actually didn't even fit me, and it fit Ellington.
Okay.
Ellington has a trick in the video in the first pair of samples.
Oh, really?
In Welcome to Hell.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, he grinds that guardrail, ollies over the bolts to grind the guardrail again,
Oh.
and then he gives me 5 after.
Wow.
But that was the day I got the samples, and he's wearing them, but they didn't fit me. So.
Okay.
Anyway, so and it said Janik on the shoe. It didn't have my name. They like spelled it wrong, and it said Janic.
Okay.
Anyway, we called it the Janik in the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
But I feel like, kind of right place, right time.
Yeah.
And Muska was getting a shoe, and I
Wow.
think Don Brown just kind of threw me a bone, and I was getting a shoe, and then maybe it helped me a little bit that Muska, maybe it didn't. I think my shoe was already in the works. Yeah, it was. It was in the works.
Okay.
And then the first few the first few shoes were suede. And then around that time, filming Welcome to Hell, I became vegan, and I wanted to have canvas shoes.
Oh.
And that's when we came up with the concept of grinding the rail barefoot
Yeah.
for the canvas shoe ad.
Oh, okay.
So the first batch of my shoes were suede. The second batch were synthetic and canvas.
Gotcha. Oh. Wow.
And then
That canvas is really good too. That Cadora canvas.
Yeah, it was like thick.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if there was a third batch. I think I might have quit before there was even a third batch. And
Why did you quit? Was it Circa
No, it wasn't
next,
Circa. It was
or-
audio.
Audio.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I haven't really talked about ever the reason why I quit, but it was kind of like I felt like Muska and the guys at Muska and Sal, those guys were really close to Pierre, the owner of Soul Tech.
Okay.
And I felt like my connection was through Don Brown, and
Right.
I felt like it was real shaky. I never really felt like Pierre cared that I was on or whatever. So
Okay.
he's a nice guy, and he's always been great to me, but I just felt like he gave those guys a lot of attention and focus, and he gave them a
right.
lot more time.
Right.
And at the time, Pierre was the only guy who signed checks.
Okay.
So if Pierre went to Europe for a couple of months, you just didn't get a check.
Oh.
And I remember just thinking how insane that was. I was
Yeah.
like, how can you run a company where if you're in Europe and you can't sign a check, like, I'm just not supposed to eat that month? What are we talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
here?
Okay. Yeah.
And so I asked Don, I was like, hey, Don, can you find Pierre when he comes back into town? Can you go into his office and ask him to sign 12 checks and put them in your desk drawer?
Yeah.
And then send me one every month?
Right.
And he's like, no, I can't do that, And then I was just kind of always felt like I was like the stepchild there.
Okay.
And it didn't really feel like, I felt like I barely got a shoe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'd asked to have a few meetings with Pierre, and I never really could get a meeting. And Don was a great dude, but I felt like Pierre was the guy who owned the company, and
Right.
he was the guy that I needed to have a relationship with, and I didn't feel like I could get to him. I felt like there was always a buffer between me and Pierre.
Right. Right.
So I was just kind of like, yeah, this is cool, and my shoe supposedly is doing well and stuff, but I don't like the fact that I can't talk to the dude
Right.
who my destiny is in his hands.
Oh.
And I tried a couple times and it wasn't working.
Didn't
And
work.
then Chris Miller came to me and was like, hey, we want to launch a new shoe company. We want it to be you, Jeremy Ray, and Steve Barra.
Oh.
And, we want to give you creative control, and we want to make you one of the dudes.
Okay.
And it was kind of like it was kind of like he, you know, believed in me
Right.
and was giving me more of an opportunity to be involved.
Okay.
And really that's what I wanted. I wanted to be involved.
Gotcha.
And at Soul Tech, I felt like I couldn't even get a meeting,
Right.
much less be involved.
Right. You're a hands-on dude.
Yeah.
You want to,
I mean, I'm learning to be not always to be hands-on, but yeah.
but it's good to be hands-on though.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at some level there's
Yeah.
been times in the past where I've had
You gotta pick and
like,
choose your battles.
yeah, and
That's true.
mine
Yeah.
I picked all the battles.
Yeah.
I picked all the
Right.
battles for a good 2 decades.
Okay.
Nowadays I pick and choose my battles.
Okay.
But it took me till like 40 or
Right.
something. And to resign to the notion that not every battle needs to be won.
Right. Right.
Took me a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's somewhat polarizing. I
Yeah.
think that it's had some people think like, I don't want to deal with that guy, you know, and I
Yeah.
don't blame them because I've had guys that pick every battle and it's a pain in the ass.
Mm.
Yeah. And I don't really realize how I am until I'm on the other side of it. You know?
There you go. Right.
Um,
So audio comes around, and
yeah,
you're
and it was like, you're going to be one of the main guys,
Right.
but they were a new shoe company. They had some hiccups in the beginning. It was owned by K2.
Mm-hmm.
That was a little strange for me. I'd always ridden for companies that were owned by people that I knew.
Right.
So even though I'd sacrificed, you know, leaving America where my shoe was good,
Uh-huh.
but the fact that I didn't have a personal relationship with the person that was, you know, and controlling like my future,
Right.
that didn't give me any reassurance. And even though I'd gone to somewhere where K2 owned audio,
Okay.
Chris Miller was the guy, and I trusted Chris, and I'd worked on a truck program with him, a project with him, and
Mercury.
yeah, and it had gone well, and I always liked Chris, and you know, he was, you know, very complimentary and supportive of the things that I wanted to do, and
Right.
and he asked who I, you know, kind of wanted on the team, and you know,
Yeah.
like Adrian Lopez, like it was kind of like, these are the guys I want, and you know, and it worked.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was cool.
Yeah.
But then I went on a couple of tours, and there were like K2 tours, and there was like rollerblade people taking us around because
Oh.
K2 was like a skiing and rollerblade company. And that ended up not being so rad, and I was not really into it. And then it kind of had these moments of corporateness, and then I also got this crazy offer to ride for Circa.
Oh.
And the offer to ride for Circa was like, it was like a life-changing scenario at the
Right,
time. You know,
right.
It was like, it was good pay, it was a percentage of ownership, and
Okay.
it was to be a parallel with Musca.
Do you still have a percentage?
Right.
I technically still own 7% of Circa.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what that's worth these days.
Right.
But
Right.
whatever.
Right.
I should have cashed out a long time ago. Musca did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh,
At any
wow.
rate, Musca and I, you know, we got an equity stake in Circa. They paid me really well.
Wow.
And they also were willing to get behind us in a way that audio, because of K2's, you know, kind of like ownership and, you know, K2 overseeing it, they weren't really able to do those things. So
Okay.
they were like, hey, you can have multiple shoes. We'll start a shoe line with you. We can do your own brand. It was like sky's the limit.
Right.
And so, I mean, I didn't want to be cheap, and I tried to stay as loyal as I could. But when my contract was up with audio, kind of the overshadowing, you know, corporate scenario, I just felt like
Wasn't working for
I
you.
felt like it wasn't working.
Right.
And this opportunity with Circa was
Yeah.
like too good to pass up. And
Right.
to be with Chad at that moment in time was like, it was a very special thing
Cool.
too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I left audio to go to Circa.
Okay.
And then that was magical for 2 to 3 years. They hit some financial issues. They had a snow season that they gave everybody in the industry terms, but then the snow season tanked, and then everybody in the industry owed them money, and they used those terms. You know, basically they couldn't finance all the footwear for the next production because
Oh.
they had, you know, the footwear company also owned a snow brand,
Right.
an outerwear brand. And so it put them in a financial strain. And then we weren't getting paid for like months and months and months.
Crazy,
Yeah,
right?
like 6 months.
Yeah.
Was
And
it
then-
what forum?
For them, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they wanted us to just loan them the money and then not get any interest on
Yeah, it's weird.
when they paid us back.
Right.
And at the time we were making good money, so 6 months of salary was like a lot of money.
For sure. Right.
You know, so it was just weird. And and they had, at that point, my shoes were selling like around 40 to 50% of what was selling for the brand. And they'd told me whenever it got to that point, we were going to start a new brand. And so we designed out a new brand already. And then they basically were like, not only can we not pay you right now, but we're going to have to can the new brand project because things are so tight that we have to focus everything on Circa. And so I was like, all right, that's, like a lot of those things were the things that got me here. You're going to take care of me. That was going to give me the opportunity to take care of my family and invest money into my distribution. And now you're not paying me and the brand is gone and I don't know if you're going to pull it off and even come back.
Right.
So I was like, so I went and had a meeting with Ken Block and Damon Way, and talked about doing a new footwear brand with DC. And those guys were like, the timing was right.
Yeah.
And they were like, let's do it.
Oh.
And they were like, they asked me how many shoes I was selling at the time.
Right.
I had my royalty reports from Circa. I gave them the royalty reports and they're like, this is plenty.
Okay.
We have plenty of sales. If we can even get half these sales in the first year, we're off at the races.
Okay.
So
wow.
They're like, what is your ideas for design? And I was like, I want to go above my current shoe, above and below my current shoe, step below it, a step above it. And then we called the shoe the Rival because it was going to rival my old Circa shoe.
Okay, right.
And then we called the other shoe the Heritage because it had a rubber toe cap and it was going to be from my Heritage all the way back to America.
Wow.
So the rubber toe cap was at America, at Audio, and then there was one at Circa as well.
Crazy.
So it was going to be the Heritage and the Rival. Those are the first two shoes.
Yeah.
And so, and it worked. The first season went off, and the good news is that I went and negotiated with Circa. I negotiated a 6-month time period for them to sell off my inventory.
Okay.
And that gave me 6 months to go and design the fall in line.
Oh.
And then DC invested blind into the first seasons of inventory.
Wow.
So the first day we were going to tell everybody that I was off Circa and on a new brand and announcing a new brand. We also had shoes in stock.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
It's the first time that's ever been done. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what we did in that first holiday season. Was gnarly.
Damn. You guys were killing it.
I was just like, I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to work on Fallen, and then I'll still own a piece of that.
Yeah.
If one of them's got to work,
Right.
Eventually, it seems like neither one of them is really.
Well, so how long was Fallen going for until the?
So, 2003 to 2016.
I mean, that's a long run.
Yeah, it was a good run.
That's a good run.
It was.
What happened?
Well, the footwear landscape drastically changed.
This is true.
And then we had every possible problem along the way.
Really?
We had a factory burned down. We missed a whole season.
A factory burnt down.
Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah.
To the ground.
Burnt down. And
Wow.
then we couldn't get the shoes replaced in the time frame that we needed to.
Jesus.
Another time we got one whole season moldy.
Moldy.
Yeah.
Like mold in the shoes.
Mold on the shoes, on the outside of the shoes.
Those
And
on Fallen?
You can't really clean
Didn't
mold.
happen with New Balance too?
It's happened with a couple of people.
Wow.
Yeah, it happened with Fallen.
That's crazy.
And then
Yeah.
because they come over on boats, and if the conditions aren't aren't up to snuff,
Wow.
then it can. And then we had we changed like when around 2008, you had the global economic crisis, prices of oil and prices of shoes, they went up dramatically.
Right.
And so the factories would have to, our agents would have to find new factories that can meet the prices that we wanted.
Oh.
And then when you'd go to those new factories would cut corners in order to meet your prices, and then your shoe quality would go down.
Oh.
So you have quality going down, and then you have Nike, Adidas, Vans, Converse pouring in marketing dollars and getting the most amazing teams ever. You have quality going down. You have delays in, production, shipping, all these things because you're working with new factories.
Right.
So you're not delivering the best product, and then you have to increase your prices to survive because even the cheaper shoes that they're making are still costing you more.
Yeah.
And
ship them from China or wherever else.
yeah, so it was like just repeated issues over and over. And then those issues went on too long with us being independent. And I saw the writing on the wall and started having to make some really radical changes at our distribution.
Right.
Had to start laying people off in waves.
Wow. Yeah.
And start making cutbacks.
Yeah.
And then eventually I just saw that without someone helping stabilize that situation, everything was going to be gone.
Right.
And so, because Fallen grew like crazy.
Yeah.
And it was shrinking like crazy.
Wow.
And then without a stable manufacturing partner throughout that whole process.
Yeah.
And the landscape was changing so much. It was all going towards sporting goods brands being more accepted because they'd gone through a few cycles of of skate generations.
Right.
You know, and they made amazing products, and there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like they were doing everything right, and because things were so hard for us, we were doing everything wrong.
Wow.
You know, so it was a struggle, and then we got basically our last chance by going to Dwindle.
Okay.
There's Dwindle and Globe, you know, they're partners. And Globe has the footwear game dialed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was the best chance we could have. And it was too little too late. We redesigned the whole line, and the last few seasons were the best lines we'd ever done.
Okay.
You know, Globe got behind me and gave, you know, they designated a sales manager specifically to Fallen, 2 designers for 12 months.
Wow.
And we redesigned the whole line, and they gave it full attention, and the quality, you know, increased like amazingly.
Yeah.
The designs were better than ever.
Okay.
But it was too late. It was too late.
Oh.
And people would see it and they'd be like, dude, I really want to buy it. And, you know, I was asking favors from all my friends that own shops.
Right.
You know, and then they'd bring it in and it wouldn't check.
Doing shop programs too.
Yeah, and we did this thing called Minority Division where we'd do collabs with like the coolest shops that were like all my friends, and it gave them an exclusivity reason to book it. But even those shoes wouldn't do well. And the design was good, the collab was there, materials were good, the quality was good. There was just no place for it in the market.
Wow.
And the sales wouldn't. The sales season after season would diminish to the point where we couldn't meet the factory minimums.
Right.
And then you kind of just got to look at it and be like, we tried.
This
you know,
is done.
We did the best we could, you know. And for me, it was really hard. You know, I had to, over that time period, I had to lay a lot of friends off.
Right.
We had to shut down our distribution. And then at the very end, I had to lay all my, you know, all these dudes I'd ridden for the team for 10 years or more.
It's a long time.
You know, and it was hard. And that, you know, and it was the biggest failure that I've kind of faced, you know, in my life probably.
Yeah.
You know, to have something that was that big at one point. And, you know, to be honest, I just kept doubling down. Like when things would get tough, I reinvested in the company, and I kept reinvesting. And I'd had some money put away, and I had some savings, and I'd bought a house, but that's not like I'm set for life money. You know what I mean? Everything I had was invested. A big portion of what I had was invested in the company.
Wow.
And so I would end up losing a lot of what I had built, you know, with that. You know, but I never got into skating to get rich, and I never expected anything out of it. So I'm still thankful for all the experience, and I knew that, you know, even if you take the company away, I still have all that experience of business, design, marketing, all those things. Right. And I knew I would be okay, and I'd be able to take care of my family. Yeah. And it was just, what path did I want to go after making those hard decisions, you know? Yeah. And I've tried to stay as true as I could to the path that I was on, you know, so I wouldn't, you know, be taking a crazy left turn and everybody be wondering like, what happened to that dude? Right. So, you know, we kept doing Zero at Dwindle after Fallen shut down. And then over time a little bit, I put some energy and focus into it and realized that, you know, it wasn't necessarily working for them because they didn't own the brand, and it was kind of expensive for them to license it. Okay. And then for me, I wasn't communicating with shops as much as I used to, and they were the middleman on. And then there's also some confines in the way they do things that really didn't work for how raw Zero was. You know? I wanted to make products like on impulse, and I wanted to do things quick, and I wanted, you know, and they had a very methodical way of doing things. They had a system. And I couldn't just be as erratic as I wanted to be.
They're a year ahead.
And I couldn't be as erratic as I wanted to be. And I think that these times call for like more spontaneous movement. So, you know, we both kind of agreed that it would make the most sense for, you know, me to take Zero out of Dwindle and take it back onto its own, or take it to some other distribution. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know, I feel like I'm kind of bouncing around. And if I'm going to do it, I'd rather do it small and meaningful. I like that. Yeah. And so we took it out of Dwindle, and I had a few buddies that were helping with the brand already at a small level, and then we just kind of increased their input and, you know, their job titles, and and we've been doing it on our own for about 10 months.
Wow. Yeah. How does it feel to be on your own?
I mean, it feels good. I feel like sometimes
I feel like it's almost a rebuilding process.
Oh, it totally has been. I mean, I feel like a big part of the purpose was to kind of get it back to its roots and get it back to the point where it was alive at the source and it was run by a small, tight group of guys that just ultimately cared a lot about it and loved it, you know, and like wanted to live it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the team that stuck with it throughout that time period, those are the right guys because, you know, they love it. And they care about it. And they've been there, you know, for a long time. You know, Brockman's been there for, what, 13 years now?
A long time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Tommy as well.
So sick, dude.
And then Dane's been there over 10. So a lot of the guys have been there for ages. Tony's been there for, same, 13. A lot of the guys were all introduced in New Blood.
Wow.
Yeah.
So things are looking up, though. Everything's good?
Yeah, things are good.
Good.
I mean, we're finally to a point now where, you know, we did a big summer tour this year.
Yeah.
And we're working on a new video.
Sick.
And we're kind of getting our groove and product. It's basically like a certain percentage of it is our traditional like things that you've seen from Zero Forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then so like 33% of it's that, 33% of it is like revamped versions of a lot of our nostalgic type stuff, but like either new backgrounds, new colors, you know, experimentation with that stuff. And then 30% I just want to experiment completely with new artists and new directions.
There you go. Yeah.
And kind of just because I don't feel like we can just totally keep doing the same thing we've been doing and expect it to be relevant.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so 30% of it I just want to like experiment with, you know, or 33. I want to experiment with
A couple one-offs.
Yeah.
Yeah, one-offs and just get
See what
weird.
sticks,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know, like we did that Gary Coleman board with a beard on it for
That was
Windsor.
pretty fucking hilarious.
Yeah, we're just trying to like have fun, and it's kind of like if we come up with a good idea, like just make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And just have fun.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then runs of boards are so small now that you can pull some sketchy stuff
Right.
off too.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
So we've
love
been
it.
having a lot of fun with it, and then we're working on a new video. It's called "Damn It All."
Damn it all.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of a throwback to
I
Thrill of It
expect
All.
an epic song from you. Okay. Epic
I'll
part,
try.
epic song, right? No
The
matter
good
what the
news-
cost.
The good
Okay.
news is that I was somewhat filming a part for our last little web series called No Cash Value.
Okay.
I was filming a part for that, and then I started working on this this life on video for the barracks, and then that ended up not happening with some of the changes that they were doing.
Okay.
You know, they're going through at the barracks, and so I have a decent start. I probably have 20 to 25 tricks for the video.
Perfect.
Wow, that's a really good.
That's enough to choose a
Yeah.
song, Jamie.
It is enough to choose a song.
Third of our
Yeah.
part right there.
Right.
Yeah. So my formula for a video part is 50 tricks. I think you need.
Oh,
I think
that's
you
a
need.
good. That's a pretty good.
Damn.
A minimum
Wow.
of 50.
I've
Yeah.
never had a video part.
I think
Actually, 50 tricks.
He's already out of 50 tricks.
crazy,
in
yeah,
his entire
fuck.
career.
I think 50 tricks plus like 3 to 5 lines is like the full part. And then
But is that for a certain type of skateboarder, or is that for every skateboarder? You think?
I think that's an average of
That's
like
an
if you want to
average.
have a full part where the person ends up watching it going, that was a full part.
Right. 50 tricks.
You know, and if you have 30 tricks, they're gonna be like, oh, I wanted more. He did good, but I wanted more.
Yeah.
You know, and 50 tricks, if it's done right, it's like that was solid, but I still want more. But you know, Andrew and like Stay Gold or whatever, what he said in his epic or in something, he had like 80 tricks.
I mean, even like my favorite part is Brian Wedding, and it's maybe a minute half long or something, and it's probably like 25 to 30 clips.
I mean, Greco had like
But you
whatever.
probably wanted more still, though.
No, but I'm
Yeah.
still a fan of this.
But it's
day.
still right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just think that to have a full part, and even if you go to 50 tricks, you're not going to use every single trick, so you're really going to get down to like 38 probably
go.
are going to get
Right.
used.
Right. I want to ask you real quick about Stray.
So yeah, we shut Fallen down, and then I was kind of floating. I wore Fallen for like 3 to 6 months afterwards, and I was like, I'm just going to wear Fallen until someone calls me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what if nobody ever calls me?
Oh, the phone never rings.
And I was like,
huh?
I'm just going to wear Fallen forever. And, and then I kind of felt like I was hanging on to something in the past. And then I was like, you know what? I want to start feeling like new emotions when I skate. And I just feel sad wearing Fallens.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know,
Get some Vans.
yeah, get some Vans.
Yeah.
Vans are, you know, like
Right.
great shoes. And I got a buddy that works there, Matt Bennett. You know, he rode for Fallen for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, Matt, can I have some shoes? And I was like, hey, I just need one pair. I'm going on a trip. And he sent me 10 pairs.
Sick. Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, I could get used to this. 10 pairs of Vans.
Right.
And all the pros, too, they were all great.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, this is awesome. So I called them for a little bit to try and see if something would work out.
Okay.
And I think I'd have been like the 30th guy on the team or something.
Right.
And I probably would have been on, they already got like every aspect of skateboarding covered.
Right.
And they already got Rowley and a slot that, would be comparable to something that I would bring.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I probably don't even know what I bring to them, And then I called Converse, and it was kind of similar. They had some initiatives where they're trying to put 2 or 3 guys on.
Okay.
And they're like, so it's kind of like, you're fourth in line,
Right.
to get on. Who knows when that'll happen?
Yeah.
And then I caught wind of, this new footwear project Angel Cavada's doing. He's the founder of Crew and Supra.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to do a price point brand largely direct to consumer.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I heard price point, he was like, yeah, I want to have it be as good as anything, but I want the shoes to be like $40 and $50.
Right.
And then I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. If
it's
you
like,
pull that off.
yeah. And I was like, if you can pull that off and the shoes are good, like, then you have legs to compete with as big as anybody wants to,
Right.
And then also I feel like a lot of my fans were like, come from struggling situations, and like I was an underdog, and I feel like I kind of have attracted underdog fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that Fallen, some of our shoes were more affordable and cheaper, and that kind of made sense.
Right.
And so now if the whole brand is going to be, whole brand is going to be less than $60,
Right.
that it would be amazing.
I love it.
They're going to sell skate classics for less than $60.
Wow.
It kind of just like all fell together. And,
Sick.
Muska and I came together around the same time, and we're talking about, how excited we would be to work on something again. And
Yeah. And it's you, Muska,
Antoine, and Braden.
Antoine, and Brady.
So
great team.
Yeah, Angel's really been really close with all those dudes except me. I'm kind of like the outsider to the bunch. He's
right.
He's spent a lot of time with the other guys. And,
Nice.
But I've gotten to know everybody and be a part of it. And
Wow.
And I don't know. For me too, it's great because those guys, they know what they want to do. They have a clear vision, and the shoes work for me, and the insoles are great. Shoes are good.
Dude, I feel like we could sit here and talk forever, man.
We need to do a part 2, I feel like.
I know. Part 2 with Jamie Thomas.
20 years
right?
still that we didn't even touch on.
It's crazy, dude. The amount of stories and the places you've been, the people you've met, it's nuts,
Yeah, I mean, I turned pro in 1993.
1993.
Yeah,
I started skating in 91.
So 24 years.
91 did I start? Yeah, something like that.
You're a late bloomer.
A late bloomer. Started skating at 15.
That is a late bloomer.
Let's talk about me right now.
All right.
Do you have you want to know about my story?
Yeah. You grew up in Malibu. It was rough.
But he's born in Inglewood.
I was born in Inglewood. No, but hey, listen, man, dude, like I said, we could talk forever, dude. But
we're running
thank
out of
you
space.
so much for cruising
my
by.
pleasure. My pleasure. You done?
We didn't even talk about leap of faith, dude. What the hell were you thinking?
I'm not thinking. I'm answering the questions you're asking me. You suck at asking questions.
Fucking leap of. What were you thinking trying that?
I went to Point Loma High School for the first time.
Okay.
I was just, when you get to a school, you look around the spot, you're checking everything out.
Yeah, right.
I remember looking over that rail and going, whoa, that's a big drop. And then I was thinking like, man, I wonder if somebody could ollie that. Anyway, I was like, all right. I was looking at it with a couple people, and they're like, what are you thinking, man? They like left.
It's like 4 stories tall.
No,
yeah.
It's 2 stories.
Okay,
but they left me there. They left me there just to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like tripping out on it. And I was like, I'm just going to push up to it at the speed that you would push up to it.
Okay, right.
And I'm going to like imagine what it would be like trying it.
Okay.
I pushed up to it at the speed, and I kicked my board into the rail and like grabbed the rail and like looked over it and kind of like got a glimpse at like what it looked like.
Yeah.
And then I like looked under my hands, and it said Jamie M. Thomas Gap.
Oh, it was already written there.
Under my hands, yeah.
Wow.
It was already written.
Okay.
So someone that went to the school had like called it like
Jamie Thomas Gap.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa. It gave me like the chills. I got like really weirded out.
Yeah.
And then I like left and went and caught up with the crew, and I remember it was Dave Swift, Vinny Ponte, Danny Supa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so I went caught up with it, and I was like, hey, dude, the craziest thing that's happened to me. And I drugged somebody back there to look at it.
Okay.
And they were like, whoa, that's crazy. And they're like, but what are you thinking? Where's the gap?
Right.
Like, what are you?
Yeah, what is
and
it?
I was like, no, over this rail. And they're like, what?
Wow.
No, man, no. Anyway, so I always thought about it, and I was like, one day I want to come back here.
Okay.
You know, and it had probably been like a year.
Oh.
And I started like jumping off vert ramps and not like training or preparing, but I was trying to
Okay.
figure out how high of stuff could you jump off of.
Right. Right.
Anyway, I don't even know if I even got close to that height, but I just felt like I could at least land on the board. That's all I knew.
Okay.
And so I basically lined up a photographer, went there, Adrian Lopez, Lee DuPont, Alyssa Steamer, Chris Lambert, and just whatever kids were there
But
that
did you
day.
tell people that you were going to go out and do this? Or was it one of those
I
things
think
where
that-
like
no,
you're
I
not
think
going to
that-
tell
I think that-
somebody?
I think that Adrian knew. I think
Okay.
Lee knew.
Right.
I think their crew, our small
They
crew
knew.
knew.
Okay.
They was going
Right.
to try something.
Right.
They
Right.
knew I was going to try it.
Right.
And I don't even think that maybe all of them hadn't even seen it yet. So we went there. We set up a camera on a tripod. Lee was going to film on the other one, and Grant was going to shoot photos. It was going to be a cover if I made it for Transworld.
Right.
And like I pushed up to it another half an hour, and it was like one of those things where like I just don't know if I have it in me to pull the trigger on this.
Wow. Yeah. I'm getting
And
anxiety just listening to
and
this.
then I was like, all right, Adrian, right here, shake my hand. We did the commitment handshake. He came up, shook my hand, and then he turned around. I was like, he's going next try. I went back. Shoe was untied. Went down to tie my shoe. Right next to my shoe was a dead bird.
Oh, God.
And I was like, is this an omen? Like,
Oh,
dude,
Jesus.
I'm gonna die right now.
Right.
But I was like, I already shook his hand. Fuck it, I'm going.
Okay.
And so I turned around and tied my shoe and just went, and then ollied over the rail. I remember grabbed my board. Remember thinking like, whoa, this is way higher than I anticipated.
Yeah.
Dropping for ages, and then I wasn't going nearly fast enough.
No.
So my board dropped off the feet. My board drops off my feet. It hits the ground first. My body keeps going forward. Puts my ankle on the nose and my other foot in the middle of the board. That's what focuses the board.
Right. Okay.
So board breaks. I go onto my hip like full impact because I'm not rolling anywhere. 'Cause
Right.
The board broke immediately. You know, and hip and ankle, my front ankle landing on the nose in a weird position, jarred my ankle. You know, jumping
Okay.
off of something like 18 feet high and
Right.
landing on your nose, weird. So my ankle and my hip are done. I get up and I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying that again. There's no way I'm putting another board together and going up there again.
Right.
So then I like took a break from that, and then you know, some time goes by, and then I got into some other, you know, got into filming Misled Youth, and I wanted to come back, you know, at some point. Never
Right.
ended up coming back. Ended up trying the double set at San Diego instead.
Okay.
And then I ended up blowing my knee out trying a big double set in San Francisco, and then that kind of took me out of trying the leap of faith for like a long while.
Okay.
Right after Misled Youth,
Right.
I still stayed. Usually when a video's done, I stay in filming mode because you're so in the mode.
Right.
You want to take advantage of it.
going,
And
right.
you also want to go do the stuff that you weren't able to do in the deadline that
True.
you had. And you just kind of keep it going, keep
Right,
the ball rolling.
right,
So
right.
I ended up blowing my knee out a few months after Misled Youth came out.
Jeez.
And it was gnarly. It was like fractured my femur,
Oh,
ACL,
wow.
MCL, tore my meniscus. It was a really gnarly.
Jeez.
Tried
What were you doing?
I
with
tried
the-
to jump a big double set in SF. That one that Ryan DeCenzo kickflipped.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was 99. Andrew and I tried it like back-to-back days.
90
And I ended up kicking my board out and landing in sprained ankle position, and my knee didn't bend forward because my ankle was rolled,
Ooh.
and then my knee buckled. It's a horrible
Oh
slam.
my God.
Anyway, blew my knee out,
Right.
and then that knee injury led to like multiple knee injuries every other year for the next like 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
So anyway, I never got back to the leap of faith.
Never got back to it.
No, and it just, I don't know. I wanted to do it. I always wanted to do it, and then it got to a point where I was like, I don't know if I have any business doing that.
Do you think you could have done it? Do you think it is possible?
I absolutely think it's possible. I think Jaws could do it for sure.
Speed is the factor.
Speed
there.
is the factor. You
The
gotta
faster
go-
you go,
The less the impact. Yeah. And so
Right.
like Jaws has his method and his
Yeah.
like way of doing it worked out. Like,
Right.
he's got it down to a science.
How did it-
He knows how fast you have to go for how tall
Right.
the drop is.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is like the mechanics of how your body works.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you don't know if you're good at taking drops. Like,
Right.
I didn't know that I was like good at taking drops, and I'm not necessarily sure that I was. I just knew that I was willing to try it more often than everybody else.
Oh, how did it become the leap of faith? What was who named that? Who coined that term?
Adrian Lopez.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Leap of faith.
We were making an ad. So what happened was it didn't get the cover because I didn't make it.
No.
And then Zero was all about being an underdog, and we thought it was great that a slam would be my first ad.
Right.
And so it was the first ad in Transworld.
Okay.
And I felt like it needed a title, and the leap of faith was 2 in 1.
Okay.
I was leaving Toy Machine, which was super successful.
Right.
I was leaving Toy Machine to ride for Zero.
Okay.
And I was jumping this gap. And at the time, it was like 60% leaving Toy Machine to ride
Right.
for Zero. That's like not even really a company at the time. That was more of the leap of faith than the actual gap.
Right.
But because the gap would stand the test of time,
Yeah.
and people would eventually get used to me riding for Zero, the gap is what ended up taking over the name Leap of Faith.
It's so crazy because like that ad, it was kind of like it was almost a sequence type
It was
thing.
like
It was
a
like
photo sideways with a sequencer on the
with
sides.
this. Okay, right,
Yeah.
right. This is amazing. The Chief.
The Chief.
The Chief. Wow. Hey, you know what, dude? Continued success with the Zero and the new video with Damn It All.
Thank you. I just want to keep skating as long as I can.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then, the fact that we're running Zero now on our own and
Love it, though.
Stray's taken off, has been
Yeah.
received well. Hopefully that will enable me to continue to skate,
Yeah.
have a life in skateboarding. This has been a dream, and I'm very thankful to be here.
Wow. Hey, Jamie Thomas, dude. Let me wipe my hands to get a good handshake, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks for having me.